up. And it's like, I can't imagine having, like, I'm sick of this plowing the snow thing all week long. I'm sure is what they got to be thinking.
If you're a plow driver, just running like 18-hour shifts, shoving snow around every...
Get that money, get that overtime.
I get it. Like, cash in while it's hot, but like, damn. We're all just tired of it. Mm-hmm. Every person I've spoken to is just, please make this stop. I can't take it anymore. I need like 40 degrees, some of these gigantic mounds to melt.
Next week.
And just like, a little freedom from it.
Heat wave next week, man. The pools are opening back up. It's going to be 42 degrees next week, I think. It's on the forecast, everything.
42?
That's right, man. Yeah, it's going to be a heat wave. Wear the shorts and everything. Get ready. 913-586-7965. That's the Jays Southland Tow Service text line. Yesterday we were talking about the quarterbacks and just how long it takes to get to an NFC quarterback if you're ranking them out. But think about the youth on one hand and also some of the veterans in this playoff field at the quarterback level. And just go age grouping by age grouping. It's kind of interesting how divided even by age these upcoming postseason games are going to be.
I guess, is there an advantage in that? That's really what I'm trying to figure out as it relates to this, because as you start looking through it, Gold, and you actually start breaking down the quarterbacks, and I know yesterday, you had gone through how long to get to an NFC. Is it 4 or 5, right? I mean, you got to like get down.
Stafford would be the first one on the NFC side.
Actually. Yeah. And it's mostly just like Stafford's peak. What Stafford does at his best. But listen to the age of the quarterbacks as it sits right now. You have half of the playoff field: Stroud, Daniels, Nix, Love, Hurts, Herbert, and Darnold. All but one of those have one or fewer playoff starts. Okay? That's it. Like, some of them are rookies and have never started a playoff game. Some of them are like, I guess C.J. Stroud's got 2 playoff starts because he came from behind against Justin Herbert yesterday. We are talking about a group of players.
They just beat Flacco. That was you're thinking Jacksonville, Herbert, and but yeah.
What we're talking about is like a grouping of players that have played so few playoff games, are 26 or younger, and then a grouping of players who are still under 30. Mahomes, Baker, Allen, and Jackson. There is no experience in this playoff field once again. I continue to think that this is a massive advantage for Kansas City, that the only quarterbacks who have experience, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, is multiple playoff games on the AFC side have to play each other if they both win. And the only other experience is aging veteran quarterbacks on the NFC side, like Jared Goff, who's only a year older than Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, he's only 30.
And Matt Stafford, who is now 36 years old on the NFC side. I feel like the experience and the age part of this is a huge factor. And Mahomes isn't even that old. He's just played in a million playoff games because they keep going to the Super Bowl every year.
Well, on both ends, you go through and how we think this weekend could go for the postseason. So, like, I think 36-year-old Russell Wilson's losing his first playoff game, not going to the divisional round. I think they're losing to the Ravens this weekend. So, okay, the oldest quarterback is going to be out of the field in one weekend. I think the 3 youngest quarterbacks are likely also to be out in the opening weekend. Stroud, Daniels, and Nix. And then we'll get the 26 to 36 range with one player. That'd be Matthew Stafford. I do think the Rams are going to win. So, yeah, I mean, I think we'll have the extremes already taken. Unless you think there's an upset in store, we'll get into our final predictions and everything for this wild card weekend throughout the show today, I know. And then, of course, in the 1 o'clock hour, a little fan club / Club 965 Friday. We'll have Matt McMullen from the Chiefs joining us in studio today. Get a set for the weekend. Right now, it's Fan Club Friday and Club 965.
We haven't gone through the official renaming process. That's a more complicated process. So we'll get there.
This is going to be the final change, though, right? This will be the third change, the second change.
Third, I think, yes. Mm-hmm.
So after this, we will get the sign made then.
I think, yeah, that's right. I think, too, looking at the age of these quarterbacks, there's a lot of people at first glance, if you would have just had them guess the age of Jared Goff or Sam Darnold, they would have said both. They would have said Sam Darnold's 32, and they would have said Goff is 35. I think it's how people would have perceived both of them. It's weird how we do this. Like, we view certain quarterbacks so much older than they actually are in a lot of cases. And that's just not the case.
Sometimes it's hard for me to imagine that Patrick Mahomes and Baker Mayfield are the same age. Like, it doesn't. There's some part in your brain that it doesn't compute that those two guys were coming into the NFL at a similar time or a similar age. Like, and I don't remember what it was. Like, Drew, I'll be honest, as much of a hard time as I've given Bo Nix in Denver for being a million years old, I didn't realize him and Jaden Daniels were the same age. Yeah. I was like, wait, Jaden Daniels is also 24?
He bounced around in college a little bit, yeah.
I didn't even realize. I didn't realize how much older he is. Versus C.J. Stroud, who's now been in the NFL for a full year, is a full year younger than both of those guys. And there's an advantage in that. But also, this also comes back to just like where we are in the NFL, is that no other grouping of quarterbacks other than the three we've mentioned a billion times have proven the consistency to get in there. As you look right now, Kansas City has as many consecutive AFC title game appearances as the next closest team has playoff appearances. Baker Mayfield has 5 straight playoff appearances. That is third best. Or the Bucs do.
The Bucs do, yeah. He does
Not
it, but the
Baker.
Bucs do, yeah.
But the Bucs do. Everyone else on this list has found a way to miss a playoffs or just hasn't been in it. This youth part of it, the gap seems to be widening. So, like, every year I get into this and we start going through the list of guys. C.J. Stroud, Daniels, Nix, Love. And I don't care whether they face him in a Super Bowl or they get there. Is it becomes an issue where none of these guys has more than, like, 3 playoff games under their belt. Because they only get to play one game. They lose in either the first round or they lose to the Chiefs in the divisional round. And one lucky team gets 2 playoff games a year before they lose to the Chiefs before their way to the Super Bowl. And so it feels like the experience gap is widening between Mahomes, Allen, and Lamar, and then there's just nobody else worthy of a conversation on the AFC side. And a couple on the NFC side, but they're guys like Stafford who are getting older or Goff. And I don't know why people are still like waiting for the shoe to drop on Goff at this point. Goff's a top 10 quarterback.
The only question will be,
he'll make you competitive. You know, like, is he one of the 5 best? No, you say this all the time. There's only 5 best for a reason. Is he a valuable starting quarterback who most teams would start over their guy? Yeah.
Goff, the only question that people will have again will be next year for him if his OC is gone. That'll be the next test. People will be like, well, what's he going to be like now he doesn't have Ben Johnson? That'll be the question heading into next year if
That's fair.
Ben Johnson gets a job. But for right now, where they're at, Jared Goff is just consistent. Doesn't make mistakes. He had the one random 5 interception game this year, but on the season, I think he has like 7. I mean, it was just such a weird.
They won that game, so who cares?
They did win that game. 5 interception game. Just that was a weird performance from Jared Goff. But he's been sensational this year, and in a lot of cases, a lot of years, you could have a much stronger MVP case for him. He's not going to win it. It's going to be, I think, Josh Allen, if not Lamar, but probably Josh Allen winning MVP. But Jared Goff should absolutely be in that conversation, but the name's not sexy to people. The same reason why some of these awards go to the most popular name in a lot of categories. It's just the coach of the year, same thing. The sexy name at the time that people are talking about. That's how a lot of these awards go, whether we're talking individual
name,
awards
right
or
time.
Pro Bowl players, all of it. It's usually the popular name, and who's the flavor of the month or flavor of the season, if you will.
If Lamar Jackson, and I know that like end of season awards aren't the end all be all, but if Lamar Jackson wins the MVP again, you and I think it'll be Josh Allen because of voter fatigue or whatever, but it's not out of the question that Lamar Jackson would win the award.
He'll get votes. He's getting votes.
Yeah,
I would be
he'll
stunned.
get first place votes.
Yeah.
If he wins his 3rd consecutive and he's made it just as far in the playoffs as Josh Allen, I'm supposed to just say Josh Allen's the second best quarterback in the league.
Well, that was Barber and I were doing.
I mean, for real.
Barber had him, so we got into like, are we talking about right now or are we talking about long term? He had Lamar number 2 in the AFC of quarterbacks.
I don't think it's crazy.
Yeah, I
make
think
the argument.
Yeah, I still have Josh Allen as the second best quarterback in football behind Patrick Mahomes, as a matter of fact. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
I think you're probably splitting hairs at that point. But like at some point, like we talk about this all the time, doing something does matter. So like in Josh Allen's case, they both have made it to the AFC title game, but at one point, one guy has won multiple MVPs and one hasn't. And so I have to weight that eventually, I feel like is kind of the case. It's not the end all be all. My eyes still exist. And Josh Allen, the thing is like both of them are physical mismatches. For the rest of there's physical mismatches in different ways. Like Josh Allen is a tremendous runner, although I'd make the same argument for Mahomes. You might not even Mahomes only finished like 170 yards behind Josh Allen for rushing yards. The difference is Josh Allen gets every carry inside the 2.
We can maybe do this later, and we weren't planning on doing it, but just as we were talking about these quarterbacks, it got me thinking, how do we view the coaching advantages throughout these games and throughout the playoff
We can
field?
look at that. Sure.
Something maybe we can get into later, because I think it's also, you think about the mix of coaches, the veteran coaches that are in playoff versus some young guys. You know, Kevin O'Connell, for example, and Dan Campbell, still only the second year D'Amico Ryans. I mean, there's a lot of youth at the coaching level, inexperience as well, so maybe that's something we can get into. But now that we have the final day before the bracket really gets going for the postseason, and yeah, it's a great weekend, and the college games mixed in also help, and last night was sensational. 913-586-7965. I want you guys to put it on the record. We get texts all the time, tweets all the time. I told you this team was going to be, we do this every year. On the record right now, I'll screenshot a couple of them as well, so you can come back and say I was right, you were wrong, whatever it may be. Who are the final 4 teams, the updated one? Because we all did this exercise. Every fan does it before the season starts. I want your updated Final Four because I can't give you my preseason one because, well, the Niners aren't in the playoffs. So I had on the NFC side, I had Rams and Niners. I still feel good about the Rams. I'm not going to change that. I obviously don't have the Niners anymore. On the AFC
you don't feel
side,
good about the Niners, Chance?
No, I don't.
You can choose them again if you want.
I could.
You're going to get it wrong.
I'm going to have to put a new team in there. On the AFC side, I had Chiefs and Texans. I don't think that's happening, but technically it could.
But that doesn't mean this is the time. I'll give you a chance to alter your reality.
Well, I'm still on the AFC. I'm obviously still taking Chiefs.
Sure.
I'm going Chiefs Bills. I'm going to revise it. Chiefs Bills. On the NFC side, I'll stick with the Rams. I don't think you're allowed to swap it if your team is. I don't think you can swap it if your team that you picked in there is still there. So I don't think I should be able to swap the Texans. I don't think I should be able to swap the Rams. I'll stick with the Rams, and then I'll add in the Lions, even though I think they'll have to play before them. That's the problem. It's I don't think that's possible anymore.
Here's the truth.
I'll go to play the game out a little bit. I'll go Rams, Eagles. How about that?
I made those picks before I'd seen a single one of these teams play a single game. All four of the teams I had originally predicted to be in the AFC and NFC championship games are alive. I had Chiefs Bills, and I had Lions Packers. Now, here's the problem. Mm-hmm. Lions win. Packers win. They'll face the Lions. So it really, I can't even predict that, right? The Packers can't play the Lions in the NFC title game. It is impossible. They are the 7 seed. If they win, they will go on to play Detroit in the divisional round. So I know that's not the matchup. At this point, I get so tempted to pick a team like the Bucs. I get so tempted to pick against a team like the Eagles because I've just never been a Sirianni believer. But he got his team to 14 wins, and Saquon is a massive mismatch, and Hurts has been to a Super Bowl again before, and they're facing the Commanders in the first round, a team that has a rookie quarterback. They're just learning how to win. That feels like kind of a stretch. They would have to face the winner of Bucs Rams, teams I think they match up well against in the second round. They would get that game at home. So on the NFC side, it's chalk across the board.
Okay.
I think for the first time in a long time, it's going to be 1-2, 1-2. I don't know if I'm just way off base here and it's just not that kind of year for the NFL. I think the argument I would make for kicking someone out faster than the Packers, who can't physically play in that game unless they beat the Lions, so I can't get both teams, is I'd be kind of tempted to pick the Ravens over the Bills. The Ravens have been statistically one of the best teams all season long and historically one of the best DVOA teams of all time. And the Bills' defense is ripe to be exposed by an offense like the Ravens. The Zay Flowers injury is just not going to make me flip that. Until I know he can play.
Not for this week.
Yeah, but I don't know if he's playing next week.
Yeah, but
they're certainly not beating Buffalo without Zay Flowers next week, in my opinion. So, I'll just say keep the Bills. Chiefs, Bills, Eagles, Lions.
Okay, so we're same on the AFC side, and then we're different. I'll stick with the Rams. I'm not ultra confident that they're going to the NFC title game, but why would I change that? I think if you already had that team in, then you stick with it. Drew, where are you at now?
I also am doing chalk.
Really?
1-2, 1-2. I do think that both 6 seeds win, though, in the NFC and the AFC side.
Wow, okay.
I also have the Texans beating the Chargers.
So you have the Steelers winning?
Yep, and the Commanders winning.
And the Commanders winning this weekend. Well, that'd be a nice little parlay you could put together if you think that's happening.
And this is before the Zay Flowers injury. I thought that the Steelers... Because I just feel like it's the third time that these teams have played. Mm-hmm. It's always a tough deal whenever that happens. They know each other so well. One little mistake can cause something to go wrong. The Steelers' defense I trust more than the Ravens'
I would love you to be right. I would love for the Steelers to win that game.
Maybe Steelers and Chiefs then. Yeah,
I just don't know how the Steelers the Steelers have scored 17 or less in 4 straight games.
That game might be 16-10, I guess, if they have to. If
that's
they win,
that's how they have to win it. I mean, if
they can't win 24-21 or 27-24,
100% with you. We mentioned the trend yesterday that there's been 3 other teams in NFL history, or at least the last 30 years, that have scored 4 points or fewer and lost 4 straight heading into the postseason. Each one, the 3 prior, had lost the wild card weekend, had also still scored fewer than 17 points in that next game. I just don't think there's this magic switch. I get the rivalry thing. I get that typically Baltimore and Pittsburgh are 3-point margins and all of that. I told you I'll tease the Ravens down if you're worried about them covering the 9.5. I just don't think the Steelers can win this game.
These are 2 teams heading in truly opposite directions. Just for some reason, you weren't watching a lot of Ravens games. These are their last 4 games that you just mentioned when the Steelers have been struggling, losing their last 4. Here's the winning margin for the Ravens the last 4 games. 35-14, 34-17 against that same Steelers team, 31-2, and 35-10. They just won by a combined 130 to like 40 over the last 4 games, and the Steelers have lost all 4 of those games. They've been kicking the teeth in of their opponents.
No, I don't think the Ravens are. I don't think the Ravens are blowing out the Steelers. Mike Tomlin is too good of a coach to not have them ready to be competitive. However we want to define competitive. Yeah. I'll be stunned if they lose, by 14 points or something. I wouldn't be stunned though if they lose by 8 and it's never like in doubt for Baltimore.
It all depends on Derrick Henry.
This is always a fun part of the conversation. What's the game you're looking forward to the most?
Rams-Vikings, yeah. Rams-Vikings.
But now that game's in Arizona.
It's still Monday Night Football. So it's the final wild card game of the weekend. The NFC, these are we're talking about a 14-win Vikings team that has to go on the road. A Rams team that sat their starters that I think is fresh, healthy, good to go. One of the best coaches in the game in Sean McVay. The winner will go to take on Detroit next weekend. So that's the game I'm probably most excited for. I know it doesn't have Chiefs implications. So if you're making me like look at that, well, no, then my most intrigued still by I guess the
Texans Chargers.
Yeah, because the Chiefs are probably playing that opponent. But from just a true football game, like just what I'm excited to see how the coaches match up as well and how they game plan. Rams-Vikings Monday night.
I think the best game of the weekend might end up being Bucs-Commanders. That one feels like it has the best potential to just like go off the rails.
Oh, it's the shootout one,
and
maybe.
Be like 34-31. That's the one that's like, I could see that one ended up being like, damn, that was the most fun game of the weekend.
I wonder if this one's out of left field. I'm going to go Broncos-Bills. I think that game...
If you think the Broncos are giving them a fight, then that's the answer.
Dane picked them to win yesterday, Cody, the Broncos.
I think Mac did, too.
I think that Denver can give them a shot because the reason I'm intrigued by it is if it's the third quarter, and let's say Denver's up 17-14, all of the pressure going into this game, first of all, is on Josh Allen and the Bills anyways, but you're down by 3 in the third quarter, fourth quarter. You got to get something going. You're going up against the defense. I think there's a lot of intriguing factors in that game, obviously as it pertains to the Chiefs, notably with who they could face also one, but also the Bills being gone too. That would be pretty wild.
Yeah, it would be kind of nuts.
What do you think the impact is on that Rams-Vikings game moving? We all know it's because of the terrible wildfires, the awful scenes we've seen out in L.A., really and it needed to be moved. And a lot of it's air quality index more than like the concern that the fire is going to, get to Inglewood or something. It's just the air quality is awful. Plus, you just have emergency personnel focused on much more important things than a football game.
You don't need them worried about being security for football.
Yeah, so they're moving the game to Glendale. They've done this before, unfortunately, due to wildfires as well. It's happened. They play at Arizona. In Arizona, it's obviously division rival. There's a relationship there, at least with like the personnel to make that thing work. The Rams' home field advantage isn't like viewed as this great home field advantage to begin with.
No,
I don't think this is a huge swing. I guess it's a break for Minnesota, maybe, but I don't think it's all that different. Now, are they going to have 75,000 fans in Glendale? I don't know. I don't think so. But there will be Rams fans there. There'll be some Vikings fans that they live in, people that live in Arizona that move from Minneapolis in the wintertime, right? And you'll have some snowbirds or whatever they call them out there in Arizona. But I don't think that should sway how you view the game. Like if you thought the Rams were winning before, I don't think now you should think the Rams are losing. If you thought the Vikings were winning before, then you probably should still think the Vikings are winning.
It stinks. And look, I saw a couple people nationally just like, well, they just moved the game to Minnesota. I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
They did still I said they should change the rules to maybe better indicate these teams that are 3-4 games better should maybe get a home game. But the rules are that if I win my division, I play at home. So, I'm not taking the show on the road, where absolutely if that game got moved to Minnesota, we would all be picking Minnesota to win that football game.
Oh, that'd be ridiculous. If
they had to go on the road. That's ludicrous.
This sucks. I
do think it has a small impact because it completely throws off the rest of your schedule. It doesn't actually fundamentally change anything for the Vikings. You practice all week indoors, where you're going to play a game indoors. You got to travel to the West Coast, play in a different stadium. It changes way more for the Rams than it changes for the Vikings. Vikings just go about their business, travel out on a Saturday.
Yeah.
The Rams have to change some of their practice plans, fly to a different city when they were supposed to be at home. Like, I think it's a disadvantage for them more than it is for the Vikings, maybe not a huge swing, but like a point or two maybe, or like, enough that it could make a difference.
I don't know. Like, no doubt everybody would rather sleep in their own bed than be in a hotel bed or whatever. I get that whole analogy and everything. My only thing is, it's not like the Rams don't travel, 8 times, 9 times a year. And like, oh my gosh, it's not,
don't know the system,
Matthew Stafford's not having to pack up the stuff himself and take it to Glendale. You know what I mean? Like, I just, I
got to pack his suitcase, maybe.
He does have to pack his suitcase.
Does Kelly packs it for him or something?
Maybe
Isn't
so.
that his wife's name?
His wife is Kelly. Yep. So I hear what you're saying. I just don't know if it's that big. It's also, they had plenty of notice. I mean, they found out Thursday night. The game's Monday. How much is actually really changing? Okay, they gotta get a charter flight now Sunday afternoon instead. I mean, if the Rams were gonna win, to me they're gonna win. Like I don't think this little venue change alters it all that much, but there's real life consequences going on in LA with the fires and everything. From a football end, could you imagine though if all of a sudden the Chiefs home game was just not at home anymore? I mean, it'd be
crazy.
Brutal. Now the Chiefs have a much better home field advantage than the Rams do to begin with, so it's not apples to apples there. But
we talk about this all the time when they like moved some football events related to the DeMar Hamlin thing. Remember, like everyone was talking about, like, I can't believe that they're just going to call this a draw, or they're not going to play it, or they're going to play it later.
That's way different than what they're doing here.
But like, no, I know, but like it's a playoff game. But like all the issues, I was like, I don't really care how they choose to remedy this. Life has to come before the football end on certain cases. So like when I think it was Bengals fans, funny enough, they were like bent out of shape about how they were handling the like, we're just going to call this a no contest, and that tie could make a difference between us going to being 2 seed or 1 seed or whatever. Is you just got to move the game. You got no choice but to move the game. Like I know that
this is a much easier decision than that. Not to rewrite history on that whole debate again from a couple years ago. That to me was way different though, because when you were talking about just giving somebody a win or giving somebody a loss or a forfeit versus this is like a no-brainer. Like, okay, clearly you don't need to have the game in LA. There's these terrible wildfires. Move it to Glendale, and obviously, hopefully, that game can also raise a lot of money for the Red Cross and those that are literally without a home now and saw their home burned down in a matter of seconds. It's just awful.
Someone said there's a lot of other people in the Rams stuff you don't even think about. Like that's where their homes might be, or some of them might already lost their home or worried about losing their homes. Or
that would apply to the Chargers too. Then
it would. I mean, there's a lot more going on than would normally exist in a regular playoff week. It's hard to separate, compartmentalize. The great athletes actually are great at compartmentalizing, and they just make it about football when they get in the building. Andy Reid has been one of the best compartmentalizers in NFL history, in my opinion. He's had outside noise exist in his world in different facets, and it very rarely leaks into the football side. It's a difficult thing to do. Like Mahomes, right? It's not like he's not going to anything. He's waiting on the arrival of a new baby. Like now, he's still got to like do the rest of his job, figure out the rest of it. You just find ways. When you're a professional athlete, I'd say it's probably a little bit easier, Gold, than if you had to travel to Arizona all of a sudden. You were worried about these things and you don't have the financial resources in order to assist yourself in that department. Like, for instance, if you're gonna have a new baby, like you probably won't have like a nanny on standby ready to help you out or those things, There's some things that could ease that process, but it's still not easy. I mean, it's a challenging thing kind of no matter what.
We're going to break a little early because Andy Reid is expected to speak here in about 5 minutes or so. You'll hear from Andy Reid right here on your home for the Chiefs, 96.5 The Fan.
Cody and Gold, brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. Follow the station on Instagram for ticket giveaways and behind-the-scenes content from the show at The Fan 965.
Get ready for fun in the sun with screamin' deals at the KC Boat and Fishing Show, January 9th through 12th at Bartle Hall with kids free admission. Take advantage of 4 days of special show pricing on hundreds of boats plus non-stop entertainment. Go to kcmoboatshow.com for more info.
Hey, it's Rex here with RexBuysKC.com, your local KC home buyer. If you own a property in the Kansas City or surrounding area and want to sell it fast and at a fair price, write this number down. 816-330-6000. I'm a private real estate investor, not some hedge fund or large national chain. My family and I live right here in KC. I can pay cash and close on your timeline, even in as little as 3 days. Here at RexBuysKC.com, we're improving Kansas City one house at a time. I buy inherited houses, vacant houses, foreclosure houses, behind in payment houses, my tenant won't pay the rent houses, and properties that need complete rehabs. Do you own a house that's trashed and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at this number, 816-330-6000. That's 816-330-6000, or go to rexbuyskc.com. That's rexbuyskc.com, and I look forward to working with you.
Are you in need of top-quality metal for your next project? Look no further than Metal by the Foot. Whether you're a DIY enthusiast, contractor, or business owner, Metal by the Foot has the perfect solution for you. Steel, aluminum, brass, and stainless. The Foot. Blue Demon Welding Supplies, filler rods, and wire. The Foot. Cronius Professional Welding Equipment, Service and Repairs. The Foot. Located in KC and Topeka. Online at metalbythefoot.com. When you need a piece of metal, remember, metal doesn't have to cost an arm or a leg, just the foot.
I'm Bob Burke, founder and chairman of Burke America Parts Group, a family of brands that includes RepairClinic.com, an appliance and HVAC parts solution company that's grown into an international brand. Before AmericanEagle.com, we partially launched a new technology platform developed by another firm. American Eagle helped take our technology to a whole new level with digital marketing, software development, and business insights into our key markets, appliances, HVAC, and outdoor power equipment, and did so both on time and on budget. AmericanEagle.com has the resources, experience, and talent needed to produce solutions. Our new technology platform, developed by AmericanEagle.com, has produced tremendous results with higher traffic, conversion, engagement, and online revenue. If you have any home repairs you need to take care of, check us out at RepairClinic.com. If you need a world-class website or technology project, then I would highly recommend AmericanEagle.com.
Call AmericanEagle.com at 773-NETWORK. That's AmericanEagle.com, 773-NETWORK.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, cause you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Okay, so that's with bacon, cheese, lettuce, tomato, grilled onions, ketchup, and hold the pickles.
You know what you like. You wouldn't order your burger just any way. Why should your sports talk be any different? With Chapters on the free Odyssey app, you can choose the topics that matter to you most. Whether it's reactions, matchup previews, injury updates, or team news, quickly find what you really care about. Your football talk, your way. Download the free Odyssey app and start listening today.
Chiefs coverage sponsored by Renner Garage Door, RENNER, forward and back.
I was coined almost Andy Reid when I was on a radio show, and it's stuck with me ever since. Renner Garage Door can help you not get stuck out in the cold this winter. Book your annual maintenance or get a free replacement quote today.
RENNER, RENNER.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
Don't forget, next week we're going to have some playoff T-shirts thanks to our friends over at Gates Barbecue. So be on the lookout on how to get those next week. We'll let you guys know. And don't forget to get Gates Barbecue for your tailgate. Or if you're watching at home this week and maybe tonight, college football playoffs going on, Texas, Ohio State. And then we've got Saturday, Sunday, Monday full of NFL wildcard action as well. But if you've been on our social media, you can see what the shirts look like. And we'll have some details on how to get your hands on those. I'll just give you a hint. It'll be pretty simple. It'll just probably involve you stopping by. But we'll give you details on when
we usually make it easy.
That could take place. Yep.
Thanks to our friends over at Gates for providing those shirts. Can't wait. Obviously, like you said, you can look up the design on the Instagram page if you want to see what they look like. That we can kind of get a sense of what you're in for.
We are awaiting Andy Reid's press conference. You're not missing anything. As soon as he steps up to the podium or the Zoom, we will carry that for you right here on your home for the Chiefs and home for KC Sports. 96.5 The Fan. Coming up in about a half hour, we also are expected to have Joshua Brisco, our Chiefs contributor, joining us from Chiefs on SI. We'll get his perspective on everything. We'll also talk a little bit more about the survey that the Chiefs sent out. You might have got an email this morning as well in regards to renovation, new stadium, some of the questions that were on there. And the one that has everybody talking, as we briefly touched on yesterday, which was the PSLs, the personal seat licenses, basically having the right to buy season tickets is what we're talking about, and a huge revenue stream potentially for the Chiefs in a likely new stadium. I don't see how you could do PSLs in a renovation. That'd be kind of crazy, but I think that would only be in a new stadium. Meanwhile, though, last night I think we all agree it was a great college football game with Penn State and Notre Dame. Notre Dame moves on to the national title game. That'll take place next week, or on the 20th, I guess, to be specific. And Notre Dame has put themselves in a category, and I think their head coach, Marcus Freeman, is the hottest name right now in coaching, period. His stock continues to soar.
They didn't win a single college football playoff game for or New Year's Six bowl game for the last 12 years.
Brian Kelly said you can't win at Notre Dame.
Yeah, how about that?
He's got him in a national championship already.
He's a win away. I think how can you not be impressed every time you hear him speak, frankly, with just his whole demeanor and view on everything. Just really, really impressive individual. Not that we've ever talked to him, but I'm just basing off of the interviews we've seen. Really, really impressive. You can see why he can recruit, why his team has kind of the view that they have. I think he's an incredible head coach, and one day might even be coaching in the NFL. His stock is soaring. Last night's game, though, what we saw was that the talent gap wasn't there the way it was for Penn State against SMU and Boise State. Tyler Warren is a stud, but their receivers did not have any catches. He's a tight end, by the way. Their wide receivers did not have any catches. Notre Dame was able to shut them down in that regard. They dug themselves a 10-0 hole. And we saw Notre Dame, I would say, from that final drive when the backup quarterback came in with Riley Leonard being hurt. From that point on, They were clearly the better team the rest of the game. I know it got tied up again, but they were the better team.
They got a lead late again.
Drew Aller had the ball with a chance to drive for a win, and he made a mistake.
Both quarterbacks actually had a chance to do it. You cannot throw back across the field the way that he did. And there were fun moments in that game, too, obviously. The breaking of the ankles on the Notre Dame player being wide open down the field.
That dude just fell backwards.
That man got cooked.
He just fell backwards.
Ankle snap.
He tried his body stopped working as he was getting cut up in the middle. And look, it's almost impossible if it's just one-on-one in the middle of they can go anywhere 30 yards apart. It's hard to win if you're a defender in that situation. And they had just gotten jumped over the top of on the play before. I think what I love about this is what we always thought, which is the same thing, which is these games will have good competitive games in them. Let's not lose sight of the fact. I understand that there were bad games in there, but there was a good game in the first round. There was a couple of good games in the last round. First one's of the Final Four. Great game last night. Everyone thinks Ohio State and Texas should be pretty close tonight. I know it's like a 6-point or whatever spread on the game tonight, so that one should be a battle as well. We're getting some of the good games. I think Freeman stands out as probably the standalone thing where you're like, damn.
Really impressive.
He doesn't need to go get a better college job. He already has Notre Dame. His question will always be, if he keeps kicking ass at Notre Dame, will he want to go to the NFL?
Yeah, he's only 39. I think today's his birthday, I think. He's 39 years old, so he's got the runway ahead of him to even stay in college another 5 years if he had to. Who knows? I have no idea if he has interest in going to the NFL or not, but those opportunities, I think, are going to be there based on what he's already doing. And the question, if Notre Dame actually pulls off a national title win, we'll find out who they're playing tonight. If they pull that off, then where's Notre Dame stack up all of a sudden? Is this a Notre Dame team that can have sustained success? Can they go on a run like we saw from Georgia and Clemson over the last couple of years? That'll be part of the conversation once we get to the national title game. I also think, though,
once again, not in a conference, they can just do whatever they want. They're get a freelance with the only team.
James Franklin had some stuff to say about that.
They're independent. That's a topic that's going to only come up more with should you be allowed to make the playoff as an independent, all that,
and lose to Northern Illinois. Who'd they lose to?
Northern Illinois.
Northern Illinois. But previous college football, by the way, Notre Dame doesn't get a chance to even do this.
That's what I was going to say about the playoff expansion. For those that were against it or for it or wherever everybody stood. Last night's game, that game doesn't exist without expansion because Notre Dame and Penn State were not going to be 1, 2, 3, or 4 going into this thing. So the fact that game last night, that semifinal, does not happen in the old format. That's a big win for those that are believers in the expansion of the playoff.
I guess I can't remember if it was Freeman. Drew, you'll probably remember because you followed. One of the coaches in the college football playoff made the best point about that, which is this new system allows a team to actually grow. You can just get better later, right? In the NFL, in Major League Baseball, and every other sport.
I think that was Ryan Day, actually.
Okay, Ryan Day.
Yes,
in every other sport in the United States, and look, you can have a different playoff format in different parts of the world. They certainly do. But in the United States, typically, we allow the hot team to still just get hot and play better football or become a better team. College basketball, all the time we talk about this, Gold. There have been plenty of Bill Self teams that needed some months to figure their life out. And if there was this system where only 4 teams got in, and if you screwed up a game earlier in the season to UCF, which, whatever, right? You just lose a game to somebody you're not supposed to, and it just eliminates you because you lost to Northern Illinois, well, then you don't get a chance to grow as a team, become better, be a better team. Like, we allow that in every other sport. The college football playoff expansion does do that.
And people thought
it allows teams to grow.
People thought Notre Dame was done when they I remember that game because the Royals were playing that night, and I was watching the end of the game on my phone from Kauffman Stadium because it was not a game anybody was really focused in on until all of a sudden everybody woke up and was like, wait a second, Northern Illinois might pull this off. I still don't know how that game happened. That's what's great, I guess, about college football is how Northern Illinois. It's not like Northern Illinois went out and won 9 games or something. They barely made a bowl game, I think, this year. So it's just like, how did that happen? Who knows?
It was like when Michigan lost to Appalachian State when they were still an FCS team. It's just, how did that happen? But yeah, I think to your guys' point, it's nice being able to see the growth throughout a season and still get some sort of reward because you're right, Gold, that game doesn't happen if we only have 4 teams.
I kind of like that.
Tonight,
I like that teams can be good at different times of the year and still make it.
I would love for Texas to win tonight. We'll talk more about this, but let's go out to Arrowhead, actually. Andy Reid is at the podium right here on 96.5 The Fan.
And do you feel like he's ready to go back into the lineup as your starter there at left tackle?
Yeah, listen, I thought DJ did a pretty good job there. If he plays, he'd probably like that back, but he's heading in the right direction for sure. And I haven't made any decisions on that, which direction to go right this minute. So we'll see. We'll get there by the time we get into the end of next week there. So.
I know you've talked about this subject before, but Matt and Steve are having these opportunities. It's your take on both individuals' readiness to jump back in and be a head coach.
Yeah, Pete, I mean, you know this from what I've said before, that I think both of them deserve an opportunity, again, to be head coaches. They're obviously getting some play here, so other people recognize that too. And, we'll just see where it goes. I know they're focused on taking care of business now here and and then looking at these other things this week, and then that stops after this week.
We'll go next to Jesse. Go ahead, Jesse.
They said, I'll have a follow-up too. Andy, following up on what Pete said about the left tackle, obviously you got a couple weeks here to figure this thing out, but what factors are going to be most important when determining, which guy you're going to go with there?
Yeah, well, the best part is that they both are good players. So, and Kelly Endo's playing well too. So I'm not too worried about that whole situation, but we'll just see how it plays out. Andy rotates them during the week anyway, so they'll all get work, and we'll just go from there. But you obviously want the best combination, but I think in this case you got 3 guys there that are pretty good players.
And Harrison Bucker has been such a huge part of your guys' postseason success. With him coming off the injury, I just wonder where you feel like you guys are at with him heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, sure. No, he's working through that, and he'll be fine. He's a hard worker. That's what he does, and he's a perfectionist on everything. And so he'll just keep cranking, and I think he's getting better. Excuse me. I think he's getting better every day as he goes through this.
We'll go next to Todd. Go ahead, Todd.
Coach, I've got a couple things not particularly related to the game coming up. First off, you're from Los Angeles out there. Any effect with these fires, friends and family, or anything that is hitting close to home for you with where those are happening?
Yeah, I've had a couple of friends that had some problems out there, but our hearts go out to all those people. Prayers are with them, and hopefully they get these things contained. They're all in different areas of the city, but those ones along the coast there, those are rough ones. So we just pray for everybody's safety, number one.
And this one is like kind of a big question, I guess, about just overall things. But you spent a lot of time in Green Bay early, and the legacy of those teams back in the 60s and how that kind of, naming streets after people and all that. I know you guys just played Pittsburgh. You probably look up in the stands and see Terry Bradshaw jerseys and all that. You guys are kind of making that legacy here. I know you don't think about these things all the time, but what do you think maybe 20 years down the road people will think about this run you guys are having here in Kansas City and how much things like this mean in towns like this.
Yeah, listen, I mean, there's no place better to do it than right here in Kansas City. But when you're in the middle of it, you really don't think about it. You're thinking about the next game. I mean, that's just how this business is. When you look in the rearview mirror, then you normally get your tail kicked. So you got to be careful of that. And but we're just trying to keep pushing forward. But at the same time, we know we've got great fans. I don't ever want to slight that part. I mean, Arrowhead's an unbelievable place to play. With the support of GH as part of this thing too. So, but we, the thing I enjoy the most and about the present is, for however great this thing is, these guys are so humble and they work so hard, and I appreciate that part from a coach's standpoint.
We'll go next to Sam. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Andy. Just wondered if you could give us an outline of what, with the week off, what this weekend looks like for you guys, and then also, there's obviously 4 different possible opponents that you guys could play next week. How do you sort of prepare for the possibility of 4 different teams?
Yeah, Sam. So we actually have played, which is crazy, but we've played all the teams that are in the playoffs. And
yeah.
So you got to go back, though. You can't be content with that. So the 4 teams that we have a chance to potentially play in a couple of weeks here, we've tried to hammer those out, and we're going to continue to do that until we find out what the results are, probably Sunday night, somewhere in that area. So, or at least late afternoon, I'd imagine. But so we'll figure it out and see where it goes. But we're going to try to be ready for all of them while we have this time. And we've tried to use it smart as a coaching staff. At the same time, we want to make sure our players are fresh, but still stay sharp. So they work today in pads, and they'll go tomorrow, and then Sunday, whether it's a Saturday game or a Sunday game, they'll have Sunday off.
We'll go next to Matt. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Coach. Going into that last game, you had a couple of injuries that you guys were keeping up injury related, and obviously Chamari got banged up in that game too. How are Pacheco and Jawan, Chris, Chamari? How are those guys doing right now?
Yeah, well, listen, they all practiced today, so that was a good thing, Matt, that they were all able to get in there and bang it around a little bit, and that was the big plus. So they're all doing well. To answer your question, they're doing well.
We'll go next to Adam.
Hey, Andy, wanted to ask you about Jalen Watson, how he's looked so far in the time you've had with him on the practice field since he's been back, and what realistic shot he might have at playing when you do play another game. And Sid, I'll have another question as well.
Yeah, so Adam, he worked last week. He came out of those workouts and felt good. He worked hard today, and we did a lot of one-on-one stuff today, so ones versus ones. And so he was able to get in there and work that, and he looked good from what I've seen. I haven't gone back and looked at the tape yet, but it looked like he was moving around pretty good.
Okay, and you touched a little bit about what this upcoming weekend is going to look like for you. But what have you been up to since the Denver game? Has there been anything practice-wise?
Yeah, no, we gave the guys time off there, and it's very similar to 2 years ago. About the same schedule as we had 2 years ago, so it's almost to the point, to the T. The coaches have worked, Adam, just so you know that. Talk down it.
Mm-hmm. We'll go next to Nate. Go ahead, Nate.
Andy, considering that you did give guys the time off and you've been through this before, do you have an idea of how much earning the 1 seed will be beneficial for you guys in terms of however you want to divvy up the amount of snaps for Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, considering both of them have touched the ball quite a bit, and obviously Pacheco has the injury?
Yeah, Nate, you know how that position, that's a tough position. Now you take a beating at that position. So, I think this period of time, the rest period, uh, it benefits a lot of people, but those running backs really, I mean, that's a good time for recovery. And I think they were smart with it. All the guys have been working out, so they're kind of chomping at the bit to get going. And that's kind of how you want it. They knew that this bye week was going to be different than your in season bye week, and so they've all been in working and doing their thing. To answer your question with those two, I don't know how he'll divvy up. I would imagine it'll just end up being the same as we've been doing with them. They'll both be in there battling,
Let's go to Vahe.
Hey, Andy. I know you're focused obviously on what's directly in front of you, but I guess the players, everybody's aware of what the ultimate goal would be. Do you find any direct value in saying out loud what the historic possibilities are here? Is that something that it's worth reinforcing?
Yeah, no, I don't think it is. I mean, it's the important thing is that you stay focused on the team at hand, that you're gonna have an opportunity to play. It's for the coaches. It's important that we know all these teams, and then being able to put together a game plan where the players can execute it fast. And you start getting caught up in the what ifs and all that, you get into trouble. You just got to take the next one and let's go and play our best and do the best you can do, and then let the chips fall where they may. But you got to make sure you maximize that part. And if anything gets in the way of that, you got to get rid of it. So it'll hinder you better than help you.
Okay, thanks, Andy, and best to all your friends in LA. Sorry about what they're going through.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
We'll go. There's two left. Go ahead, Nick.
And Sonia, I have a follow-up if I can, please. Andy, for the veterans on the team that have been through this run before from a playoff perspective, how beneficial is that for you guys to where they've been in those biggest moments and those toughest situations to lean on?
Yeah, for sure, Nick. I mean, that's the experience helps, especially with some of the younger guys, to be able to talk to them and tell them about the urgency of this thing. It is single elimination. That's easier said than putting that in your brain and getting yourself right for every snap that you have at practice to practice hard and aggressive with. So you just got to make sure you stay focused and don't let distractions in there the best you can.
And for you guys as a coaching staff with those young guys, how do you guys approach, maybe from a practice perspective or something, trying to give them that tempo outside of what they've experienced in a regular season against some of the opponents?
Right. So Nick, today we did ones versus ones. I mean, that would be an example of what you're saying. So they get that speed and against each other and have to compete, and these are all competitive guys, but you put the ones out there against each other, they really get competitive, and that's kind of a fun thing to be a part of, and it's good for the guys. It's good to get caught up like that on the speed part of it.
Last one, we'll go back to Matt.
Thanks, Sydney, and thanks, Coach. Well, I know this is one of the last things on your mind right now, Coach, but the team is doing a survey of fans about what they want to see in a new stadium or a remodeled stadium. Any requests that you would give to Clark? Anything that stands out and is important to you and for the players that you would want in a stadium or to make sure is in a new practice facility for you guys?
No, but I'd probably start with the hot dogs, Matt. I don't know. I haven't been asked that. So I haven't put any thought into that, actually. I did have the experience when I was at Philadelphia they asked me about it, and I gave my 2 cents about the practice facility, but that's the only experience I have with something like that. And I think that's down the road anyways. So that's not something I need to be concerned about right now.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Coach. That's
All
we
right,
got.
so that was Andy Reid right here on 96.5 The Fan. A couple different things he hit on. The stadium thing we're going to get to next hour, by the way, back into the survey that was referenced there.
Where do we start? Offensive line, Butker,
Well, I
Watson,
yeah,
left
I mean,
tackle. There's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think for starters, for those, because people were texting in and wondering, just those players that were banged up, not just getting rest, but truly banged up heading into this past week, sounds like they're all heading in the right track and the right direction, I should say. Andy Reid did confirm Shamari Connor, Chris Jones, Isaiah Pacheco, Jawan Taylor, Jalen Watson all practiced today. They already had a practice today, so that's all
more
great.
than a week away from a
sign.
game. So yeah,
great sign. Said quote, they're all doing well. But you mentioned the tackle. This continues. This will still be next week at this time. We're going to be probably talking about it. He still has not made a decision, and he doesn't have to make a decision today, even if he
or
does
maybe
know
he
the
has,
answer.
and he doesn't have to tell us.
Yeah, it's who's going to start at left tackle. I don't think it's a 0% chance they go to DJ Humphries. I told you personally, I don't think we've seen enough from DJ Humphries to switch from how well Joe Thuney's played left tackle. I get the sense that they maybe have seen enough, and they might be willing to, I'll call it a dice roll, and have DJ Humphries start at left tackle. I don't like it, but I think there's a chance that's what they do.
The reading between the lines part of it is there are multiple combinations that work, and we're looking for the best combination.
Mm-hmm.
And I still think that that's the thing that keeps DJ Humphries in play here for the Chiefs is it's easy for them to be like, well, the best combination is still the all-pro left guard playing left guard, the position he's been playing his entire career. And that just as long as we can get mediocre play at left tackle, we'll do it. The problem is how quickly, let's just say you go to DJ Humphries, how quickly inside a game in which it is single elimination, which Andy Reid has made a big point of in there, to the point that he's talking about how he doesn't even like to discuss the historical implications of what they are attempting to do because it says it can only hurt you, not help you, to mention things like the three-peat or the, like whatever, all the stuff they're going for. What point in the game would you pull a ripcord if it's not working?
Yeah, how short's the leash?
Yeah, you say you go to DJ Humphries. It's drive one and the man gets beat 2 of 5 plays and they punt. We done here?
I doubt it.
Or is it 2 drives? Or is it 3 drives? Is it halftime? Like, what is the number of plays you would allow that to play out failing before you would pull the ripcord and say, no. This ain't going to work. Caliendo, you're in. Thuney, to left. And can you make that adjustment in the middle of the game now that Patrick Mahomes has had 2 games at left tackle with him? It just feels... I would go Thuney because I don't think I want to go in the middle of the game with the back pocket thinking of, I might have to eject from this plan. If you start Thuney, you're never ejecting from it.
Yeah, that and by the time you have some does your quarterback get hurt because you know in that time do you
get down 10-0?
Yeah, is your team in a hole and you're trying to dig out of it? You can't afford to be in that spot. So I think we're on the same page at this point. I still think if we would have saw 3 games or something of DJ Humphries and he plays a game, then he doesn't have the injury instead of the hamstring injury against the Chargers, he would have come back and played against Cleveland. And we would have saw him against Houston. I think I'd feel way better, or we just have a more definitive answer. What I have seen that works is week 16 and week 17 and all this has been Joe Thuney playing pretty high quality left tackle. I think we all know what they wanted to have happen initially, which was DJ Humphries to play left tackle, Joe Thuney to play left guard. There's no doubt that was their plan.
That was plan A.
But
after the other plans.
Yeah, but that has not gone to plan either because of the Humphries injury. And I would just go with Joe Thuney. But as I said, listening to Andy, I get the sense that they are heavily considering still having DJ Humphries play left tackle next week.
I guess I'm with you. And I think that they're obviously considering it. But like in the end,
you just can't afford to be like, well, we'll wait till we're struggling at left tackle. I just don't think you can do that in a playoff game.
No.
Well, as soon as if they start DJ and they make the change, there's no going back, right?
No. Yeah, you start DJ and you go to Thuney. That's it. Rest of the postseason, no matter how many games you play, it's Joe Thuney.
No doubt.
So like I understand the desire because like I could be talked into that the best version of the offensive line is still a healthy DJ Humphries playing good football at left tackle and Joe Thuney playing all-world left guard to go with their all-world center, great right guard, and capable enough right tackle. That probably is, in the perfect scenario, the dream, gumdrop, whatever scenario, the best version of their offensive line. But it's 3 games for me, and it's a little bit about survival of the fittest. And at the moment, the best combination of offensive line that I can know for sure can perform is Joe Thuney at left. Caliendo at left guard, and then figuring it out from there.
We're going to talk more about this with our Chiefs contributor, Josh Brisco from Chiefs on SI. We'll ask him about what he heard from Andy there and also discuss the rest of this weekend wildcard series up on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. That's next year on Cody Gold.
This is Cody and Gold on your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5, The Fan, brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
For over 87 years, GEHA, Government Employees Health Association, has offered health and dental benefits designed to meet the unique needs of federal employees and retirees, military retirees, and their families. With over 2 million members and growing, GEHA continues to serve those members and families who serve us all every day. At GEHA, your health is not our business, it's our purpose. GEHA, proud partner of the Kansas City Chiefs. Learn more at GEHA.com.
Buying and selling a home is stressful. You want the best team on your side, and that's my friend Dawn Sharp and the Sharp Homes team, brokered by Epic Realty. To find the current value of your home, go to homesforsaleandkc.com. Click on the button, How Much is Your Home Really Worth? Then the Sharp Homes team can give you options. If you want to skip the showings and open houses, you can do that with their instant offer program. Contact the only agent I would trust if I needed to sell my home. It's Dawn Sharp. Google Sharp Homes team or visit them at homesforsaleandkc.com.
Imagine buying your next car from one dealership.
With the support of many.
With everything you'll ever need.
When you buy from any of the Balderson Auto Group dealerships, you're getting the support from all of our dealerships.
Like our 100 service bays, collision, and detail centers.
And our free exclusive lifetime warranty. No other auto group gives you that.
From north, central, south, the Balderson Auto Group has you covered.
A family committed to
excellence, growth,
and harmony.
It's a Red Friday on 96.5 The Fan and the other place, especially with these great game day specials. 8 wings and a basket of tots for $12 plus $4 domestic OP cups. The other place, the next best thing to being at the game.
I'm Brian Tedesco, CEO of Blaupunkt Americas, the pioneers of the car stereo. Today, we're not just about sound systems. We are revolutionizing the e-bike scene with Blue Dot Bike. Thanks to AmericanEagle.com, our online presence now features a dynamic e-commerce website that showcases the quality and affordability of our foldable e-bikes. And our collegiate e-bikes, just perfect for the college fanatic. These e-bikes offer a new way to experience freedom on 2 wheels, no matter your age. When we needed a top-notch website to match our cutting-edge e-bikes, we turned to AmericanEagle.com. They made the impossible seem easy, tackling digital challenges like pros. Check out the Blue Dot Bike website to see AmericanEagle.com's amazing work in action. Need the best in website and digital marketing solutions? AmericanEagle.com is your go-to. They've been a game changer for us, and they can be for you too. Visit AmericanEagle.com or call 877-WEB-NOW-1. That's 877-WEB-NOW-1.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
After you use Bounce Dryer Sheets and realize how fresh, soft, less wrinkled, and less staticky your laundry can be, you'll put a sheet on your every time. Like those socks that smell like they've been through a marathon. Put a sheet on or that blanket that's got wrinkles on its wrinkles. Put a sheet on maybe even your chatty coworker who keeps distracting you. Okay, Bounce Dryer Sheets can't do it all. But for fresher, softer, better laundry, put a sheet on it with Bounce.
The Balderson Auto Group celebrates its golden anniversary.
That's over 3 million customers over the last 50 years.
Well, we've made a lot of changes along the way.
But held steadfast that we would remain a local family-run business.
And never forgetting to support the customer.
Like with our exclusive free lifetime warranty. No other auto group gives you this.
Well, it doesn't hurt that we have 1,000 vehicles to choose from.
Virtually every vehicle there is with 100 service bays plus collision and detail departments.
Thank you for helping us celebrate our golden anniversary.
Welcome to Staples.
I am so pumped. My business is going to kill it this year.
Awesome. How can I help?
First, a new computer.
With Staples Home and Office Hot Deals, you save big on tech.
And new posters.
Save on custom printing, too.
And,
a new chair?
A chair. Who has time to sit?
Maybe all your new clients?
Now you're talking.
With Staples Home and Office Hot Deals, you'll find huge savings on custom prints, storage, chairs, and tech. And now save up to $175 off your print order. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends 2/1.
Downy Rinse and Refresh. Break up with stinky clothes.
Rinse it out. Every now and then I get a little bit tired of the stinks that just will never come out. Pour Downy in the rinse straight. Every now and then I rinse it out. One wash and it delivers. One wash, it smells so clean. Downy Rinse and Refresh, it's a dream.
Downy Rinse and Refresh. Fights odor in just one wash. Guaranteed.
Listen to Mitch, Danon, and Kling for the Chiefs divisional round game right here on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5 The Fan, KFNZ FM and AM, HD1 and HD2 Kansas City, in Odyssey Sports Station.
11 o'clock hour here on Cody and Gold. We'll get to the trash of the day in about 20 minutes or so. Also a reminder, later on today in the show, it's a fan club / Club 965 Friday, as we do each and every Friday on the program. But let's go right out to Joshua Brisco. He was listening as well, of course, to Andy Reid's press conference. He covers the team on a daily basis. He is our Chiefs contributor for Chiefs on SI. He's presented by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City. Discover the benefit of blue. Josh, we were just talking about Andy's comments about left tackle not having a decision, at least not one he wants to make public yet when it comes to the left tackle. Did you take it as, hey, they're still really considering DJ Humphries being that left tackle, or do you think ultimately they know what they're doing and that it's going to be Joe Thuney like we've seen the last couple weeks?
Oh, I absolutely think that DJ Humphries is still in the mix. I take that entire little dance from Reid as pretty much what it was the last few weeks also, where there was always kind of this, like, we'll see where Humphries is at. Obviously, he was working through the injury, and for a while it was, we'll see where Joe ends up. He's just not going to give anything in advance, so I don't think we can read definitively into answers like that, because he is professionally, there to throw smoke screens up for whatever playoff team's going to be preparing for whoever's at left tackle. But I think right now there is still a slightly better chance that it's DJ Humphries at left tackle than Joe Thuney. I think Humphries at tackle, Thuney at guard, and then obviously Creed Humphrey in the middle. I still think that's the Chiefs' ideal scenario, but I think Humphries is going to have to show a little bit of consistency throughout practice. I'm guessing that he's working at left tackle there right now, though.
It's one of those, I think that they desperately want it to be. Like, they want it to be DJ Humphries, but also sometimes it's like, get out of your own head. Like, you're too close to the situation. Thuney's doing good enough. You got 3 games to ride this out. It's like the if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing. Like, you spent all season trying to get competent left tackle play so that your offense could work a little bit. You are now getting competent left tackle play. Why the hell are you looking for it again?
I think it's a little bit like watching Mike Caliendo against Cam Hayward, which was, tough for Mike Caliendo. And that's, Cam Hayward's a tough matchup for anybody. And I think it's partially, again, maybe it's not that it's not broke, don't fix it. It's broke in a slightly different way now, where again, like the Chiefs showed their hand. Like, I don't even feel like this is my opinion. I feel like this part of it's factual. The Chiefs showed their hand. You mentioned it already. Like, they wanted DJ Humphries to take that job and to let the 2 veterans kind of take over that left side of the line. The one thing in the conversation of all of this that I think's gotten a tiny bit lost is that it's not really Humphries versus Thuney. It's Humphries or Caliendo. Who's going to be on the field? Now, the positions they play hugely impact what that means. You'd rather have a below-average guard than a below-average tackle, but I think that Humphries has been slightly better at left tackle when he's been out there than Caliendo has been at left guard, and obviously Thuney is a better guard, but guard's a less valuable position. So I really do think that it could go either way, and I think the good news here is that the Chiefs have 2 pretty reasonable options. And if they do start Humphries at left tackle in the divisional round, if something goes really, really poorly, we know they're willing to kick Thuney out there and maybe put a Band-Aid over that. But I still think they're looking at Thuney as a bit of a Band-Aid situation. I think they're going to give Humphries a chance.
Based on Andy saying that Jalen Watson practiced last week and is feeling good, and these guys all practiced today as well, I'm almost would be surprised now if Jalen Watson doesn't play next week.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. And man, that is absolutely enormous.
Huge.
I think we talked about this at some point mid-season, doing the whole like hypothetical of Rashee Rice or Jalen Watson. If you could wave a magic wand and bring one of them back healthy, who would it be? And I think I probably still leaned Rice for a long time, certainly up until the Hopkins trade. I can't remember when we discussed the magic spell. But at this point, man, it is hard to overstate for me what it would mean if he is able to come back, play a large workload, and to be this team's number 2 corner down the stretch. It wouldn't surprise me at all to see them try to maybe limit him to 30 to 50% of the snaps in the divisional round. We also saw him, coming off the shoulder surgery in a very kind of long, slow offseason. He was rusty in that last preseason game, and then he was electric in week 1 and beyond. So I think it still bears a little bit of monitoring in terms of immediate expectations, but I'm saying that mostly to myself just because having 2 legit outside corners, or having 2 legit corners, period, I suppose, gives Spagnuolo so much more flexibility. It gives the pass rush more time to get home. Obviously, it erases a lot of the mistakes you've seen from that cornerback position. Even as Chris Roland Wallace, I think, has been on a pretty good stretch in the slot. Maybe he still stays in the slot some, and McDuffie and Watson are outside. Or now you have the chance to maybe let Williams still remain on the exterior there and kick McDuffie back into the slot where he's so dominant. It's just good news after good news after good news if Watson is able to come back, play significant snaps, and hopefully get pretty close to 100% for a potential AFC Championship game. It's massive.
The All-Pro list came out. The first teamers are the ones you would mostly expect. Creed Humphrey, Joe Thuney, 2 guys who would expect to be on there. Chris Jones also made first team All-Pro. I feel like this is the most common bar argument for me is they look at the stats and they see that Chris Jones has 6.5 stats. For those people who don't maybe grind tape or tell people why Chris Jones is absolutely still a first team All-Pro.
It is absolute, to be clear. What he does for this defense is something that does extend beyond any counting stats. And I think it's something that most people can see when you turn on the TV. And maybe if you haven't seen this, challenge yourself to do this some going forward when you're watching the Chiefs defense. The things that opposing offenses do around Chris Jones, it's much like the way that you have to game plan for Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase or one of those guys who can completely change a game with the football in their hands. For Chris Jones, it's that he can completely change a game by getting the football out of your hands. What offensive lines have to do to key in on him, I don't have the advanced stats in front of me right now in terms of the double team rate, but let me tell you, Chris Jones has been at or near the top of that list for the last 5 years pretty consistently. He is double teamed at an outrageous rate. He wins still at an outrageous rate, and he's doing it from the interior, which is even harder to do than off the edge. And he can still, of course, be pretty effective off the edge when he's kind of hunting those matchups as well. The biggest surprise of the season to me may have been the fact that the defense still looked pretty good without him against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But, and this is the wrinkle for him this year, man, the run defense was clearly weakened without Chris Jones, and that's never been his calling card, right? He is a pass rushing interior defensive lineman. That's what's going to make him a Hall of Famer. But he does so much to raise the level for everything the defense does and for everyone around him. George Karlaftis, whenever he gets his next contract, he had to set 10% aside to just give it to Chris Jones. Mike Dana should probably have given 10% of his contract straight to Chris Jones for free agency. Say, hey guys, thank you for making my life easier. Thank you for boosting my stat sheet. We will clean up and win some one-on-ones here and there that you make possible. He is the keystone of that defense in such a major way.
So why were you critiquing his Instagram usage?
I was being sarcastic, and apparently comedy is illegal on Twitter. I can quote it directly. Let me find it. But Chris Jones, he posts, all of this, sort of stoic stuff on social media all the time. I'm online enough to know. And he screenshotted something and posted, "In a war of ego, the loser always wins." And I said, I don't like seeing that before the playoffs because I want them to win. The winner wins in the playoffs, Chris. I'm sorry. But I just want the winners to win. I don't want any of this losers always win stuff, just January and February. March, mid-February even? Absolutely absolutely get on your Aristotle. I'm totally good with Chris Jones, the philosopher. But I just wanted them to keep winning games throughout the postseason. Apparently that joke didn't land.
No, I mean, Drew tweeted that out multiple times this season, too, being Mr. Cincinnati. So he tweeted the same. He knew it was coming. He tweeted the same thing, so it's not a big deal. We're talking to Joshua Brisco, our Chiefs contributor for Chiefs on SI. What about this weekend, man? It's wild card weekend. We know the most likely scenario is the Chiefs play the winner of that Chargers-Texans game. Unless there's an upset, I certainly would be all about the Steelers winning or the Broncos winning. But what do you think's most likely to happen, and who between the Texans and Chargers, I guess, would you rather face?
I think the Chargers are the most likely, and I think they're the most challenging matchup out of anybody in this AFC wild card round that the Chiefs could face. Again, that's setting aside the Ravens and Bills, obviously. But I think Houston would be a treat to get back into Arrowhead again, just with what we've seen from them as they, like, in some cases, unfortunately, literally limped to the finish line. That team is beaten up. They seem like they've had some of their weaknesses exposed, and I don't know if they have the juice to kind of get back up to full speed. If they do, obviously, then maybe it'll all feel very different if they hang 35 on the Chargers, and then everything, as they start talking about this rematch, maybe they figured some things out. It's Deontay Johnson. Like, we'll have to adjust the narratives if they do pull off that upset, but I don't expect them to. I think the Chargers right now are fascinating because they have a passable level of playoff talent across the roster, but they have a superhero quarterback and a real weirdo at head coach that seems to have really gotten them all in line in a really cool collective way. I would be a little bit scared of the Chargers from the Chiefs' perspective. The Chiefs will be favored. They should win. All of these games are going to be close. It's another reason that this first round bye is so important. But I think the Chargers are the most likely matchup, and I think of the group, I'd much rather see the Chiefs get the Texans or certainly the Steelers or Broncos, in addition to the fact that would mean knocking out one of the other real contenders in the AFC. Because I think that list is about 3.5 teams long, with the Chargers as the half.
Is Andy Reid saying that Harrison Butker is working his way back as close to Andy Reid saying he ain't right?
Like, I mean, that's a good call.
Working his way back. I mean, that's about as close as Andy Reid gets, right? To saying he's not right, something's wrong.
I think that's a good read on that, Cody. I kind of like that he's acknowledging there, and maybe it's a little bit of cover for Butker too. I don't really think there's an alternate explanation. I don't think Butker came back off his injury and his head's all screwy. I think it is physical on some level, and maybe it's mechanical. But regardless, I think that way Andy's kind of says, hey, we're not really worried about this. It's just sort of maybe the expected recovery timeline. But I think they have to be a little bit nervous. I think fans have to be a little bit nervous because his consistency has been such a hallmark of what this team has been throughout the playoffs. The number of walk-off drives where Mahomes gets him to field goal range and then hits the sidelines, it's because it's automatic. There's no stress in that. And right now, I don't think you can have Harrison Butker in automatic territory. I don't think he's even in mid-season Justin Tucker slump situations, and maybe a couple of weeks off will do him as much good as anybody. But I definitely think that there's some cause for concern, and I think that's a good catch on Andy's comment today.
Just feels like sometimes Andy B's on. You have to Andy will tell you things, but you have to really be ear to the ground. He's not going to let the cat out of the bag. Even today, I thought it was notable that he said, talking about the things that you could accomplish in the grand scheme of things only serves to hurt you, not help you. He doesn't want any 3P talk in the building.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting because he is such a football historian. I think everything he says in that, again, Andy Reid lies at press conferences all the time. Head coaches do it all the time. It's part of the job. But if there's anything that I do kind of take his word for, it might be around that entire topic. Because again, he is a football historian. He does understand and respect and love football.
But after it's done, not in the middle of it.
Exactly. He doesn't want to soak all that up while he's actually in there. That's to me why I kind of believe that he's telling the truth there, which is that in the moment it becomes a distraction in sort of an uncommon way. I don't know if you prepare as if you have plot armor, you begin to think that you're the main character of the NFL, and so there's no chance that the Chargers or Texans or Broncos could knock you off in the first round or your first game in this playoff run. I think keeping that hyper focus on the next day is such a hallmark of who Andy Reid's been throughout his entire career, that even as a guy that does have such a good feel for the scope of NFL history, and I think in a quiet moment, I think he does probably have some appreciation of that. But it would not surprise me if that quiet moment is the second week of February through, I don't know, a month before minicamp and not a lot of time between that. But I think he does really appreciate what this team has done, but he does not want to talk about it while it's still happening.
Brisco, we appreciate you coming on the show, man. We'll check in next week. Enjoy Wild Card Weekend.
You do the same. This is a great slate of games, guys. I am excited to plant on the couch, and hopefully I will unroot by Monday.
He gets it. He gets it. Joshua Brisco, our Chiefs contributor.
That's right. He's presented by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City. Discover the benefit of blue. You brought up the All-Pro stuff while we were talking about as it relates to the Chiefs. I think it's really interesting, actually. Not only did the Chiefs get 3 first-teamers, Trent McDuffie was second team, by the way, but it's voted on, for those that don't know, the All-Pro is voted on by the Associated Press.
It's like a panel of 50 people?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. And it's media members, and it sometimes gives you a glimpse on the MVP stuff. And that's what's interesting. That's
Lamar Jackson was first team.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson was first team, not Josh Allen. Also, it wasn't close. Lamar Jackson had 30 first-place All-Pro votes. Josh Allen had 18. Now, this doesn't guarantee...
Who had the 2?
That's a great question.
Joe Burrow.
Oh gosh, probably.
No.
Probably.
He had the 2 votes.
Probably.
He got.
No,
the 2
I mean
votes.
probably. You're right.
He had the 2.
Oh, there you go.
Take their vote away.
Oh my God.
Get rid of it.
Okay.
Idiots.
Okay.
When you do stupid things, you don't get a vote anymore.
I was bringing it up because based on that, the MVP award is the AP MVP. It's the Associated Press that votes on the MVP as well. Unless I'm wrong, I
think Lamar
I
Jackson's
believe
gonna
it's
win.
the same people that vote. So unless they have all of a sudden they're like, well, all pro's different. Unless they view all pro different than MVP,
Damn, Lamar Jackson's gonna have 3 MVPs?
the same people are telling us they think Lamar will be based on this. I should be running to FanDuel right now and loading up on Lamar Jackson bets, please.
Back-to-back MVP, man.
I know, maybe the odds already shifted. I'm trying to log on the FanDuel app. I should be loading up on Lamar Jackson if there's still money to be made.
I'm assuming that they've caught that
Let's
on
see.
their own app. We'll
Let's see real quick.
But as it sits
current
right now,
odds, Super Bowl MVP. You can the voting. You can't vote on awards anymore because either they took them off or because the season's over and the market's closed.
If you had a preseason Lamar Jackson MVP bet, you should be feeling a whole lot better.
I got no problem with Lamar winning, and I think Josh Allen
I think it's an even tie.
Josh Allen's very much deserving, but the same people that are going to vote on that are telling us they think Lamar was the All-Pro first teamer. I mean, that isn't that the answer right there?
Yeah, I think it's to a lesser degree than this, but this is the Aaron Judge, Bobby Wood Jr. problem. It is not that either guy shouldn't win the MVP in a standalone year. No argument for that. Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Hell, even Joe Burrow, statistically, if he was in a different year and maybe won or something, he would be in the conversation to go with it. But those 2 quarterbacks are certainly more than deserving to be MVP. It's just they both had equally great years, and sometimes they just kind of decide who the guy is. I kind of thought because Lamar Jackson already had 2 trophies, they would then give this MVP to Josh Allen since things are so close, but the All-Pro vote would certainly indicate.
We'll find out the week of the Super Bowl, NFL honors, and there's a chance. It's not a guarantee, but it usually gives you some insight on who's going to win MVP, and that's pretty telling.
I think this season, Mina Kimes actually really laid this out the best. For anybody who's making, they've got more help here. They got all 3 people I actually think have more help in a different area. Joe Burrow had the best weapons, like the best wide receiver. I mean, no question, it's Joe Burrow. The best offensive line is Josh Allen's. Absolutely the best offensive line is Josh Allen's. And the best overall offensive talent is actually Lamar Jackson when you include the running game and the people he has available to him there and the other receivers he has available. So it's like everyone had their own advantage. Everyone had their own disadvantage. Joe Burrow had the worst offensive line of that grouping. But it's just like, I thought all things kind of created equal in their own way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I just think Josh Allen's more valuable to his team, though, because I would argue
Agreed.
If Lamar Jackson was hurt for a couple weeks, and
but this year I agree,
based off of Derrick Henry, I would say Derrick Henry in that. I think the Ravens still would have been able to run the ball and be effective and make it work. You take Josh Allen out of Buffalo, they're screwed, absolutely screwed.
Yeah, I think that I'm
not saying that the Ravens would have the exact same win total, but I don't think the Ravens would have 4 fewer wins if you took out Lamar. I think the Bills would have 3 or 4 fewer wins if you took out Josh Allen.
And replace him with a league average guy? Yeah, probably. Or below league average guy.
Who's their back? Is it still Trubisky? Who the hell's their backup?
I mean, let's just say that the backup was the same. Though.
Sure.
It was whatever. They both get Carson Wentz. How many games do they win? And the answer is, there's probably a bigger drop-off for Josh Allen, but very rarely do they vote on it that way. It is just total counting stats. How many total yards, how many total touchdowns is almost always what is MVP decided on. So, I'm a little surprised that I was a little surprised too, Lamar Jackson. So, like, again, if you got a Lamar Jackson MVP ticket, you probably feel a lot better today than you did yesterday.
Chris, you asked Brisco about Chris Jones, like, hey, the sack numbers weren't there, but he was still first team All Pro. We've said this about other positions. He's at this point now, especially when Aaron Donald, since he's out of the league. Chris Jones, unless he like misses a ton of time, I feel like he's almost locked into this now for, I don't say the rest of his career, but it feels that way unless he really just doesn't perform at all, which is hard to believe.
Creed Humphrey too, by the way.
Yeah.
He's going to get like
center.
7 All-Pros now.
They're just going to keep giving it the same center. That's what happened with Jason Kelsey. And that's not saying that Creed Humphrey's not great. It's just that you're locked in a position like that. You're kind of locked in. Trent McDuffie eventually, I think, has a chance to be a first-team All-Pro. He's second team. Problem is, you've got guys like Patrick Surtain the second and Derek Stingley Jr. I think that got above him, and then Joe Tooney. My goodness, was there ever a year for him to? If there was,
I don't know how many All-Pros he's got, but if there was a year that he deserved it most, it is certainly this season.
Couple updates just on the playoff injury stuff. We mentioned Kansas City; they're on a bye, but some teams, if we thought this was going to happen, but officially the Eagles cleared Jalen Hurts out of concussion protocol.
Good.
He's good to go. Also, Cade Otton, tight end for the Bucks, is trending in the right direction. It looks like to play Wild Card Weekend. Their safety also going to play in Wild Card Weekend. Jordan Love looks like he's going to play. So everything we kind of expected is happening. Also, just a minute ago, the Chiefs made a roster move to maybe free up a spot for Jalen Watson. They placed defensive tackle Marlon Tuipulotu on reserved injured list. You're like, why does that matter? Well, that might be a spot to free up.
Was he on the 53?
Must have.
How are there still, like, I cover this team for, like, and every once in a while they'll say a player name, and I'm like, who? Not trying to be rude. You're like, were they active on game days? Maybe not.
Well, maybe not on game day, but he still could have been. He was...
I think that's the same thing came up when they had the DBs in rotation, like Keith Taylor. Nobody had heard of Keith Taylor at that point, or Roland Wallace.
On September 30 was on the active roster.
Okay.
And at that time, he took the place of Clyde Edwards-Helaire on the roster. This was all the way back in September. But now, they just announced, either way, I think that's the move to free up a roster spot for Jalen Watson.
I think so, too. At this point, I think Jalen Watson's playing. So
do I. I mean, he's practicing and he's bounced back and no setbacks. Don't forget, we know the playoffs are right around the corner. We've got playoff T-shirts thanks to our friends over at Gates Barbecue. You want to be on the lookout on how to get those next week. I can tell you, early next week, we'll give you some details on that. And don't forget to get Gates Barbecue for your tailgate, or if you're watching at home tonight, maybe, some playoff action on the college front, and, of course, Wild Card Weekend as well. We'll get to the Chiefs survey that they sent out to fans. You might have got an email this morning. I know I got another email this morning asking to take the survey. We'll run through that with you guys. I think the most interesting thing is the PSLs that everybody's talking about. That's coming up during the Chiefs Red Half Hour. But in the meantime,
Trash of the day.
This one's pretty quick. Do you view certain jobs like have to have a standard for you to trust them, I guess? What I mean by that is there's an influencer that is getting ripped online. I don't mean like physically ripped, okay? Ripped as in people are...
drawn and quartered. There's not like ropes tied to the horses walking in opposite directions.
A Brazilian influencer has been ripped online after allegedly getting rid of her fitness coach for eating fast food from McDonald's. So she detailed the Big Mac sacking, in a now expired Instagram story to her over 267,000 followers. She says it's a matter of credibility. Basically, she doesn't want her personal trainer to eat McDonald's. And I get it, but if your personal trainer is still in shape and is still doing what he needs to do for you, he or she, I guess, why is that? Would you fire your personal trainer if you found out they were eating Big Macs?
No.
Well, and also, it's called a cheat meal.
Yeah, why? You can still be in shape and occasionally have a Big Mac.
Yeah.
Like, I'll just be honest.
Like, if I hired a personal trainer and I found out that they don't eat super healthy, does that, as long as they're helping me, does it matter?
I guess I understand this idea that you want them to care as much about fitness as you do. I don't even care if they eat McDonald's 5 times. Are they good at motivating me to get in shape and good shape? That's like asking, I can't have a pitching coach unless he throws 100. That's not how this works. People can do a job that they don't directly do. And also, he had 1 Big Mac. This lady's making it seem like he was on My 600-Pound Life. He can't possibly give her fitness advice now. He had a Big Mac.
Well, I would assume
we're firing people over having a Big Mac now?
If it's a personal trainer, they're in shape as well. And once you get to that point, like Gold is going to eat healthier. He's going to get to that point where he is healthier. If you get in shape and you start to get, physically fit, you can eat McDonald's and it does nothing to you like that It's a cheat meal. You want a Big Mac? No
you missed
problem.
it yesterday, Cody. I asked Barbara, I was like, do you have some advice? I go, some advice for the gym. He said I'm already screwed.
Already screwed?
Yeah.
You said it's too late?
And I said,
He said, give up?
I go, what? He goes, I haven't even started yet. He goes, he said, no, I should have told him I was looking at getting a gym membership and that I need to do the diet stuff first. And he may not be wrong, but he flat out told me, like, yeah, you're probably already screwed. I'm like, well, thanks. Appreciate that.
That's not good
He
advice at all.
basically said that for the first 3 months, he should have just focused on eating and nutrition and then gone to the gym in like May.
And he might be correct on that, but it's too late for that. I already signed up. So so we got to come up with a different plan.
You have to do both at the same time now.
You wouldn't want Barbara as your fitness coach then?
I told him he could have been my life coach. Not anymore. Not anymore.
You fired him as your life coach?
Could have been my life
coach. He
coach.
didn't even have that long of a...
Could have been my life coach. I
never had a life coach.
Neither have I. I don't know. A lot of people do, man. It doesn't have to just be about fitness, I guess, and stuff like that.
Like
but
Barbara, if you're listening, give me 3 pieces of advice you'd give me as my new life coach. Just send me a text. Like, if you were my life coach, what are the 3 things you suggest I get to right now? This year, 2025 life coach goals.
All right, that's the trash of the day. Up next, let's get to the Chiefs Red Half Hour. Let's talk on the stadium front for a bit. You guys know there was a survey that was sent out. Some of you already received it. If not, you can just go to the Chiefs website and answer some questions about either a renovated Arrowhead or a brand new stadium. We'll go through that a little bit with you guys next.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
It is a great week in Missouri sports fans because Underdog is available to play in your state. Best place to cash in on all your takes during these playoffs. Which players are going off? Who's going to be ice cold? I mean, we got a playoff game tonight, tomorrow, Sunday, Monday. You just had one last night. I happen to like Henderson to go higher than 49.5 rushing yards tonight. I like Ladd McConkey to go lower than 75.5 receiving yards tomorrow. Those are available over at Underdog, where you can get some great entries cooked together to win some real cash prizes all playoffs long from your couch on the Missouri side. Create entries with football selections, mix or match across multiple sports. Doesn't matter. Underdog is only Champs platform that puts the power of cash in your hands. You can either keep writing your entry, click win now, cash out whenever you want, just like I did last night. Hit a 3-teamer last night. You can be looking at the same thing as these playoff games continue. Every dog also deserves a second chance, and with Underdog Rescues, you can get your money back and receive a promo if an early injury causes you to lose. Don't take too much longer. Sign up for Underdog today. It is the best place to play Champs. Download the app, send a promo code TAPP, T-A-P-P, deposit now to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's promo code TAPP, T-A-P-P. Must be 18 plus and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
T-Mobile 5G home internet keeps getting better. Get T-Mobile's best home internet starting at $55 a month with auto pay on any line. Plus Price Lock, we won't raise your rate on internet. Check availability at T-Mobile.com/home internet.
Taxes was waiting around for your taxes to be done, which led to worrying about not getting any money back. Now Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes in a day to get you up to $4,000 fast with a refund advance loan. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Expert filing only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Refund advance has $0 loan fees and 0% APR. Refund advance loans may be issued by First Century Bank, N.A. or WebBank. Terms apply. Subject to approval.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why, when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
T-Mobile 5G home internet keeps getting better. Get our fastest connection loaded with benefits. Get T-Mobile's best home internet starting at $55 a month with auto pay and any voice line. Plus, Price Lock. We won't raise your rate on internet. Check availability at T-Mobile.com/home internet.
Exclusions like taxes and fees apply. Guarantees regular monthly rate plan price of fixed wireless 5G internet data with qualifying service. After $15 bill credit with postpaid voice line plus $5 a month without auto pay with debit or bank account. Regulatory fees included for qualifying accounts. $35 connection charge applies. Speeds vary due to factors affecting cellular networks.
Chiefs coverage on 96.5 The Fan is brought to you by award-winning Johnny's Barbecue in Olathe.
Football and barbecue fans, score big with Johnny's Barbecue tailgate packages. Whether you're hosting a home gate or a tailgate, Johnny's Barbecue has you covered. Check out our tailgate packages at johnny'sbbqkc.com. Located in Olathe and serving all of KC. Johnny's Barbecue. Taste the smoke.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios. Welcome in to the Chiefs Red Half Hour. Every day at 11:30 with Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5 The Fan.
It is the Chiefs Red Half Hour. Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you here on a Friday.
Brisco's actually coming to my gambling thing tonight.
There you go.
He's making the drive up.
So you're going to take his money, huh?
The next year it's I don't know. I mean, and in between it feels less like I'm taking somebody else's money versus like poker. Like in poker, Gold, you and I are in a hand. I could take your money directly versus like there's just a pot and it's got money in it. Hey, what's the amount of money before it's like considered like an illegal gambling situation?
Like the official definition, or just what do I think?
Like if a group of people are getting together and they're gambling money in the comfort of their own homes, what is the amount of money before the cops care?
Well, I would say if you're in the comfort of your own home and it's just family and friends, then there is no limit. Who cares?
Okay, great. I'm not taking a rake.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If it's just family and friends, then it's all good. If you're actually like promoting it and you're having outside people come in, then you got a problem.
So if I said like on the show, like I'm going to give away 5 invites to the
then it might be a little bit of a problem.
Then we run into issues. Okay. Maybe one year for the garage sale, I'll pass an invite to one of these mini things that the Tapp family.
If you're in law enforcement, just send me a DM and I'll give you Cody's address. Just scare him. You know,
it's not at my house tonight.
Just scare him. It'd be pretty entertaining.
That'd be hilarious.
Just scare him. Just knock on the door and be like, "We understand there might be some gaming going on in here." You don't have to do anything. I just want you to scare him a little bit. That's all. Yeah.
I'll get you there one of these years. This is the kind of game I think you would enjoy. Versus like poker, this is less.
I told you my issue with poker.
Of a skill-based game.
I've played poker before. I've played at casinos before, but without knowing some of the people that I know some of the people that play poker with you, and some of them, that's all they do now. And so
less in my game. That's more at others.
And so I'm not going into a place where people are playing poker multiple times a week when I play a couple times a year max. And so no, I like my money. No.
You do?
Yeah, it turns out. So
Drew, I can't ever get a good sense on the level of gambling you like to do. Like just passive gambling, not like we all do sports wagering, whether I'm an underdog or gold. Like right, everybody.
You just mean in general, like non-sports betting.
If you're in a group of people in a bar, is there ever money placed on a Papa Shot game or? I think Gold loves sports wagering.
Drew's going to Dave and Buster's. He's loading up his card and doing that wagering thing.
I think Gold loves sports wagering. I don't think he loves all gambling. I don't think Gold is just a degenerative gambler who will gamble on anything. I think Gold primarily likes to sports wager. Not that he won't wager on anything. Primarily likes to do that.
I'm along those lines. There is if my brother and I go and play golf, we'll put some money on every hole.
Okay.
And that's kind of the way that we do it. Of course, we do the handicap stuff because he's a much better player than I am. But yeah, if it's, I don't know, the way that you say, it makes, I guess maybe this says that I'm a degenerate. I almost want you saying that in a different family setting. Like we have our vacation, we go to the Outer Banks every year. We play some games.
Yeah, we've heard about that beach spot.
Gotta protect it at all costs.
There are games that we play. I almost want to put some money down on it. Maybe that's a improper thing to do. But you're almost encouraging me to do it now, I guess, in a way.
There you go.
Just asking.
All right, let's get to the Chiefs. If you haven't already, you can still go to the Chiefs site and do it. But I got an email this morning. We talked about it briefly yesterday, but they sent out another batch of emails today. Check your spam and your email or whatever. The Chiefs sent out surveys or a link to a survey. One is a renovation survey. One is a new stadium survey. And depending on what you select, obviously it'll ask you different questions. If you're a season ticket holder versus someone who just buys individual games or whatever. And so what has got a lot of people talking in the last 24 hours is if you are a season ticket holder, one of the questions it asked you when you were on the new stadium and everything is about pricing and personal seat licenses and like your feelings on it and all that. For those that don't know, we briefly touched on this yesterday because Bob initially mentioned that the survey was coming out. Personal seat licenses is something that has happened to a lot of new stadiums that get built. You are paying for the license of the seat and you still pay your season ticket annual fee on top of it. The PSL is a one-time fee per seat. It depends on where the seat is. It depends on what stadium we're talking about. It can be, $3,000 a seat. It can be $25,000 a seat. It just depends on where the seat is. And so a couple examples, if you go through the process. So for example, like general admission, they label it a general admission seat located at the goal line of the lower bowl. Food and beverage would be a la carte, available to purchase. Seat coverage would be enclosed stadium. Cost per seat, $2,575. PSL fee, $10,750. These are one-time fees, and yeah, you can spread it across multiple years to pay for it. But that is probably happening with a new stadium. I don't know how a new stadium doesn't happen without that. No, when I say that is, can they build one without it? Of course they can. I just don't know if that's reality. Look at Buffalo, look at Nashville, look at the Vegas Allegiant Stadium where the Raiders play. They have PSLs. This is what a lot of these owners and teams have done to supplement, if you will, the cost of the stadium, even though they're already getting public money for the stadium.
That's the problem I have. This is the most cash grab of cash grabs. Like, I'm sorry. The personal seat licenses, you're getting ripped off. So let me just get this straight. Let's just say the Chiefs moved to Kansas. In which the Kansas has promised them like $1 billion to build the stadium. So $1 billion to build the stadium. They pony up $500 million, all of which they will just get back in the personal seat licenses and still own the building. And I got to pay. This is a ripoff. I don't want to pay personal seat licenses. I understand
who does? Yeah, nobody
how
does.
They've come into existence, and I understand. And look, maybe that, like, if you're willing to sell or can sell your seat, maybe that makes it more valuable. Their argument is like for those things, and I understand that it's supposed to give you the flexibility in it. But man, that is a lot. It seems like that's a lot easier to ask, in my opinion, to the, like LA, New York, some of these larger markets where income disparity might exist in this big way, where there are people who can regularly afford this amount. My fear is like the people who have been, there are a lot of people in Kansas City who've had their season tickets for 40 damn years.
Pass it down to family members.
And now you want them to pay $15,000 just to hold on to their seat?
That's why they're
giving
doing
you tens of thousands of dollars every year for these season tickets. That sucks.
Yeah, that's why they're doing a survey to find out what's the feedback. It's just hard to imagine anybody filling out a survey being like, yeah, I'll gladly, sure, no problem. I'll gladly pay you $10,000 for my seat on top of the annual fee that I'm going to have to pay to renew my tickets. And there's also just different, depending on how they would set it up, there's different stipulations. Like it gives you the right to buy those same seats for concerts, yes, but it doesn't. There's like I'm basing this off of Legion Stadium. There's different levels of their PSLs. I looked this up yesterday. So a base level PSL basically gives you access to concerts, but to get access, if there was ever a Super Bowl, you have to be a different level of PSL. I don't know if that's what they would do, but it's not I think it's not accurate to flat out say that it guarantees you the right to buy Final Four tickets or something. That's not 100% a guarantee. It might be for concerts and definitely for Chiefs games and stuff. But that's why they do the survey. You're right, though. There's a lot of fans that would be alienated by this. Hell, even if there's not a PSL, there's a lot of fans with a brand new stadium that won't be able to afford the cost.
Yeah, because it's going up. Cost of this is going up.
I try to balance the two. I'm not saying it's something that people shouldn't complain about at all. It's crazy. I just always about like the reality of the situation. All the other new stadiums are doing this, and that's what and it sucks. But this is, I would be stunned, frankly, if a new Arrowhead, if that's the path they go, doesn't have PSLs, a brand new stadium.
I guess this goes to the same thing, and I'm not trying to live in some utopian society in which this doesn't exist, but like, ask for one or the other. You both need $1 billion in public money and need the PSL money. Like, it's a disproportionate imbalance. And then I guess I get offended because like I went through the survey thing too, and it's always the same little like sad like, do you want a canopy? Is that the thing you care about? What about the walkway? And you're like, I don't care about any of those renovations.
Well, that's why there's a survey, Cody.
Like you should
say no.
Well, I know that, but it's just like, it seems like they're vying for like they're looking for the couple of things you actually did care about. I'm like, we didn't like the renovation plan. I don't know how to put this to you. Now now I don't remember in the In the survey, did it just straight up ask whether you'd prefer a new stadium to an old stadium?
There's two separate surveys.
Yeah.
There are two separate surveys, and it asks you, your preferences. What do you prioritize? It goes through. It asks you, how do you arrive to the stadium? Do you take Uber? Do you drive? Do you tailgate before? How early before the game do you get there? All these things that can shape maybe their view of what people want and feedback for the organization. I mean, they're going to have 200,000 people or more that are going to fill this out, because even if you didn't get an email, you can go to the Chiefs site and fill it out. A lot of people got emails. I think basically if you've ever bought tickets from them or you're on this list or whatever, you'll get it. Whether you're on the Kansas side, obviously I'm on the Kansas side, I still got the email. Doesn't matter which side of the state line you're on. They're asking people, and they'll ask for your zip code, right? Because they do want feedback based off of that to know which parts of towns do people are more favorable for a new stadium or PSLs versus other. I mean, this is all data they're trying to collect.
Because if there's more people favorable to PSLs, because someone over on Twitch said that they're fine with the PSLs. It essentially gives the guarantees your seat for certain events, opposed to just having to buy a ticket. So, you want to go to the Taylor Swift concert, like you mentioned, and it's at the new stadium, you can just buy that seat. You don't have to go through the trouble.
I think this started with Carolina. So the Carolina Panthers, when they built their new stadium.
It's common overseas, too.
Carolina Panthers, I believe, were the first that kind of started doing this. And even, remember, the Panthers have been dog crap, and they still do the normal raising season ticket prices. They still have PSLs. And here we're talking about a team that might be three-peating. So I'm not surprised. This is just a survey. It's not a guarantee that it happens, but I just don't know if a new stadium gets built that doesn't include PSLs.
How close are we? Now, I will say, if they do renovations in PSLs,
that's crazy.
Get
if
out.
that happens.
I mean, just get the hell out.
I don't think that's the case.
And the text line is already pointing out that they kind of do something like that. If you're a first-time season ticket member, they make you pay a one-time fee.
Yeah, your first year being a season ticket holder costs you more,
like triple,
than it does after year 3. Yeah.
Okay, so they're kind of doing that, but not for the people who have had the longevity in the seat. How close are we to even any of these stadium stuff getting resolved?
Man,
we haven't, since that vote failed, crickets from the Chiefs. This is the closest thing we've heard to like a little bit of rumbling. Borderline crickets from the Royals. There's that one rumor about the site at Washington Square Park, and that was and even the Royals didn't come out publicly and be like, yeah, we're real serious about that. So it's I don't know, man. It's kind of
on the Chiefs front, I think the latest comment from them publicly was spring. So, that's going to be after the Super Bowl. It's going to be a couple months away till maybe we get some clarification. I know the Royals front, it seemed like people thought maybe that was going to be closer, but it's January 10th, and the reporting was around winter meetings, and that was December 2nd. So we haven't heard anything on the Royals front. I know Fesco yesterday was still reporting that he's hearing that the Johnson County sites are still maybe the front runners, if you will. So we'll see. I think the Royals are still closer, if you're asking that. Who's closer?
Yeah,
it sounds like the Royals are closer than the Chiefs.
I think the Royals are in a bigger hurry to leave.
Well, they've already said we're for sure out. The Chiefs aren't out of the complex guaranteed by a certain point. The Royals saying no matter what happens, we're done with the complex.
Well, and I see a world in which the Chiefs have made their decision, but they need a couple more years. So the lease is up in 2030, but they got a new stadium brewing. I see a year-to-year lease with the Truman Sports Complex not being out of the question,
Yeah, it just depends.
Where they just try to make it work for a little bit of time.
It's just, think about all the, you get to the age of some of the stadiums. I just saw in Denver just 2 days ago, they're already talking about building a new Mile High Stadium. And that stadium's obviously way newer. In our lifetime, they've built a new stadium. And they're already talking about another new stadium in Denver now that maybe either at a renovation.
That's going to be pretty common. The 20-year mark, that was the whole thing with the Chiefs, is that it just feels like the right time to build the new stadium. They're going to build the new stadium eventually. If you want to ride out, I think Clark still would, personally, like to ride out 20 more years of Arrowhead in which he gets to enjoy this thing that his family built, his father built, and he gets more time in his life getting to enjoy this thing that is a legacy thing to his family. And there are probably fans who would still like to see the legacy of that stadium ride out. All I'm telling you is it ain't lasting forever. This is not the Roman Coliseum. They will one day bulldoze Arrowhead. Whether they put a new stadium there, they put it somewhere else. One day, it won't, one day in the next 20 years, it's not going to be the stadium for the Chiefs anymore. I think that they were just trying to get one last ride with it, which I understood.
Everybody's passionate
it's just
about
not the
it.
way I would do it.
Everybody's passionate about it, one way, no matter what side you are. I think we've been consistent on preferences. I would prefer a downtown baseball stadium, even if that maybe seems less likely today than it did 5 months ago, or 6+ months ago. I would prefer that path. I would also, I think if you're going to ask for taxpayer money for renovations of an Arrowhead, I would rather see a brand new stadium than putting, renovations and money into a stadium at the age that it is. And as you said, in 20 years, they'll be asking you to to maybe build a new stadium then anyway. So that's just where not everybody agrees with that. Obviously, I don't expect everybody to, but those are my preferences, and we'll see. It's all going to end up working out. These teams are not leaving Kansas City. That's first and foremost the most important thing. That's the nice thing. I'm not saying everybody's going to be happy about whatever the outcome is, but these teams are staying. These teams are staying in Kansas City. That's what's most important. But yeah, we don't really have any. It doesn't feel like we're any closer than what we were. But I think we might be on the Royals front. But other than that, it just doesn't feel that way.
Do the Chiefs have enough fans ready to take the question they have to ask themselves? Do they have enough fans ready to take over the seats for the people who they will lose to a $15,000 personal seat license? Do they have enough people waiting in the wings willing to pay it? Is all they have to ask themselves. That's how these people. That's how these teams
you'd have more businesses and corporate partners buying these up. Is what would happen. I think
probably.
But
Odyssey, maybe?
The family.
Maybe we could still go.
But the family of four, someone texted in just a second ago, 913-586-7965. And I want to be clear, this is just on a survey. This is not a guarantee that this would be the pricing, but this was on a survey. Someone said they got the survey, and in their section that they sit in, it would cost $20,000 a seat for the PSL on top of their ticket prices that they already pay. It'd be $80,000. Even if you pay, yes, you don't have to pay that up immediately. You can finance it out 5 years, but still, that $80,000. Now, those, if you're
5 years, you could drive a Yukon. XL Denali. My God.
And people will have to make that decision.
Is it 0% interest at least?
I have no
idea. Is the financing out at least? Can I get 0% APR?
It better be.
I have no idea. I have no idea how that works. I will say, though, if the person's PSL in the survey is saying $20,000 a seat, that means you either have great lower level or you're in the club level. So your ticket, you're already spending a pretty penny on the tickets to begin with. Like, obviously, the PSLs are going to be different price for the 300 level than they are the club level. I think we all understand that's how this would work.
Yeah.
But it's insane. I'm not expecting anybody to be like, sure, no problem. Sure, I'm good with
Here's
this.
$10K. Yeah. Gold, you have $10,000, don't you?
Yeah, no problem.
Freely to use?
Yeah.
Like, if I need to borrow $10,000 from you right now, can I have it?
No, you cannot.
Could you produce it in cash?
Produce it? I could get you it, but I'm not giving it to you. Yes. Not giving it to you.
You wouldn't trust me?
I know you could produce it. You can just, you got a house, so you can. There's different financing mechanisms to come up with to come up with the money.
I'm not trying to refi my house to pay for my PSL.
There are people that are already due for their season tickets. It's crazy. People have done that.
That's not.
So we'll see where this goes. But it's the first time that the Chiefs, in any capacity, even if it's a third-party company that's doing this survey, have mentioned PSLs. But go to Buffalo. That's part of their new stadium. Nashville, part of their new stadium. I mentioned LA. Mentioned the Raiders. Like, it's not a new concept. Like, they're not inventing something new. It's just it's the reality. It sucks of what is likely to happen.
I want to talk about one of the things Andy Reid, who spoke to the media today at 10:30. We got into a little bit with the offensive line stuff. Obviously, quite a bit. We'll talk more about that later. Certainly with Matt McMullen, who will join us. Brisco thinks Jalen Watson addition is massive. Where are we on just how big of a difference his play versus others? Honestly, it gives me so much more security is what it is. When I have to watch, and this is not like to pick on him, but when I have to watch guys like Najee Johnson get regular playing time, it makes me nervous. Not that he's incapable of having a good game, not that he hasn't had good snaps, but he gets beat deep a lot. He got beat deep by Cortland Sutton and when he was starting with the other starters and a million things. Even if Jalen Watson can play 50% of the snaps, the depth at the position is so much greater than it was. I do think that this is one of the single biggest additions. This is as big as them adding a Minihue back. That's how big of an addition I think it is.
I would agree with that. This is definitely a player, though, like outside of Kansas City, nobody knows how big of an addition Jalen Watson could be in the postseason. This is something like you have to be in it here in KC to recognize what he meant. All we have to do is go back and look. I know now the defense is playing better, but there was a, 6+ week stretch where everybody was starting to get really nervous about this defense. And, whether it was Najee Johnson or Josh Williams or Roland Wallace, and you're like, they just don't have the guys back there. The difference, if you even look at the numbers of whether it's completion percentage or otherwise, when Jalen Watson is on the field compared to when he hasn't been on the field, it is night and day. I mean, this guy did not get enough credit how he played the first 5-6 weeks of the season, whatever it was before the injury that he had. I mean, he was playing really, really good shutdown corner for this team, and he got more and more appreciation, I think, when he was hurt. Unfortunately, that's sometimes how this works. People don't appreciate you until you're injured or whatever.
You're gone, and then you're like, oh, God. I very specifically said that it would make no impact.
I think so.
I have since said that was wrong.
We've all watched what's happened,
I've
right?
seen with my eyes.
Because we've all watched what's happened. So no, it's a big boost if they get him back, even if it's in some capacity at all. And you're right, it's a depth thing too, because there's a chance somebody else gets hurt in the secondary during this playoff run. Hopefully not, but there's a chance that happens. Sure. So you didn't need it. You were super thin at corner. This just gives you some more depth. But that's not. If you go and ask anybody outside of Kansas City, and I say Jalen Watson, they may not know who the heck he is. But I think everybody around here, anybody that pays attention, knows how important he's been. This would be a huge boost, and it seems like he's on track to play. I don't know if he's going to start at number 2 corner right away. I think there's a chance he does the way he's trending.
It makes it so much easier to be a shutdown defense in the AFC side of the playoff field. Because as we did the rankings like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, whatever, the AFC is not loaded. The AFC playoff field is not loaded with offensive wide receiver talent. Okay, it's just not. There are good wide receivers. Ladd McConkey can certainly cause you problems. Nico Collins can certainly cause you problems. Like, I'm not saying they don't have good players, but I mean, Trent McDuffie can handle the number 1 of most of the teams in those matchups. And then now Jalen Watson can handle the drop-off, I think, that is significant for almost every other AFC team for the number 2. Whether they be Keon Coleman or if Zay Flowers is back and it's an AFC title game, whatever. All of a sudden, like, okay, now I got Jalen Watson on Rashad Bateman versus I got Najee Johnson or I got Joshua Williams, who's one of the most penalized corners in the NFL, mind you, this season. So, like, all of a sudden, those little ticky-tack hole, like, that stuff stops holding you back defensively. It is far easier to be a dominant defensive team. Not to mention the way we know secondaries help pass rush and all the other stuff. But it's like that makes a pretty big difference.
Yeah, the flexibility, like kind of what you're saying, where you can line guys up as well. You know, does that allow you to have McDuffie move back inside at times if needed? We know how dominant he was before, so that is the flexibility you get. And right now, barring a setback, it sure looks like Jalen Watson is going to be back for the playoffs. What a recovery that is. I know they never officially ruled him out, even back in October, but everybody just kind of was like, okay, he's probably done. And it's a credit probably to his rehab to be able to be back in this position where he's out there practicing full go. He's not limited. I don't believe they've listed ever limited since he's returned. He's been full go.
He said he looks good out there. He says he's moving well. And if he's practicing now, a week and a day, a week and 2 days before the game. We've talked about this before with Andy in practice and playing. He's playing. Like, he's going to play in the game. Now, it might only be 50% of the snaps. But that means if he's playing 50% now, by the time they get to the Super Bowl, he'll be an 80, 90, 100% player. And that, as I've pointed out before, is when it'll really matter. Look at the wide receiver 1-2s in the NFC side. That's when you're going to want a second corner, Gold. Like, if you're in the Super Bowl against almost any team we think will be in the Super Bowl for the NFC side, almost all of them, like Kupp and Nakua or A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith or like Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and Jameson Williams, like, it doesn't matter. The NFC team you think is getting through, they got a 1-2. So, like, it matters now because it obviously makes you deeper and it'll make you deeper for the game next week in the divisional round. But it matters more and more as the time goes on because the opponents get tougher in that regard.
Did the Chiefs have a Menahu when they played the Bills? I can't remember.
Week 11.
No? I don't think so.
Oh, man, that feels like when he did come back.
Okay. Because the reason I'm asking is just because, not that it makes you feel like they're unstoppable even more, but getting Jalen Watson back and knowing you have a Menahu and how much his impact has been there.
No, he was not in that game.
Okay, so I think going into the post, like, I know that the Bills didn't have Kincaid or Keon Coleman, but if you can go into your point, Cody, of them being dominant again, where you look and there's really no flaw like that they have on defense other than maybe covering tight end still, but they're getting to the quarterback better. You have your second corner who can lock a guy down where Trent can do his thing in the slot and all over the place. You shouldn't feel... You should feel even better, I think, about the Chiefs' chances, even though the Bills didn't have Kincaid and didn't have Keon Coleman in that game that they played.
I can't think of another team in the NFL right now that has been doing what Kansas City's been doing for the last 6 weeks, which is most teams slowly get more hurt. The Chiefs have actually slowly been getting healthier as the season gone on. They were their most injured halfway through this season. And then they added Pacheco back in, added Amenihu back in, added Watson back in, added McColl back in,
Hollywood,
added Hollywood.
No, they're
back
healthier
in.
next week for the game than they have been really at any point this season. Because in week 1 they already were without
Amenihu and Hollywood.
So I mean they're as healthy as they have been all year.
They had Rashee Rice week 1.
I understand,
but they were missing so many other players.
But they're going to be as healthy as they've been all year heading into the divisional round game, which obviously makes you feel pretty good.
I mean, I feel pretty bad if I were a fan of a different team,
And who knows? I mean, not that I want anybody to get hurt, but these teams are playing next week. They're playing this week, and so who knows? Whether it's banged up, whether it's a real injury or not,
and
that's the
ruled
benefit
Zay Flowers out, right?
Of the bye. Yeah, the Ravens did. Yeah, Zay Flowers is out for this weekend, and I still think the Chiefs are playing the Chargers or Texans. Although I would love an upset, but it sure seems like they're playing the Chargers or Texans, and the Chargers seem to be everybody's, like, if you did a poll of like most likely opponent, that seems to be where everybody's at.
The one of the four I'd like to face the least, probably.
Yeah. Look, maybe the Texans put something together. I just haven't been impressed with them. I think they're a very average football team, but maybe they're at home. They put something together. CJ Stroud can ball out, and all of a sudden the Texans get another playoff win, and they come to Kansas City. That matchup's one I would definitely welcome as well.
Can I say that Denver becomes infinitely more scary if they beat Buffalo? Like, as it sits right now, I'm not like, oh, no, not Denver. Chiefs had to block a field goal. They got their ass kicked. I don't care. It's all backups. But, they needed a block field goal to beat them before. Mm-hmm. They're the best combination of offense and defensive line in the AFC playoff field. They have the best offensive line. They have a very good defensive line.
Still a rookie quarterback, though. And I know you'll say, well, he just went to Buffalo. Yeah, but how he's going to go win? He's going to win at Buffalo and Kansas City in the playoffs.
It doesn't pass the smell
against a divisional team. I don't know if that's.
It doesn't pass the smell test. I don't disagree with you, but they are more scary if they win that game than they are as it sits right now. Right now, I don't fear them. I don't think they're beating Buffalo.
I would sign up for Denver coming here next week. It means
over the Chargers and the Texans?
They beat the Bills, because then it means if I beat Denver, I'm in the AFC title game against either Baltimore or, in this hypothetical, the Texans or Chargers. Like, yeah, I'll take that path. I get what you're saying, but I would definitely take that path if it came to be.
I mean, Cody, I guess in that rate, would you rather face the Broncos or the Buffalo Bills? You'd still rather face the Broncos, I think, in that case.
And that was the Bengals argument, which is like, right, if you're giving me the choice, I'll still just take.
All right,
still just take Broncos.
Up next, guys, let's get to what's trending, then back into who we think are those final four teams out of the AFC NFC combo when it comes to the AFC title game weekend. And we'll also get back into what happened in college football. We got another game tonight, Ohio State and Texas. That's coming up next on Cody and Gold.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for Royals baseball. 96.5 The Fan, brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
I'm McCall with Lee Summit Subaru, and it's time to make a big deal out of nothing. Zero, like in 0% financing. Zero is back. Up to 0% financing on select 2024 and 2025 Subaru models for 72 months. Yeah, we did that too. And we're Google's highest review rated and only locally owned Subaru retailer in Kansas City. 0% event and a lifetime warranty. Fall in love with driving again at Lee Summit Subaru.
Google highest review rated Subaru retailer in Kansas City based on 2023 Google Analytics.
He's the sewer magician. Dick Ray, he's a man on a mission. From murky floods to clogged up drains to pipes that are putting up a fight, he can wave his wand and leave the sewer shining bright. He'll make things right. Call Dick Ray, he's the sewer magician.
Hey, it's Dick Ray, Clear Any Drain, only $79. Call 913-DICK-RAY.
It's a Red Friday on 96.5 The Fan and the other place, especially with these amazing game day specials. 14-inch two-topping pizzas for just $12 and $4 domestic OP cups. The other place with 5 great Kansas City Metro locations.
This weekend, only at Old Navy, get 50% off all activewear for the family. Yep, get 50% off all activewear for the family. So hurry in this Saturday and Sunday, only at Old Navy, valid 1/11 and 12, excludes clearance and licensed. After you use Bounce Dryer sheets and realize how fresh, soft, less wrinkled, and less staticky your laundry can be, you'll put a sheet on your every time. Like those socks that smell like they've been through a marathon. Put a sheet on it. Or that blanket that's got wrinkles on its wrinkles. Put a sheet on it. Maybe even your chatty coworker who keeps distracting you. Okay, Bounce Dryer sheets can't do it all. But for fresher, softer, better laundry, put a sheet on it with Bounce.
Hey, it's Rex here with RexBuysKC.com, your local KC home buyer. If you own a property in the Kansas City or surrounding area and want to sell it fast and at a fair price, write this number down, 816-330-6000. I'm a private real estate investor, not some hedge fund or large national chain. My family and I live right here in KC. I can pay cash and close on your timeline, even in as little as 3 days. Here at RexBuysKC.com, we're improving Kansas City one house at a time. I buy inherited houses, vacant houses, foreclosure houses, behind in payment houses, my tenant won't pay the rent houses, and properties that need complete rehabs. Do you own a house that's trashed and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at this number, 816-330-6000. That's 816-330-6000, or go to RexBuysKC.com. That's RexBuysKC.com, and I look forward to working with you.
Good morning, beat freaks. Who's ready to move? Let's start this day right.
Tasha's morning dance parties are meeting rave reviews.
Lose your phones and find your groove.
They need an ops manager to help their community dance the morning away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
I'm at the movies, asking people if they'll switch seats with me for $574.
Here, take mine.
So what about $574 if you switch your home insurance to Allstate?
Too much work.
Not if you call them. They handle the switching.
Now, that's a plot twist.
Shh. Check Allstate first, and you could save hundreds on quality home insurance today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Not available in every state. Based on the national average annual savings for new home insurance customers surveyed in 2023 who switched to Allstate and reported savings. Savings vary.
Hang out with Cody and Gold. Weekdays starting at 10 on 96.5 The Fan, KFNC FM and AM, HD1 and HD2 Kansas City, in Odyssey Sports Station. What's trending?
What's Trending is presented by Baker University, where graduates earn higher salaries and land jobs faster than any other university in Kansas. Apply today at bakeru.edu. Number one on What's Trending is what we heard from Andy Reid a little bit earlier today right here on 96.5 The Fan. He did confirm that Shamari Connor and some of these guys like Chris Jones and Isaiah Pacheco and Jawan Taylor and Jalen Watson all practiced today. Said, quote, they are all doing well. Went on to say they have yet to make a decision that they want to share publicly, at least, on starting left tackle for the postseason.
Well, it's not surprising. He doesn't usually let the cat out of the bag this early. I think it's because they're actually still considering DJ Humphries. We'll see. You and I both said we would just stick with Tooney. But at least, some version of it out there as well. Next up on What's Trending, Jack Caglione will officially get an invite to Big League Camp for the Kansas City Royals.
Okay.
My understanding is that there is a possibility Jack Caglione could make the big league roster at some point in the 2025
Not
season.
out of camp.
But it's a long shot, and it would still be later in the year. A lot of things you wouldn't come to expect there. And honestly, it'd have to be raking. Like his early stats in A-ball weren't exactly off the charts. He'd have to be hitting really well in order to do that. But he will get an invite to big league camp. They typically do that for young players they really like and want to find a way to the big league roster. And so, we'll see. I bet he only lasts, this works. He'll be at the big league camp 2 weeks. And then he'll be down with the minors. Probably.
Yeah, they want him to be around big league players, that kind of culture, if you will, and everything like that.
He's a tall drink of water.
Next up on What's Trending, All-Pro voting is done. The AP All-Pro teams were announced. Creed Humphrey got 44 first-place votes. He's a first-team All-Pro, so is left guard Joe Tooney, as well as Chris Jones. Second team was Trent McDuffie. And then if you were just wondering who was maybe close or at least got some votes, there's no such thing as a third-team All-Pro, but Trey Smith, makes sense, he was closer. And then some guys got votes, Nick Bolton, Leo Chanel, and Travis Kelce.
Oh, Kelce picked up a couple, huh?
Got two.
Bowers, and there's just some easier choices.
How about Leo getting two? Good for him. That blocked field goal, and
the
blocked field got some attention from people. He's been great this year, but I'm still surprised he got votes. And then Trey Smith, guards another tough position.
He's going to get a lot of money this offseason from somebody.
Big time.
The Chiefs or anybody.
I think somewhere else probably, but yeah, he's getting big time money.
Next up on What's Trending, Deshaun Watson had a setback in his injury. He reportedly had to have a second Achilles surgery today, which will put his setback and timeline into 2025 completely into question. I guess the normal recovery for this is 7.5 months, but it's the second surgery he's had on it in the last 2 months, which means the possibility his season's done in next season for the Browns is very likely. What a shame. I'm very sad for him. That's pretty tough for the Browns, who made this decision in what is the single worst transaction in maybe sports.
Did they have an out now?
History. Sports.
I think there's a
history.
way they want to pay him next year. Maybe they can use. I think they have insurance on the contract now or something.
For the injury,
so.
they do. They're probably secretly kind of quietly happy about this. I think I think there's a chance Deshaun Watson has played his last snap in the NFL.
I mean, is it the same Achilles?
Yeah. He had a setback on that injury.
I think there's a chance he never plays in the NFL ever again. Who's going to give him a job after this? He's played in 22 games in 4 years for the Browns.
Oh, the only team he played for is the Browns at this rate. But, I mean, he might be done because of the injury, too.
I'm not willing to say, he'll never play a snap in the NFL again. He's 29 years old, and at some point, if someone's not paying him the crazy contract, maybe.
Like the Russell Wilson 1 year.
Something like that. Yeah. But, I mean, the Cleveland thing is a disaster, an absolute disaster. Who's going to be their starting quarterback next year?
I think of the worst available starter at a reasonable price tag. That's the answer. Aaron Rodgers.
No way.
Okay, all right, hold on. Carson Wentz. It's got to be a person with previous starter experience, but not one that's going to cost real money. Like Gardner Minshew will get another job, or Will Levis will be the starter of the Cleveland Browns next year.
If the Vikings don't keep Darnold.
You know what? I take it back. My official guess, Will Levis, Cleveland Browns starter.
No.
Who's your guess?
No.
I mean, if the Vikings move on from Darnold, I think the Browns, I don't know if they'd bring him in.
They can't afford to have that contract that he's going to get. It's got to be somebody on a 1-year deal. It can't be a multi-year starter, I don't think, at this point in time.
Maybe they honestly might.
I mean, the Colts are also out there saying that they need to bring in competition for Anthony Richardson. So there's other teams that are going to be
just bring Flacco back.
Joe Flacco.
What a mess.
You know what? Sure. What do I care?
Who are we missing? I mean, I think, Carson Wentz has a chance to get somebody. No.
I'm just throwing names out there
sure?
at this rate.
Andy Dalton seems to find a way to start in the NFL every year.
You're not starting next year.
I'm just throwing names. Mason Rudolph?
I think you're right on Gardner Minshew.
Is it just a guy they draft? Should I be giving some third-round quarterback's name? Oh, you know what? I got it. Jimmy Garoppolo.
There you go.
How does everyone feel about that?
Jimmy G in Cleveland.
Jimmy G?
Definitely a possibility.
Jimmy G?
Perfect.
Round starter. Jimmy's 33. He's no real threat to your guy. You can still bring in a third-round quarterback and do whatever you want. Or Justin Fields.
Fields would be interesting.
Fields. Oh
Where else is he starting?
I know.
If Kirk gets
I guess it also depends on do the Steelers bring back Russell Wilson, because if not, he's available on the street too.
I've changed my answer. Justin Fields is my new guess, not Will Levis.
Do they just say, forget it, we're going to draft Cam Ward? If they can.
Where are they picking?
Like third, right?
Oh, they probably should. Yeah. I mean, if I were them, that's what
because
I would do.
I don't know what can salvage keeping
second, I think. Wait, no, sorry, hold on. Mock draft order. I think you're right. Second. Yep, second.
Can you keep Myles Garrett? Can you convince I think he's on the brink of wanting to be traded because he's like, I'm not here for a rebuild.
Trade him. Just draft a quarterback, trade Myles Garrett, recoup picks, and try to rebuild your entire roster.
Sanders goes 1 and Ward goes 2? Is that what we're thinking?
Or vice versa, I guess.
I would take either. I mean, even though they're probably not deserving of the first or second pick, what choice do you have? You can't keep going. Deshaun Watson should not play another down.
Yeah, some of those people saying Kirk Cousins. He'll have a job somewhere. I just don't think the Browns are going to pay him. But yet Kirk Cousins will be a starting quarterback next year for somebody.
Someone said Marcus Mariota. He played, I guess, well in the what game was that? They played against the Ravens.
Played this year?
He started against the Ravens in week 18. There was a big video with Derrick Henry. Who was it? Who'd they play?
Say again?
He started for the Ravens? That's who he's playing for?
No. Mariota played against the Ravens in week 18, and Derrick Henry met up with him for the first time because they were teammates in Tennessee.
I
don't know who they played. I can't
I don't know
think
Marcus
of it.
Mariota's playing for.
Commanders. There you go.
Oh, I was like, I don't.
There you go.
Commanders. Rude. I just don't
know.
know.
Yeah, it was a couple weeks ago or whatever he played. And there was a video with him and Derrick Henry.
Got it.
There you go. That is what's trending, other than something we'll get back into in a little bit, which is the semifinals college football playoff continuing tonight. Notre Dame won yesterday. They're awaiting the winner of tonight's game, Ohio State and Texas. So let's get back to the NFL and basically the Final Four, or what we think will be the Final Four. We all did this before the season started. Everybody thought they had their predictions down for AFC and NFC conference title games and all that. And maybe you'll
Drew had the Bengals. They can't make it.
Maybe you'll stick with what you.
He did.
Maybe you'll
I
stick
did.
with what you had.
I did.
Look, I think the rule on this should be, if for this hypothetical thing, if you have a team that you said preseason was in and they're still alive, I think you should not be able to remove
them. What if
them.
they can't line up in the bracket? So
Okay.
in my case,
well, then I
have Lions-Packers. They can't play each other, as one of the final 4 teams available in the NFC. They are the 7th seed. If they
Fair
win,
enough.
the Packers would have to take on the Lions in Detroit in the divisional.
So who were your final 2 in the NFC preseason?
Packers and Lions.
Okay.
And I'm down on the Packers anyway. I think they're losing.
So who are your new 2 then?
And I'll keep the Lions. No reason to change from them.
Yeah.
They're playing at home.
I would say so.
They're already in the divisional round. There's no reason to do that. And then I would replace them with the Eagles. I know it seems like chalk. I'd be actually kind of tempted by the Bucs or the Rams or some of these other teams that I do think could make a run. But if you made me predict right now, I would say Lions, Eagles on the NFC side.
So I had Rams, Niners before the season started. The Niners, of course, did not make the playoffs. I'll keep the Rams there, even though what you just said, it's not possible for the Rams and Lions to play in the title game unless Green Bay wins.
Yeah.
So
it's still possible.
If the Rams,
mine's not mathematically possible in any conceivable way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but I mean, just if the Packers have to win and the Rams have to win for the Rams to be, I'll keep the Rams in there though. I feel like I can't say Rams Lions, even though that's what I think it'll be.
No, you kind of have to say Eagles.
Yeah,
because it can't really be Rams Lions.
I'll say Rams Eagles. Then I'll stick with that. And then on the NFC or on the AFC side, I had Chiefs and Texans. Both are alive. I mean, but they're going to play each other in the second game if the Texans win, most likely. So that's not really possible.
I mean, the picks look really
I understand.
a lot better, though.
Yeah, we're not like way off. But the truth is, like, I think this is an exercise of I respect the preseason picks we made. But what I want to know now is of the teams and the bracket and the way that it lays out.
Chiefs Bills then.
How do you think it's going to go?
Chiefs Bills.
I think it's Chiefs Bills or Chiefs Ravens. You cannot choose any other side or you're choosing wrong. I had Chiefs Bills before, so I would stick with it.
Where are you guys at? 913-586-7965. Drew, what about you?
So my preseason picks.
I want to hear these.
It was Chiefs, Bengals. Mm-hmm. And then the NFC was Packers, Falcons, because I was convinced. I was like, really ugly preseason picks.
I forgot about the Falcons one. I forgot about the Falcons.
I
thought they were going to make the playoffs.
That was one of my all 32s. I was convinced they were going to win 12 or 13 games.
I had Chiefs Packers in the Super Bowl originally, and I don't think that's going to be.
I think it was Bengals Packers for myself, but obviously those picks are not going to happen. I would say the way it lies now, I'm 1-2 and 1-2. I do think there's a couple of upsets, though. I think there's a couple upsets. I think that the 6 seeds, I think the Commanders win against Tampa, and then the Steelers find a way to win in Baltimore.
Yeah, see,
obviously that lines up well for the Chiefs because they wouldn't have to face the Chargers or the Texans. You know, you just move on to Pittsburgh again, who you smacked a few weeks ago.
Yeah, again, if you gave me the choice, I would still choose the Chargers last of any of the teams that they would possibly have to face out of those. I guess like what I'm trying to decide is, do I think any of these teams in the lower level of the AFC have any chance to make a run? And the answer is no. I don't think anyone playing in Wild Card Weekend can get through both their Wild Card Weekend game and then also get through Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. It ain't happening. That's not happening for anybody on the AFC side. There are only 3 teams to choose from. There are a lot of people who do not think the Ravens or the Bills can beat the Ravens. And so, like, I don't think it's crazy to say it's the Ravens now instead. Josh Allen has always played great in the post. My hang up is Josh Allen, his stats in the postseason are bonkers. He has been a great postseason performer. Lamar Jackson has been less so. So I just lean towards the Bills as a result of that. On the NFC side, however, I guess I wouldn't be stunned by any result that had Bucks or Rams or one of those teams, like really just those two.
I'd be
making
stunned if
some
we
sort of run to the NFC title game.
Okay, I'd be stunned if we got a Bucks Rams title game. That would be
one of those two making.
Yeah, that would be stunning if that was the actual matchup. I think the Bucks are beating the Commanders this weekend. I think the Rams are beating the Vikings. So those are two teams that are viewed as maybe the bottom tier of the NFC. At least the Bucks would be, and we'll see what happens. I think the Lions getting the bye week though changes everything in how they viewed them. If they would have had to play this weekend, I was out on the Lions. I would have been out on them. But they get the bye. They're getting healthier. The Lions will be back in form, in my opinion, for the most part. So, and David Montgomery's still probably not going to be available, but Anzalone was already back last Sunday. Now he gets another week to get acclimated. Like, I think the Lions are obviously well positioned now because of that bye. It's why the Vikings are danger, in my opinion, to lose to the Rams.
What's funny is, in retrospect, 2 of the teams that I was the most wrong on what exactly I thought they'd be by this time of the season are playing each other and might play the Chiefs and the Texans and the Chargers. I thought, come on, they can be better. I definitely thought they'd be better. They're a serious organization now. They got an actual head coach. I did not think they'd have the number 1 points per game defense after being miserable last year. And I thought the Texans would be competing for the number 1 seed. They had to stave off teams just to hold on to their bad division.
Yeah, they're too banged up,
like,
man.
Those teams were just not the opposite, but I was wrong on both those teams. I thought the Chargers would, if they got in the playoffs, they'd just be the 7th seed and whatever, and maybe Denver too, probably for that matter. But I thought the Texans would be way scarier this time of year. I thought I'd fear playing them, and I don't fear playing them.
I think most
at all.
people thought they were going to take a leap. I mean, I had them in the AFC title game, and it's very unlikely that's going to be the case. They just got so banged up, and then now the Tank Dell injury. Stroud hasn't played as good this year. All that comes together, and you know, this is why I always think we have to step back and realize how impressive even just the regular season success the Chiefs have had is. Because you have these expectations like the Texans did, and we said, how do they handle having real expectations and expected to go out and win your division and also compete for a 1 seed? And they didn't live up to those expectations this year. And yeah, injuries happen, but that's something the Chiefs have had to deal with, and they've still overcome it. So that's what makes it very impressive over these last couple of years in this run, the dynasty that they're in, that it would be very easy to come up short even in the regular season, and yet they haven't. And that's a testament to, obviously, a lot of people involved.
Does that mean that, I guess, the way that the conferences shake out, like the path in the AFC, Cody, you mentioned, is really only going through 3 guys, essentially, where the NFC we see more chaos. Does that mean that the NFC is better?
AFC is more top-heavy.
Yeah. If you were to say which conference is better right now, it seems
AFC.
like
If I pitted them up against each other in a tournament, the AFC teams are better. Well, God, it's weird.
Well, it's because
the AFC quarterbacks are better. Some of the NFC teams are better.
It's top heavy. It's top heavy in the AFC, and they're the better quarterbacks at the top there. Overall quality of team, seeding 1 through 7, yeah, the NFC's better. I mean, we just got done. The Vikings, for crying out loud, are the 5 seed and won 14 games this year. So I think there's a little bit of, if we view it as a whole, I think it's the NFC. But the quarterbacks, we all know in the playoffs, usually the teams with the best quarterbacks typically are the teams that find themselves in the Super Bowl. And that edge would go to the AFC. Obviously, only one team can come out of there.
Although I think the NFC South winner is worse than the AFC South winner. Like, I'd give the Texans the edge over the...
I don't know, man.
I think if the Tampa Bay Bucks were to play the Texans head-to-head this weekend, the Bucks would be favorites, just like the Texans are underdogs to the Chargers, I think.
That's what you should want, Cody. In regards to how you would reshape the playoffs and everything, you should want, you know what? It's not just the AFC and the NFC side anymore. We're ranking them 1 through 14, and we're having a 14-team playoff.
Man, and
that's what we're doing. That would be nuts.
Where do you put the coaches, though? So we did quarterbacks and stuff earlier. Where do you put the coaches, though? If we were to go through, we don't have to go all 14 or whatever, but generally speaking, let's just stick with this weekend. We know Andy Reid would be number 1 if we did the whole thing. So just this weekend, we're
just eliminating Campbell and Reid from this conversation.
Yep. So that gets us down a little bit. Who do you think actually is the best coach that you kind of trust the most as well, and who's the worst? Not who ultimately is going to win, because I think Mike Tomlin's better than a lot of these coaches, but they're still going to lose this weekend to Baltimore. I think number 1 this weekend on the list is Sean McVay for me. It doesn't mean they're going to win, but I think Sean McVay is the best coach in the mix, and then Harbaugh's number 2 for me. Talking about John Harbaugh, that would be.
Okay, yeah, I was about to say, you got to specify which Harbaugh now. The Harbaugh Bowl could still exist in some way. You know I'm really high on McVay, too, so it's hard for me to not say that he's not up the list a little bit. At some point, don't I have to give McDermott some credit in this?
Sure.
Doesn't he deserve a little
He's not
props?
number 1 or 2
now,
for
McVay's
me,
won a Super Bowl. He's been to 2. So McVay, I would also probably put at 1. Kevin O'Connell would be very high on my list. The problem is, like, if you just made me rank coaches, Tomlin would actually probably be 1 or 2. Tomlin would be right up there. He's deserved his props.
3 for me.
He's been Mr. Consistency, fine. He'd be 3rd at worst, probably. But I don't think his team can win it. I'm so on Sean Payton. I'm so on the floor. Quinn, like, none of those guys move the needle enough for me that I would put them above the other Harbaugh. Kevin O'Connell, who I think is great. Todd Bowles is probably bottom of the list. I mean, it's fine.
Quinn and Bowles are the bottom, too.
Yeah,
Quinn and Bowles are the bottom, and they're playing each other. There you go.
And Nick Sirianni, I hated on forever, but, like, I don't know. He did a really good job this year.
He's been to a Super Bowl.
And he's been to a Super Bowl. Like, so at some point, I'll just put him in the middle because I still, like, deep down in my gut, don't believe it with Nick Sirianni. But he's got to be above the other coaches who haven't accomplished nearly as much as him and didn't overcome some stuff this year and still were successful. But those guys are probably further down my list. Kevin O'Connell might be 4th. I'm a big Kevin O'Connell believer. Like, if he got fired or, like, the Chiefs trade, like, whatever. If let's just say 4 years from now they don't accomplish enough, it doesn't work out with J.J. McCarthy, and he gets axed, and that's right when Andy Reid decides to retire 4 or 5 years from now, I'd happily probably pick up Kevin O'Connell unless something changes drastically.
Well, yeah, because if you think about it too, his status might even go up to, I don't know, dare I say top 3, but if let's say they make it to the NFC title game or whatever and they lose, well, whatever. Sam Darnold goes, he has as much success with J.J. McCarthy, but Sam Darnold falls off after he leaves. All of a sudden, he's like the Sean McVay of, if you're a quarterback or if you're a wide receiver, if you're a guy that wants to get the most out of your offensive abilities, then you want to go to Minnesota because Kevin O'Connell's doing that with that group. If I guess that proves that he's as good of a coach as people might think he is. If Darnold leaves, he isn't as successful wherever he goes, and J.J. McCarthy still is just as productive for them. That makes him go up.
I was trying to make this on the fly.
I hate Jim Harbaugh, or I hate Jim Harbaugh's style of play. So, like, I just hate watching it. I'm like, I hate the way you play offense. And so some of his, I'm always like, he's won everywhere he's ever gone. It's in it.
Part of it's the OC, though. I think like in a way, Todd Monken comes over from Georgia. That's the way Georgia played. Greg Roman is a Michigan guy too. The Harbaughs have kind of had him on both of their rosters.
I'm missing one coach. I tried to make my 12, and there's one coach for whatever reason.
Quinn?
I have Quinn.
Bowles?
Yeah.
McVay, O'Connell.
LaFleur.
LaFleur.
I forgot about him. Ooh, where do I put him? That's tricky.
He's truly in the middle, man. He has done a nice job there for Green Bay, but obviously they fell on harder times towards the end of the season.
I've got my definitive list. Definitive list here.
Definitive list made in 35 seconds.
Yeah, for not including
for wildcard weekend.
Yeah, not number 1 and number 2 seeds. So don't freak out when I don't say Andy Reid or Dan Campbell. McVay 1, John Harbaugh 2, Mike Tomlin 3, Kevin O'Connell 4, Jim Harbaugh 5, McDermott 6, LaFleur 7, Payton 8, Sirianni 9, D'Amico Ryan 10, Quinn 11, Bulls 12.
Yeah, honestly, that's probably pretty close to my list.
The only one
I
was
might
like,
put D'Amico further down. He got a lot of pub for one decent year under CJ.
You think Dan Quinn should be higher?
Yeah, he's won divisions before.
Mm-hmm.
He took a less expected team to the postseason this year than
I just like D'Amico Ryan, I guess, but
than D'Amico. He's done fine. He's never done anything to like move the needle one way or the other.
The only one I considered is, do I have Kevin O'Connell too high, and do I need to move McDermott and LaFleur?
Or does what Pittsburgh's been doing recently move you down from Tomlin?
Yeah, Tomlin at 3. Is Tomlin too high?
Yeah. So here's part of the issue. I think if you were making this list based on all accomplishments, McDermott has to be higher. If you ask,
I wasn't basing it off that.
But if this list was list the coaches in order that I would want to be the coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, if Andy Reid retired tomorrow, then I would rather have Kevin O'Connell than Sean Payton.
Well, then I'm going to get rid of all the defensive. Well, then I'm going to get rid of all the defensive guys and put all the offensive guys up at the top.
You're going to get rid of Tomlin?
I'm going to move all the offensive guys to the top of the list. That's in that hypothetically, yeah.
Like if you're factoring in everything, I don't think it's I think it's kind of hard that McDermott wouldn't deserve a little more, I guess, to be a little higher.
Yeah. Okay. I was just curious. I think we talk about quarterbacks, so I was thinking
this
about
year,
the coaches.
Can we admit that, like, so now that we're not ranking coaches, but this year for Sean McDermott, if you had some doubts about his stability there, if he's done enough with Josh Allen, because they haven't gotten to the Super Bowl, they haven't won the Super Bowl, all the things you would criticize him for, this was a really good year of I think, knew they had to take a half step back, roster-wise and all this stuff, to kind of rewrite the ship, where they went all in a couple years ago, paid Von Miller, screwed up their cap, sold their souls a little bit to do it. They knew that this was like the reset year. We're like, look, guys, it's going to be harder for us this year. We're going to have to work harder for it this year. Things aren't going to look as easy, but we're going to try to make do. They look exactly like the same old Bills team. They won 13 games with relative ease. They still kick the ass of multiple teams. They can still beat elite-level NFL talent like the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, nothing fundamentally changed from their ability to win. His problem is that he will eventually have the huge thing hanging over his head is, how can you have Josh Allen all these years and never play in a Super Bowl? He's only been in one AFC championship game?
Yes. I think that's where the MVP part comes into. If Josh Allen wins an MVP, then that case gets even stronger. Like, hey, you had an MVP too. To this point, he hasn't had an MVP quarterback yet. Yeah. So in a weird way, like, for that conversation to really heat up, Josh Allen wins MVP. But as we mentioned today, the All-Pro Awards or All-Pro teams were announced, and it's voted on by the Associated Press, which is also who votes on the MVP. Yeah. And Josh Allen was, 12 votes behind Lamar. Gives us a little glimpse of perhaps how the MVP is going to go.
I will say, somebody on the text line said, hey, Sean Payton has a ring, McDermott has nothing.
He does. That's true.
This is something we actually discussed before the show. We were just having a casual conversation. We weren't like bringing it up for the purpose of the air. That was so long ago, I don't care. Is that wrong? He won that ring in 2009.
Well,
that'd be like saying John Gruden can do it because he won. Like, that's so long ago. 2009, Drew. Were you even out of high school? Like, I'm not kidding. What grade were you in? 7th?
No, I mean, that's in fairness, Cody. I
didn't
graduate high school till 2009, so in fairness,
okay, so he was in middle school.
Yeah.
Dude.
I graduated high school in 2009, man. So
2009.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't still be giving you credit for that Super Bowl win you got.
I'm with you on, like, the Gruden example. Yeah, I mean, we're talking a huge gap. But if you've been coaching this entire time, and Sean Payton took 1 year off, I think in the context, though, of what you were saying, our conversation off air, we were discussing just for fan bases and bragging rights. Like, hey, you can't 7 years later say, well, we were in a Super Bowl 7 years ago, and you weren't. Like, nobody cares what happened 7 years ago. That was the context of that point. I think for coaches, though, unless you have a 25-year gap, if I'm a coach and I want a ring in the last 15 years, that is on my resume. That is still something that I factor in when I'm talking about you. My list, though, wasn't just who has accomplished more. It's like, who right now do I think is just a better football coach? It's a subjective list for a reason. That's why I had McDermott 6, LaFleur 7, and Sean Payton 8. Maybe you think Payton should be above LaFleur. That's fine. Right now, if I were to hire a brand new head coach, I would rather the Chiefs hire Matt LaFleur than Sean Payton, I'll tell you that.
Like, Mike McCarthy has a ring more recently than Sean Payton. Tom Coughlin has a ring more recently than Sean Payton. Like, I'm not saying that he doesn't get credit for winning it when he won it and all the things that come in there. All I'm saying is, like, that can't be Super Bowl ring. I'll never let it be the only reason I decide something. Like, when I'm talking about head coaches right now,
it's a
in
huge
the year
part of it, though, man.
2025, I don't care that you won a ring 16 years ago. Like, I'm not going to hire Gary Kubiak because he won one 4 years more recently than Sean Payton did. It's just like, and I can't believe that name even came up on a show that we've ever done. But it's just like, there's a point where, yes, he won his ring. He deserves his credit. He gets his compliment for that. All the things that normally apply to
In fairness to that conversation, though, the Steelers haven't won one since 2008. Tom Coughlin's won one more recently than Mike Tomlin has.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah, I don't think the year gap thing works for the coach convo, though. Like, again, our conversation off air was about just fan bases and hey, basically, honestly, if you want to know exactly what we're talking about, Drew, of course, Cincinnati came up again. We were talking about Cincinnati, and I was like, you don't realize that Joe Burrow's Super Bowl appearance is about to be 3-4 years ago. Like, nobody's going to reference that or give a damn anymore. Yeah. That was the context of the conversation.
Yeah, people are going to forget that stuff. It doesn't even seem like it's been that long. I think that's the part of it as well. Because we were talking about Big Ben. I don't know, on a couple of days ago. It's been 8 years, 9 years since he played. It's crazy.
All right, coming up next, guys, let's talk about the college football playoff, though. Great semifinal last night. What it means for Notre Dame. I think Marcus Freeman might be a name we're talking about in the NFL someday. But what about tonight? Ohio State, Texas. We do that, plus a random question of the day.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for K-State Athletics. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Great news, Missouri sports fans. Underdog is available to play in your state. We got playoff games tonight, tomorrow, Sunday, Monday. So there's so many great things to be working on. I happen to like Ladd McConkey to go lower than his 75.5 yards that are available on there. And this way you compare a couple of these things together to get those entries for a chance at real cash prizes, all playoffs longs right here in Missouri. Underdog is the only champs platform that puts the power to cash in your hands. Now you can either keep it riding with your entry or tap win now to cash out whenever you want. So many great options. And if you sign up and deposit with Underdog today, using promo code TAP, you can get up to $1,000 in bonus cash just by using that promo code. That's TAP, T-A-P-P. Since it's the best place to play champs, you know you'll be in great shape. Must be 18 and plus and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Men, it's the new year, and for many of us, it's a time of deciding to make positive changes in our lives. This is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health, and if you're suffering with erectile dysfunction and are tired of the frustration and embarrassment ED causes, you should call Heartland Men's Health today. because there probably isn't a better resolution you can make than to be done with ED. You see, ED doesn't just affect you, it can also affect your partner, even if they don't talk about it. But here's some great news. If you're like most guys, the treatments at Heartland Men's Health will give you back your sex life, because our protocols have success rates that work in well over 90% of cases. Seriously, you might even find you're performing like you haven't in years. So, make an appointment and get ED out of your life. Your initial visit is only $99 and includes blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600 or go to heartlandmenshealth.com. That's heartlandmenshealth.com. Heartland Men's Health, a Promenic restorative health practice.
Rally House, shop every team in town. College and pro, come on, it's time to go.
It's playoffs time, KC. Rally House has the Chiefs gear you're looking for, including Chiefs official postseason gear and the latest styles fit for the kingdom.
Kansas, Missouri, Kansas State, Chiefs and Royals make KC great. Rally House, Rally House. It's your city, it's your house, it's the Rally House.
Gear up in-store and online at rallyhouse.com.
What's that sound? That's the sound of Downy Unstoppable scent beads going into your washing machine and giving your clothes freshness that lasts all day long. There it is again. It's like music to your ears, or more like music to your nose. That freshness is irresistible. Let's get a Downy Unstoppables bottle shake. And now a sniff solo. Nice. With Downy Unstoppables, you just toss, wash, wow, for all-day freshness.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part? They accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right, so we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
Where will 2025 take you? With an education from University of Maryland Global Campus, it could take you towards your next success. An accredited state university, UMGC helps working adults like you learn the skills you need for the career you want. And with no application fee through February 12th, there is no better time to start. Choose from more than 135 degrees and certificates in career-relevant fields like business, cybersecurity, healthcare, and more. Plus, UMGC offers online and hybrid classes, no-cost digital resources in place of textbooks for most courses, personalized support, and lifetime career services. And with transfer credits and scholarships for those who qualify, UMGC can help you take a leap forward no matter where you are on your education journey. Classes start soon. Apply now and get your application fee waived through February 12th. Visit umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
Chiefs coverage is brought to you by Twin Peaks. Eats, drinks, scenic views.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, the Scratch Kitchen delivers lunch in the clutch. I mean, where else can you order a 29-degree draft beer and a quickie combo on your lunch break? Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
Back here on Cody and Gold, Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you. We're about a half hour away from a Fan Club Friday, Club 965. We'll have Matt McMullen from the Chiefs joining us in studio. We'll get his thoughts on just where things stand with the Chiefs right now and, of course, Wild Card Weekend as well. We appreciate your texts, 913-586-7965. Some of you sending in your predictions for this weekend. We'll certainly get to those in the 1 o'clock hour again, how things are going to play out. If you're if you're wanting betting advice or anything like that, you can check out that betting show. Podcast is up. Somebody just messaged me and said, hey, where are your picks and everything? Well, you can just download the podcast of that betting show on the Odyssey app or wherever you podcast. But we also will give out some of our picks again in the 1 o'clock hour to hear from Cody and Drew on those as well.
Yeah, somebody over on Twitch was asking, same as on the text line, saying, where can I find him? They just want to. The
Podcast,
podcast is
man.
easy, but they also someone asked about your Discord, which you also have that available with some people who do some betting with. So
yeah, if you like betting, if you bet at all, and you just want to be in a Discord channel where people give out some picks, including myself and others, it's completely free. Just message me on Twitter or X, whatever we call it these days, at Alex Gold, and I'll shoot you a link. It's a bunch of other people from Kansas City and stuff. Some are degenerates. Some are a little more casual. It just depends, man.
I think we're probably going to have to talk about the stadium survey again here in a moment because, again, it ends up being one of the bigger ones. And one of the things we didn't cover was the dome stuff, which was also a question in there that I think we can get to. You'd pointed out that Notre Dame-Penn State game was awesome. Love getting a good college football playoff game. We've had so few of them during this run. The standout thing is Freeman. With college football, it's hard because I know half of these guys are not going to be regular NFL players. And I like that the college football playoff has allowed teams to figure themselves out as the season goes on. And you're allowed to peak at the right time, how we view pretty much every other major American sport. But I think Marcus Freeman's going to be in the league in the next 3 years. You can't have success at Notre Dame and people just leave you alone there.
He's 39 years old, so anytime you're a younger coach too, that's going to be in your favor. He's so impressive also if you just, whether it was the press conference earlier in the week or you listen to his post game and how he goes about his business, clearly what kind of team he's been able to build. Might win a national title this year. That doesn't hurt. I think he'll be someone that absolutely gets some looks. His stock is soaring higher than anybody right now in the coaching world. And he's got a chance. And let's see, if they were to win a title, and they still got to play the winner of Ohio State, Texas to do so. If they do that, I think there's a conversation to be had about, hey, can they go on a little bit of a dynastic type of run? We know Georgia did it in college. We know Clemson obviously did it. I'm talking about recent teams that have done it. Is that sustainable at a program like Notre Dame? Remember, they went transfer portal at quarterback the last 2 years.
That's what I would do every year.
Sam Hartman a year or so ago, and then right now Riley Leonard, who played at Duke. So, and they might go transfer portal again next year, depending on how things work out. So, I mean, it's kind of interesting to see how they've built that program up. And yes, they're independent, and people don't like the fact that they can not be in a conference and get in. I think there's a conversation to be had there. But that game last night was incredible. I thought talent-wise, when we were giving our picks yesterday, that Notre Dame could match up with Penn State's talent, unlike Boise State and SMU. And I feel like to a certain extent that's what happened. The wide receivers for Penn State did not have a single catch. Tyler Warren, the tight end, was great. He was still held in check by his standard, though. Notre Dame dug themselves a 10-0 hole, and then they were able to bounce back. But this is a Notre Dame team that absolutely can win the title. I don't care if it's Ohio State or Texas. I think they can win it. I know we've talked all along kind of how we thought the bracket would go. I think, Drew, you also had Notre Dame going in the title game, and here they are. And I don't know why I would feel any worse about them heading into this eventual matchup against either Texas or Ohio State.
Well, you and I talked about it yesterday a little bit, too. If Texas finds a way to beat Ohio State, Texas is going to be favored in that game. But I think Notre Dame, we thought that Penn State or Notre Dame, whoever won that game, would win the whole thing. We'll have to see what obviously is going to play out. But, it's really interesting when you talk about Penn State, because I think in terms of quote-unquote big games, I think I saw somebody put out the stat against Ohio State or Michigan or other big quote-unquote games. Penn State's James Franklin's 1-15. Like Penn State, the narrative around either program, if Notre Dame would have lost, the narrative would have been the exact same for them as well. It's Notre Dame and it was a big game, and guess what happened? They lost the big game. For this year, it seems like Notre Dame was different. Of course, they lose to Northern Illinois, which would have kept them out in most seasons, but with Marcus Freeman at the helm, it just feels like it's different for all the reasons that you guys said. The leadership is there. The players love him. He's a former player, played at Ohio State. Not that Brian Kelly wasn't respected, but I think the players respect a guy like that a lot more, who they liked it from the beginning anyways. He was already with the staff. It is interesting. Matt Campbell, I believe, got an interview with the Chicago Bears.
He did.
So Matt Campbell getting that interview, and then the Jets are interviewing Mike Loxley, by the way, which is a questionable interview to say the least. But Marcus Freeman might get looks, or maybe he comes back and then in the future, to that point, like you guys said, he's a guy to watch in regards to what else he can do at Notre Dame and looking ahead to the next level.
Someone texted and said, did we watch the same game? Ohio State will be 13.5-point favorites against Notre Dame. Well, the good news is what's fun is FanDuel has hypothetical lines already out. They are not 13.5-point favorites.
That's a lot of points.
Ohio State in the look-ahead market is 9.5-point favorites against Notre Dame. Notre Dame would be 3.5-point underdogs to Texas. Those are the hypothetical lines. Notre Dame will not be a 13.5-point underdog to Ohio State.
Can I mention a couple of things that have stood out about this college football playoff that stand out? One is the first thing you mentioned about Brian Kelly. If you ever utter the sentence, you can't win at Notre Dame. Well, then where can you win? That's one of the 7 biggest programs on the planet. Yeah. If you can't win at Notre Dame, you literally can't win anywhere. I'm sorry. Like, you can't win anywhere. You have NIL, you have name brand recognition, you have dollars and recruiting, and are you kidding? Can't win at Notre Dame. That's like saying I can't win at Ohio State. If you can't win at Ohio State, you can't coach. I don't know how to break this to you. You shouldn't be doing the job if you can't win at Notre Dame. I think Marcus Freeman, Ohio State, all of these teams have pointed out exactly what I would do if I were a top 10 program coach right now in college football. I would never recruit a 5-star quarterback anymore. I'm out. I don't care. I don't care. My job now is Ohio State, Notre Dame, whatever. And Texas technically has a guy they recruit. Actually, he was a transfer from Ohio State too.
Quinn Ewers, yep.
I would never start with the quarterback I do, and I would just go take the Will Howards of the world. If Ohio State can take the starting quarterback from Kansas State, take Will Howard, who had a fine career at Kansas State, and immediately take him to on the precipice of a college football championship, well, then just find the best senior 23-year-old quarterback available and recruit him to come to your school. If you're a K-State fan, by the way, you rooting for your boy Will Howard to have success?
I'm guessing it's mixed. We could ask. Yeah. I'm guessing it's a mixed bag. I'm sure there's some fans that are rooting for him and some aren't. Look, Avery Johnson was only a freshman this year. He's going to be an unbelievable quarterback for them going forward. I think for a program like K-State to go on a run like this, they have to have a quarterback more like Avery Johnson, in my opinion, because you're not going to be able to assemble.
I think at different levels we might be talking about a different thing. Sure.
Assemble the roster around him the way Ohio State has. I mean, with all due respect to Will Howard, look at the wide receiver talent around him. There's versus like Avery Johnson. I think your quarterback at a place like K-State or KU or anybody is going to be asked to do more than at a place like Ohio State, in my opinion, because at Ohio State you can have. I mean, you go from losing Marvin Harrison Jr. to, oh no, we just brought in an 18-year-old kid named Jeremiah Smith who would be a top 3 pick in the draft if he was eligible this year.
It does seem like playing quarterback would be easier if I could just say, I'll just throw it up to Jeremiah Smith against college corners.
When Will Howard admitted as much. He was like, it's a lot easier to play at Ohio State.
Sorry, Avery Johnson. Whatever. You guys get the point.
Yeah. But he was like, I got to do a lot more at Kansas State. Well, no kidding. You don't have Jeremiah Smith. And Jace Brown is great. He's a really good wide receiver. But he's not Jeremiah Smith. He's not Omega Egbuka. He's not Carnell Tate. They got Travion Henry. I mean, they got a who's who of NFL players. They got a $20 million roster for a reason. I think it's interesting. I talked about this on the podcast, not this one, but the last one, 249 Miles of College Football, episode 33, if you want to hear this. I think you're right. It's a mixed bag. Both are kind of better off, though, in a way as well, because to your point, Gold, they're better fit with Avery Johnson as the quarterback. It was time to move on because say they kept Will Howard again. Avery Johnson probably enters the portal.
Yep.
And then it's just a 1-year thing where Avery Johnson, you get at least for 2 years. You get to see Will go on and do your own thing.
Probably 2 years, but because the way the portal works, you can't even be guaranteed that. Avery Johnson could just be looking around and being like,
who knows? I think the other part...
you'll get 2 this time, but I'm saying that's not always a guarantee.
Hell, look at Texas. Quinn Ewers might have his team in a national title game after tonight if they win against Ohio State. And Quinn Ewers is not going back to Texas. He's either going to the draft or he's transferring somewhere else. They basically have already said, hey, this is going to be Arch Manning's team next year. This is Arch Manning's team. So that
they recruited him.
Yeah. But think about that. I mean, Quinn Ewers is either going to the league or he's going to make a ton of money in the transfer portal. Either thing's happening for him, but he's not going to be the quarterback at Texas next year. And hell, they might win a national title this year.
Well, the same thing with Georgia. Carson Beck is committed to Miami now. He entered the portal before thinking about going to the draft because they've got Jaden Rashada, who's a former 5-star behind him. And coaches it's interesting because even though you like a guy at your quarterback position, you're never going to continue going. You're always looking to get better. You're always looking to find the next person who's up. And if it means you kick out the guy who's at the end of his career anyways, so you can keep Arch for 2 years as a starter, for 1 year as a starter, then you're going to do it.
I also just don't think it's the old way of college football. And I think having an experienced quarterback at the top becomes incredibly vital. Which means if you're going to win a national championship, you just got to go get the junior or senior or redshirt senior or 26-year-old quarterback who somehow got a 6th year of eligibility. Like the teams that I have seen have more success lately in college football have gone that route. Will Howard was not like a star at K-State. He's a very good quarterback, had success at K-State, but he wasn't a star at K-State. When he transferred to Ohio State, my initial thought was like, That's what you're going for, Ohio State? You can't just go pluck some, 5-star kid out of Texas to start for you, and they're like, oh, no, we could do that. We're just not going to do that. We're just going to get the guy who can mostly get it to all the superior talent we have literally everywhere else.
It's like there's more roster evaluation that goes on in college.
Doubt. I mean,
if you're ready to win now, then you're going to go get that transfer portal guy. Like Notre Dame. Riley Leonard played at Duke last year. They went and got him because they said, we need to win now. We got a roster to do it. He's the guy, as opposed to the freshman or Angeli, who actually played really good as the backup last night.
He did. That was a big 3 points they got before half. I get what you're saying. I don't know whether it's NIL era or prior to that, if teams were winning national titles with freshman quarterbacks either. I don't think that's not a new concept.
Tebow in a half role with Chris Leak, I guess.
Unless
I have to go back through. But.
Right,
though.
Trevor Lawrence, I think, is the one exception to that.
Yeah. Joe Burrow was a senior, junior.
Yeah,
and he transferred from Ohio State.
So I'm saying I agree with you that I agree with what I'm saying is I agree with you that usually it's upperclassmen. I just don't think that's an NIL thing only. Other than if you were Trevor Lawrence or Tommy Frazier or somebody like that. I don't know if you're as a freshman you were going to national title games anyway.
I do think we are in the part now though where you have to use the NIL to maybe keep the guy there.
Sure.
Even because Drew Aller is a homegrown guy at Penn State, committed there as a freshman, waited his time. Not that he was going to leave, but maybe you have to commit that NIL where that you would use in the portal to make sure you keep the guy. I'm sure Avery Johnson was offered money. I'm sure Avery was tampered with.
Of course.
While at Kansas State. Kansas State probably had to bump his NIL up a little bit or in some way, shape, or form to keep
he was
him.
driving that lavender Corvette or whatever it was.
That was a sick car.
All of a sudden.
Right.
So it was something
Lavender's
like
a good sports color.
It's a nice.
K-State's got right by highlighting that again. I like the lavender jerseys are sick.
That was smart.
Those are great.
Yeah, the cursive script with the lavender.
I know I'm calling K-State haters, so let me quickly compliment
Your Rouge lost the other day.
They got their ass
That's why you took off yesterday. You had to handle that one.
It hurt, dude. It hurt. They got beat down by Omaha.
While we're talking college football, real quick, this news today, Georgia transfer quarterback Carson Beck reportedly has committed to Miami. Number one player in the portal, according to On3 on Sports. And it makes sense, as we've discussed this before, that a player like him, probably not a huge NFL prospect, go get your money. Go get your money in college, get a couple mil, be the guy in college, and that way you at least got some money in your pocket. That's why I don't get Jalen Milroe declaring for the draft. That doesn't make any sense. He would have been number one, number two quarterback available in the portal.
Same thing we just talked about. Ohio State or one of not Texas, but one of these schools would have just paid him a whole bunch of money to come be the senior guy who can come play for them.
This is a fun hypothetical. Someone says, who do you think, assuming they were all in the NIL era, who do you think would end up getting more NIL money? Manziel, Cam Newton, or Arch Manning?
We're forgetting that Manziel was
got money anyway.
Energy, though. Mm-hmm. You can be a great quarterback and get money, but if you also have the personality to go with it, Manziel would have gotten the most.
So think about the school. Think about the school.
I think it's Johnny football.
Are we counting in the school they played at too? Because Manziel, A&M, Cam Newton, Auburn after playing JUCO. He was only there for a
and
year.
Florida.
Yeah. And then Arch Manning obviously is at Texas. So we're as far as NIL.
A&M's always got money.
Yeah, and so does Texas.
Oh, yeah.
I think Manziel's the answer on that. Ultimate NIL earnings at their peak. Probably Manziel for what you said. After that, the guy's got a last name Manning. It's Manning. And Cam was incredible. Cam was only in college for not if we include JUCO, longer. But I'm talking about a D1 or whatever for 2 years.
What about Tim Tebow? What if I toss him in there?
He would have gotten a lot of money. A lot of money.
Yeah.
Dude,
him and Johnny Manziel, I think, would be the two that you say.
Yeah.
Because Tim Tebow, he played all 4 years. He played right away. The man loved him, or everybody loved the man. I think that there's an inkling of college football sweetheart in a way where everybody loved Tim Tebow. Johnny Manziel had the swag. He had the frat boyish attitude, if you will. The new guy on campus, the hot shot.
Completely underrated part of this is what happened with Patrick Mahomes his rookie year in the NFL is who also would have just taken any check thrown at him. Arch Manning doesn't have to just take any check. Okay? He can be selective with the people he takes the money. What I'm saying is in the NIL, I know in NIL, it's just kind of
I'll take a lot of checks from people too, Cody. I mean, what do you mean?
Some people will take NIL money from any sponsor, any endorser. Some won't.
Yeah.
What I'm saying
in college, you're probably taking them from just about anybody. You're in college. You're a college kid. What do you care?
Not if you're Arch Manning. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so he's the one exception. Fine. I mean, I guess
Johnny Manziel would have taken, and he was. I mean,
his family had money too.
They did. They definitely had cash. He was definitely up there.
Someone says Tebow would have gotten millions from Joel Osteen. He definitely would have had some of that money coming in. You know, like the
He Gets Us. He'd be doing the He Gets Us ads.
Yeah, there you go.
Those run all the time, by the way. That's why I mentioned them.
Yeah. That's true. All right, let's get to the random
I'm
question.
surprised not doing those now.
Random question.
Honestly. For you, Gold. For you, Drew, over in the text line, 913-586-7965. Hit us up on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook. We see your questions over there as well. We can respond the same as the text line. Plus, you get to see our beautiful faces on video. So like and subscribe over YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook. Question I have for you today is related to what we were talking about earlier. I told you my family does our gambling thing. The thing I want to know today is the specific version of this. My family's been doing this since I was 18. We have other games we play, but what I want to know is 5th grade. Let's give it like a normal, like childhood, right? This is what I want. Childhood, not my in-between game. Yeah. What was the family game of your choosing? 913-586-7965. As in, what was the game your family was most competitive over, played the most? Was the game of the household? Because I'm convinced everyone has one of those. For us now, it is in between. That started when I was around 18. So it's been the family game for probably 20 years. When we were kids, it was Monopoly. We played a lot of Monopoly games, competitive games. It was easily the most heated of the games. Risk would probably make a conversation in there, or like backgammon. Played a lot of backgammon.
It was never like, oh, our whole family's going to sit around on Friday night and play. But with my sisters, we would play Monopoly. We would play Life and Chutes and Ladders or whatever. Like those were the games. We never like sat around as a family and said, all right, it's Friday night. We're gonna play this game, or it's the holidays. We're gonna play this game. We didn't do that. But as a kid with my siblings and friends, yeah, Monopoly, absolutely. My favorite was there was an NFL version of Monopoly, which was great.
What was the Chiefs, Mediterranean?
Back then, this was in the 90s. Remember,
a light blue one.
Late 90s. The Broncos and Cowboys were the two most expensive teams.
The Chiefs would be Boardwalk. Isn't that nice?
The Chiefs were very cheap in the 90s version. Yeah, the new version of Sports Monopoly, the Chiefs absolutely would be Boardwalk and Park Place, or one of the two.
Over on Twitch, Monopoly gets mentioned right away. Phase 10 or Rummy. My mom played. We played Gin Rummy a lot together when we were kids. We played like Hearts and Rummy. That was probably other ones for the card games that did there. Someone said Yahtzee was the one that we got together every time, or Trivial Pursuit. Skipper?
No, Skippo.
Skippo. No, we didn't play Skippo. I didn't.
Skippo's a big family game.
Okay, do you guys still play that one?
Oh yeah.
Are there any that last for you, Gold? Or is there like a card game of choice? Like, do you guys, if you get together, do you play Hearts or Rummy or?
No, we don't do any of that because
Euchre,
if we get together, like my nephews are younger, so it's whatever, like they'll want to play. Not board games though. They want to play some game or shoot at their Pop-A-Shot thing or whatever they have downstairs or whatever. That's the kind of stuff I would do with them. But as far as like sitting around playing cards, we don't do that.
As my kids get older, I hope it becomes Trivial Pursuit. The game they like the best at the moment, because Trivial Pursuit is one of my favorite board games. The game they play the most now is probably a game called the Best Friends game, which we could easily do during a fan club. We actually probably should.
The Best Friends game was just like a spinoff from The Hangover?
It's essentially like the couples game, right? Where if we have one more person in here, it'd be like, what would I say is my favorite type of cereal? Whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not always, sometimes they're more complicated.
It's like a how much do you know about?
Yeah. How much do you know about the other person? You and I have been doing, we actually should get the morning show or the afternoon show in for a fan club.
That would be fun.
We've all been doing the shows together for a long time. Let's find out who knows each other better. Little best friend game. My kids love that one. So that's currently on the
in terms of like outdoor games too. Like if we move it to like just outside, kickball was a banger for us as kids just growing up, and not necessarily family, but just kids around the neighborhood. We had like little bases that you would set up, you know, and living in a cul-de-sac was convenient. Kickball was always great.
20-minute text conversation the other day about the heated games of paper football we used to have against each other. You guys ever play paper football?
Like in elementary school or whatever. Like you'd play it on your desk or whatever.
100% on the desk.
I mean, do you think you could still fold a paper football the old way?
In junior high, you play on your desk for sure.
Bro, that one's super tight. Yeah. Just kicking him right between the eyes.
Someone said categories. That one's a really good. That one's like heated debate stuff.
We played that one for a while, and we still I still own categories, but it's not one that gets broken out quite as much, I guess. Someone says Dominoes was really big. I wish that was one. Dominoes is a fun game, but I feel like I'm at a strategic disadvantage. We played.
I thought you were saying you feel like you're at a nursing home or something.
No,
just sitting around and playing Dominoes.
I think there's.
We played backgammon a lot. My dad liked backgammon, so we played that one a lot.
Apparently, I don't know if you guys watched like the NBA documentary Starting Five on Netflix. Jimmy Butler is a really good Dominoes player. Like
he's got a lot of time to play right now.
He is very, very good.
Really?
Yes.
There's a whole NFL chess.
He played with his dad.
Justin Reed's very good at chess.
He played dominoes
He
with
hired
his dad
a
every day.
grand master to coach him before the tournament last year. He beat Kyler Murray in the semis or whatever. There's a huge tournament for like charity money for the NFL for chess.
Did you see Wemby was playing chess in the middle of Central Park? Or
Yeah,
I don't remember what park that
He's
was.
playing I did see that.
That was cool.
Did he win? I didn't see that. Someone says 500 is an elite outdoor kids childhood game.
That was good.
I mean,
Someone they desperately want us to read this text because they've sent in the same text. I shouldn't reward it multiple times.
You're going to reward it?
Strip poker. I'm traumatized.
All right, follow-up random question. Have you ever played strip poker?
I have not.
No.
Cody has. You can tell already. He brought it up. You can tell.
one
Yeah. He brought it up because he knew his answer was yes.
Not everyone was going to say yes.
Oh, really? No.
That was one of those
I have
just
not
like
played strip poker.
I thought maybe everyone.
No.
I have not either.
When's the last time you played strip poker?
A long time. From the
I need
people
more
said-
details on this.
From the 913, he said, I see Cody begging his siblings to play Old Maid. I'm not an old. We played normal board games. Monopoly was the board game. We played, I'll say Risk got more time than it probably should. We probably played like once a month a big game of Risk. And you know how long that game takes? That game takes like 8 hours to complete.
Were you the person, though, who was, hey, guys, let's play this. Hey, guys, let's play this?
I was happy to play whatever game. I just liked...
But did you want to play games, or was it like, hey, Cody, come and play this with us, please?
I was you can probably base on my personality at the moment. I was probably the instigator of that. I still would probably play more. I try to convince my kids to play games all the time. But they're like 50-50 on it. They want to my son wants to do just like big pretend like Smash Brothers fights with his toys. And that's fine.
Y'all are crazy on the text line. Goodness.
Text line, it says they've played strip beer pong. Someone said played strip flip cup in college, strip softball, co-ed. Life was fun.
Strip softball? How's it work? You make an air you take off of you? What are the rules for strip softball?
I'm not sure. I'm just reading the text, man. Just reading the text. That's the random question of the day here on Cody and Gold. Don't forget, though, we know the playoffs right around the corner. As a matter of fact, they begin this weekend. And next week, we'll have some playoff shirts thanks to our friends over at Gates Barbecue. You want to be on the lookout for those. If you've been on our social media, you've seen what they look like. We'll have some more details on Monday about how you can get your hands on some of those T-shirts. Don't forget to get Gates Barbecue for your tailgate or if you're just watching these games at home all weekend long.
Can't wait. I assume we'll get one.
Yeah, I want to go grab a couple of the shirts, too, for sure.
Gotta get at least one. You gonna get barbecue this weekend? It's your birthday weekend.
Yeah.
You got big plans?
Big plans, no, because one of my nephew's birthday was last week, and we ran into it with the storm, so we didn't do. So we're doing something Sunday for my nephew.
So wait, they're taking over your birthday? It's you and your sister's birthday, and your nephew's stealing it?
My sister and I are turning 34. He's turning 7. I think he wins.
7's not a milestone.
And it's a kid. So we'll do his birthday stuff on Sunday, and then it's restaurant week, which you're like, oh, that's a good thing. The problem is obviously it's hard to get reservations. So I think usually we'll do like a little dinner. So my twin sister and I will probably in our family will probably do a dinner thing at some point in the next week or so. But no, as far as overall plans this weekend, nothing too crazy. I'll be honest. I want to watch a lot of football this weekend. That's what I want to do for my birthday. I want to sit around and watch some football. We're going to talk more football in the 1 o'clock hour. It's a fan club Friday, a Club 965 Friday. Matt McMullen from the Chiefs stops by.
Cody and Gold.
I didn't sleep well. I was drunk.
Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. 96.5, The Fan.
Playoffs? We're talking about playoffs? You bet we are. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning in the playoffs, and you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple, like a player to score 6. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code 965. That's code 965 for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 and over, Kansas only. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort.
It's a Red Friday on 96.5 The Fan, and the other place is your sports watching headquarters this fall. Now with 5 great area locations: Shawnee, Olathe, downtown Overland Park, Mission, and Belton. Enjoy Red Friday specials all day.
I'm McCall with Lee Summit Subaru, and it's time to make a big deal out of nothing. Zero, like in 0% financing. Zero is back. Up to 0% financing on select 2024 and 2025 Subaru models for 72 months. Yeah, we did that too. And we're Google's highest review rated and only locally owned Subaru retailer in Kansas City. 0% event and a lifetime warranty. Fall in love with driving again at Lee Summit Subaru.
Google highest review rated Subaru retailer in Kansas City based on 2023 Google Analytics.
Dick Ray, he's your heating magician. Dick Ray, he's a man on a mission. In the dead of winter when the furnace is broken and a chill is in the air, you can call Dick Ray and he'll fix it up with care. He's always there. Call Dick Ray, he's your heating magician.
Hey, it's Dick Ray. Schedule your furnace tune-up today. Only $79. Call 913-DICK-RAY.
You okay?
I can't sleep with this cough.
Sounds like you need to vaporize that cold.
Vaporize?
Yeah, with NyQuil VapoCool. It's NyQuil plus a rush of Vicks vapors.
Whoa.
So you ready to get some sleep? Thank you, NyQuil VapoCool.
NyQuil VapoCool, the vaporizing nighttime coughing, aching, fever, best sleep with a cold medicine. And to vaporize sore throat pain, try Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Every morning, we rise and shine, make breakfast, and brush away the night's rest. These routines help us start the day off right. Nature-Made vitamins are a simple step in that daily care regimen. Multivitamins with daily essentials, clinically studied probiotics for gut health support, magnesium to help relax the body. Nature-Made is made to care for you every day. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Inside the Huddle is brought to you by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City. Discover the benefit of blue.
Hey, it's Trey Smith, and you're listening to the home of the back-to-back Super Bowl champs on your home for Chiefs football. 96.5, The Fan.
KFNZ FM and AM, HD1 and HD2 Kansas City in Odyssey Sports Station.
All right, 1 o'clock hour here on a Friday. It's a Fan Club Friday. Club 965, Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you. We've got our friend Matt McMullen from the Chiefs joining us in studio. He's been in for a couple of these before. Matt, what's going on, man?
What's up, guys? Glad to be back here. I was thinking about the last time
You're not stuck in Denver still.
Luckily not. No, I am back.
Made it back.
We were talking off air before you came in, Cody. It was like the weirdest weekend ever and the weirdest week ever.
Yeah.
But we are back.
So I had grand plans to make a cocktail this morning. I had the ingredients list ready, and then I had to shovel my driveway at 6:30 in the morning. So this is literally what is left in my beer fridge at home.
What do we got?
So it's a truly wonderful selection.
Okay, here we go.
And you gotta let Drew choose one
Drew
of the
needs,
things.
yeah, Drew
There's
wants the cork,
one pear
probably.
yuzu cork.
Okay.
Well, he might like this. There's a lime margarita.
Oh, there you go, Drew.
Okay, let's try that. Yes.
There's a cherry limeade spike drink.
These are all kind of...
There's a Blue Moon. I'm not kidding. There's one of all of these in my fridge at home. A Big Hearted IPA, a Bell's, the regular, and then a Coors Light. That's what I have available for everyone.
Drew, which one do you want?
The lime margarita. Let's try it.
All right, Drew's taking the Cutwater lime margarita.
All right, that's his.
Is it kind of warm, Cody? Is there any ice in that cooler, or is it just for show?
Yeah, I had ice in it, but I dumped it out. There was also an ice pack.
Okay.
And I had it in the fridge.
Okay.
Trying to keep the sweat to a minimum.
What do I want? Let's go with the Too Hard to Ale. How about that?
Okay, good choice.
Which one do you want, Cody?
I'll
Do you have a
drink
preference?
They're in my fridge.
It is cold. Okay.
They're in my fridge. I'll drink literally
I'll
any of
just
them.
take the Coors Light. I'll just take the Coors Light. So, what did you guys do in Denver? So, obviously, it's been a little while now, but we all know the story. The team obviously had to stay another night at the time. After the game on Sunday night, you guys didn't fly back till Monday. So, was the weather decent there? Did you go anywhere? Did you just go to a bar and watch games, or what?
Well, that was the saving grace of it all. Is for those that don't know, when games end, no matter if it's at midnight or a day game or whatever, we always fly back immediately after the fact. Always, no matter what. And that's what was so strange about this past weekend is we couldn't. And the weather in Denver was actually pretty good. It was like 35 degrees. It was like snowing a little bit, but it wasn't bad. So we found out we weren't going to come home. Super weird. Told my wife, hey, I guess I'm not coming home.
Yeah, I'm sure she'd love that, yeah.
As she's shoveling the driveway. But then went to a bar and watched the Vikings and Lions game, and it really wasn't so bad. Obviously the Chiefs paid for that dinner, and it could have been worse. So
I got to ask,
right.
because everybody on Saturday was talking about, of course, the flight's delayed and everything like that. And people are like, well, they have any food? I'm like, no, those charter planes, that's the last thing you should be worried about. I know Matt had there was plenty of options for food. You guys, if there was a time to be stuck on a tarmac, that's the flight to be on.
I mean, no one should feel sorry for our situation sitting there.
Feel sorry for people who have to travel like regular people in that situation.
It's not a normal situation. I ate probably 5,000 calories sitting there. I watched a couple movies. I put down like a chicken sandwich, some chicken nuggets, bag of chips.
Plenty of food.
Kit Kat bar.
I've heard there's like a dessert bar and everything.
The food is out of this world because they're trying to make sure the players who are burning 10,000 calories a day are well fed, but the staff gets the same food.
And the staff just gets fat, is what you're saying.
Well, it's impossible to resist it. Like if someone, you can even tell yourself, I'm not going to take this, I'm not going to take it. And then when it's presented to you, you got to take it. Like the funniest part is whenever we board the plane, we're offered a cheeseburger.
Right away.
Right away. That's like...
Is that an Andy Reid thing, or...
Well, it's been that way ever since I've been there, and that's the appetizer, like, for everything else. And
can you say, is it from a certain restaurant every time, or is it just...
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
Okay. Or is it like a United thing?
I don't know.
Okay.
Just a cheeseburger, and I ate it. And almost every single time, especially after games, I'm like, I'm not going to take the food. I don't need the burger. I'm fine. And they offer it to me. I'm like, thank you. Like, I appreciate it. And we also get food at the opposing stadium when we get on the bus. So it's nonstop. I've eaten like meatball subs on buses.
Crazy.
It's always food that's like messy.
That's a terrible bus food. Who even approved that?
I'll shout out to our social media director, Alex Mary.
Okay.
So we got burritos one time, and she decided in order to try to not let it spill, she would eat the burrito from the middle. It was psychotic behavior.
Oh my God.
Truly psychotic.
Oh God. Just like imagining that is like, what's wrong with you? Burritos are actually designed to contain it better than other foods.
Yeah.
It is built in a way that is supposed to contain some of the food within it. That's
she was
the point.
questioned. Don't worry. She was questioned. It was very strange behavior. But yeah, don't feel sorry for us. We were fine.
So what's this week like for you guys? Because I know for fans, everybody's a little antsy, like, yes, enjoying the fact that we can watch all these games this weekend and find out who the Chiefs are going to play. At the same time, it feels like it's been a couple weeks since the Chiefs were playing a real football game.
Yeah, it's been strange because we play 3 games in 11 days, right? It was like no time in between, and now it feels like this long lull. It's good for the team, though. I mean, a long season. Having the week 6 bye was difficult, I think, in a lot of ways. This team's handled it great, but think about past years. We've always had like a week 10 or week 11, week 12 bye.
It's the earliest bye they've had in the Andy Reid era or since his first year or something. It's been
quite a long time, at least in my tenure with the Chiefs. And so having this time off now is a great benefit because it kind of makes up for having that early bye, I think. And it's the same way for staff. I mean, this week, it's been great kind of taking a step back, just refreshing and getting ready to attack this thing next week.
We were saying earlier in the show, though, that from a team perspective, they're actually getting as healthy as maybe they've been all year.
Yeah.
Heading into the postseason.
Other than Rashee Rice, yes.
No, it's awesome news. Coach Reid spoke today and gave like a brief update because the players were back today and had a practice. And all the guys you might have questions about that are realistic to come back, like Chamari Connor, Juwan Taylor, Isaiah Pacheco, Chris Jones, and Jalen Watson, who's the really exciting one. They all practiced today, and Coach Reid said they looked pretty good, so that's great news.
Jalen Watson for me, and then we can talk some other lighthearted stuff. We don't have to just do Chiefs football. You're here for a fan club, but Jalen Watson is as big as getting Charles Omenihu back.
It's a big deal. It's a really big deal.
Really, your choices are talking Jalen Watson or whether or not you played strip poker. So let's start with Jalen Watson. I just think, like, if you look back at where their deficiencies were, I didn't think they would notice a Jalen Watson absent as much as they did. And then I watched the next month, as they completely recalibrated defensively to try to find some sort of level of stability when he was gone. And I was like, oh. And it was until Charles Omenihu who got like up and rolling and was back that you didn't feel the absence as much, which means to me they'll be an even stronger defense than they've been at any point this year if they've got Omenihu and Watson together in the same field. Which has that happened?
Not this
Have
season.
those two guys play together at the same time?
No, not this season. And that's a big deal getting Jalen back. I think Jalen's size is a big deal that people don't always think about.
He's guys like Cortland Sutton and others,
exactly,
bigger guys.
Yeah, I mean, he can present a tougher challenge for bigger receivers like Amari Cooper, for example, with the Bills. So getting Jalen back's a big deal. Just more depth for this group in the secondary. The defense, I think, played great against Pittsburgh. That's the last time we really saw them out there on the field. And the biggest thing with the defense, I think, right now that we didn't really see last year is the takeaways. Think about all the takeaways over that three games of the game stretch.
They came in bunches,
yeah,
man.
they did. And adding Jalen into that mix here in the postseason, the defense is playing well at the perfect time, I think.
Well, as Cody said, we'll get to some fun stuff in a second. I just want your quick thought before we'll do some prediction stuff later. But this weekend, the most likely matchup is the winner of the 4 and 5. We know that, Texans or Chargers. I would gladly see the Broncos get an upset win over the Buffalo Bills.
Or the Steelers. My God,
upset.
please.
Is there one game that maybe you're most focused in on?
I don't think so. I think I'm watching the whole thing. I've been burned too many times at the point where I'm not going to root for certain teams to win. You know, you never know what's going to happen in the postseason.
Last year, they got the worst of it. Like, that was, honest to God, the worst. If you'd made me choose any of the 3 games in a row, I would have, like, that one. 4, including the Super Bowl.
What's funny about those, though, is, yeah, at the time, it was super difficult, and it's like, man, this is going to be a huge challenge. But retroactively, I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, I'm glad the Chiefs were on the road and had to go to Buffalo and go to Baltimore and win it the way they did, because, I mean, how epic is that? We have that forever now. But I know
also
what you
strikes
mean.
fear into the hearts of teams now. Like, look, I know Travis Kelce had said on New Heights, I'll take anybody anytime. I want the most difficult path. That's the worst way to go about it. I want the worst teams. I want the Steelers to win.
But when
get rid of the Bills, and then I want so then the Ravens are gone, and then I want the Bills to lose in round 2 to like the Texans, and then it'd be Chiefs Texans at Arrowhead for the I want the easiest.
I hear you, but to Matt's point though, once you know you've like in his case,
once you've done
it, there's way more appreciation for when you're like, well, we did it on the road all these weeks versus you're right in the moment. Yeah, give me the easiest path, but if you can complete the task and you had this tough road, how's that? I mean, heck, the Super Bowl rings. Matt, you got a couple of them now, my man.
I have 3 of them. Yeah.
Okay. excuse me.
Whenever I'm having a bad day, I put those on.
Yeah, no kidding. I was like, do you have room for a 4th? But no, what I was saying is like even in the ring, I mean, it highlights some of those things. Whether it was the first year when they came back against the Texans, that's inscribed, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember right, in that ring too. So
the deficits, yeah,
yeah,
they were down by 10 in all 3 games.
Crazy.
24 to the Texans. Think about that.
Jeez.
We always laugh at that because we made a bet with a Houston radio station about the game, and they wouldn't just do it on the money line. They wanted the spread, so they got like 7.5, 8 points, or whatever the Chiefs were favored by. So they had a 31-point lead on that bet. Still lost it and never paid.
They never paid up the bet.
Never paid.
They
up
owe us
the
barbecue
bet.
still.
They had 31 points and lost it. And like, you got to pay if you had 31-point advantage on a bet.
Looking back at that, I know that Mahomes won the MVP in 2018, but that game to me was when like the Patrick Mahomes as we know him was really born. Because even in the game, when we scored that first touchdown, I felt like we were in it, even though we were still down 24-7.
Yeah.
They won that game, I think,
by
51-31 or something crazy. I mean, it's nuts.
Oh, by
tied
halftime,
by half.
it was so quick. Yeah, but at halftime, everybody's like, "Oh, we're winning this game." Like it went from being, "Oh gosh, not again, another play." Oh no, because we had an experience. We're like, "Oh, here, same old playoff stuff." To at halftime, like, "Oh, we're
winning this game.
We're winning this game."
Like never any doubt. You know what's interesting about this year, and you guys, I'm sure, have talked about this quite a bit, but the Chiefs have played everyone in the AFC field already. And so we're 7-2 against playoff teams
and
this
8
year.
8 games of those 6 opponents.
Yeah, and one of those losses being the Broncos one has like an asterisk, obviously, because most of the starters didn't play. So I looked it up. Those 7 wins against playoff teams in a single season is tied for an NFL record. So the Ravens actually did it this year too. But then you have to go all the way back to the 98 Jets and the 97 Packers to find a team that won 7 games against playoff teams that year.
They kind of defy a lot of like norms because I also saw that they're the first team ever to win 15 games and have no one with 1,000 yards from scrimmage. They didn't have a single player. Do you know who led them from scrimmage?
Hold on.
I think I know who it is.
From scrimmage? No, tell me.
Kareem Hunt?
I was going to guess Kareem. Yeah.
Kareem Hunt?
Yeah.
Had had 9 somehow. By the way, I didn't realize he had this much. Kareem Hunt had like 906
Who
yards
was
from
right
scrimmage.
behind? Matt, you might know.
Travis Kelce
who
was
second.
number
It was
2.
Kelce.
It was Kelce, right?
Kelce was 2,
and then Worthy.
I think Worthy was 3. So shocking enough to me, I forgot that Samaje Perine had like 400 yards from scrimmage. He was in the top 10.
He came on towards the later in the year. Like he got earlier in the year. I think everybody, he had the 4th most receiving yards for the Broncos last year for a running back, and in the league. And like early in the year, he maybe wasn't a huge factor. But as the season went on, it seemed like Perine.
I think part of it is like we let this die because like we made a huge deal about it last offseason, Gold. And so you and I never made this the thing again, which was like, it's going to be impossible to guard him. No one's going to know where they're coming from. Shooting shots from everywhere. And we made that the whole theme of last year. And it fell so flat that it was like the opposite of that. Like they had so little talent that it didn't matter who you were throwing to, that like it didn't confuse teams. They had enough bodies to cover the bodies. This year's team is actually way closer to that version of the storyline. They are difficult to guard because you don't know if they're going to throw it to Hopkins or Xavier Worthy or Kelce or Hollywood, or give it to Kareem Hunt or Samaje Perine. Like this year's team is actually like last year's storyline. We just kind of let that storyline die because it felt so wrong by the end of the year.
I think this is the best group of pass catchers that we've had. I mean, at least since Tyreek Hill was here, don't you think? I mean, you have Travis Kelce, DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown, who I think changes everything on offense. Xavier Worthy playing the way that he is now because he really came on in the second half of the season. Juju Smith-Schuster obviously can fill a role on this team. I think it's the best group of playmakers around Mahomes we've had in quite a while. To your point, like the depth is really impressive. And it's something to be excited about. And what's so interesting to me is a bunch of these guys that helped us get to this point weren't with the Chiefs in training camp. Yeah. Perine, not with the Chiefs in training camp. Kareem Hunt. Juju Smith-Schuster, Hopkins. So that's, again, Mitch has been saying this quite a bit over the last few weeks if we could get the bye, that this lull now of 24 days can almost be like another training camp for the Chiefs with these players that weren't here in July and August.
I'm with you on the receiver room. We had this discussion, I don't know, early in the week. If you just look at the AFC, not the NFC, because the wide receiver rooms there are stacked. In the AFC, I think the Chiefs have the best wide receiver room that are in the playoffs on the AFC side.
I wouldn't argue with that.
On the NFC side, I can't make that case. I mean, we can get
there's a few.
Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison want to have a word. So did Cooper Kupp and Puka, and we can go down the list. In the AFC, though, I think the Chiefs' wide receiver room I would put up against anybody's.
Yeah, and they've proven that all year long. And that's why, Cody, earlier you said that the Chiefs don't have a single player with over 1,000 scrimmage yards. But how many do they have with like 450? Probably quite a few.
A lot.
Right?
And they have a lot with like 600-700. And if you paced out everyone's season for the times in which they played their best, they would be that. Like if Kareem Hunt had started week 1, he would have been a 1,000-yard guy. If Rashee Rice had stayed healthy the entire year, he would have had 1,000. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. And I've pointed out the numbers before, but Xavier Worthy in the stretch from Buffalo to the second to last game of the season, he didn't play in the last one. His stretch during that time paced out to be a 960-yard, 10-touchdown season.
Yeah.
So, even he was that. And the way I view next year, which is going to be great, which is Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy all of a sudden will start looking like A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. It'll start looking like some of those NFC 1-2 punches, just as long as Rashee Rice comes back for the injury okay and Xavier Worthy stays at the level he's been playing since Buffalo. He has been quietly so much better. I don't think the rest of the NFL's caught up on it quite the same because they still just see super fast guy, super skinny guy run fast downhill. But he has done so many additional things. They don't even need him on third down. They've got 7 options they can throw.
He's been great. I don't know if Matt agrees on the other part, too, is I think there's a chance DeAndre Hopkins just all of a sudden just goes off in the postseason. Reminds us of that guy that was considered for many, many years one of the best in the league. Like the Chiefs, I think, have been kind of still slow playing this thing with D-Hop in terms of integrating him in this offense. I would not be surprised during this playoff run now all of a sudden D-Hop looks like DeAndre Hopkins. We know he can make the crucial third down catch they needed, and maybe the stat line's only 40 yards. I would not be surprised if we see him in the playoffs go off and all of a sudden he's having 90 yards and a touchdown or two.
And that's why he's here. He's hungry for this, too. I don't believe he's ever gotten out of the divisional round.
No, I think the closest guys are Texans lost.
Yeah, and the Cardinals, so no.
And now he's part of a team that can do it, and this is his opportunity. He's going to be hungry, and I'm excited for him. I wanted to add a note on Worthy, though, how good he's been, kind of quietly this year. So 9 scrimmage touchdowns this year, the second most among all rookies behind only Brian Thomas.
And this pretty good this year.
He's pretty good, yeah. And this is a fun one. So he has 6 receiving touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns, I believe. He's just the 4th rookie in NFL history to do that. The others are Doak Walker. Got to go all the way back to the 50s.
Right.
Doak Walker. There's an award in college named after him.
Yeah. You're just curious how far back you're going. Doak Walker.
Going back a ways. Gale Sayers.
All right, good
Kansas
company.
Comet,
Heard of
pretty
him.
good. And Tyreek Hill.
Oh.
So that's the company. It's pretty good.
Tyreek Hill had 9 touchdowns this rookie year.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of like, if you look at the stat lines, their numbers mimic each other pretty close. I understand Tyreek was a 5th-round pick and Xavier Worthy was a 1st, but now we know Tyreek would have, in a redraft, would have certainly been different. He misses Kansas City, doesn't he? Just tell us, Matt. You text him every once in a while, be like, do you miss it
So
here?
last time I saw
Tyreek.
the last time I saw Tyreek was before the Dolphins Chiefs wildcard game last year in the freezing cold when
Okay,
it was
so
like
you did see him.
negative 20 degrees. He was out there with his shirt off running around, and he came over and said hi to Mitch and I really briefly. And
That's
I'm
nice.
like,
So now you guys
are crazy.
text all the time, yeah.
Haven't texted Tyreek in a while, no. But that's the last time I saw him.
I think he misses Kansas City. I think he's going to be a Chief
Clearly
one
he
more
does.
time in his career.
Look,
but it'll be like after all this contract's done, he'll sign like a 1 for 14 in like 2026.
I don't know about that, but I of course he misses it. He made a decision. That's fine. Everybody has different priorities and all that, but the Chiefs have won 2 rings since he left, so it all worked out for everybody. He got his money. The Chiefs are winning. All
And
good.
I appreciate Tyreek. Tyreek's
Yeah.
one of the greatest
Unbelievable
receivers
player.
in team history. He'll always be remembered like that, in my opinion.
Who is the greatest? Is it Bo?
In Chiefs history?
Yeah, in your mind.
I think Otis Taylor's up there. Otis
Okay.
Taylor was ahead of his time. If you look back
was.
at
I think it's
what
Otis
he's able
Taylor
to
and
do.
Tyreek Hill 1-2.
I think you're right.
Dwayne Bowe's got the counting stats. That's why I'm bringing him up.
I understand.
He
But
once led the NFL in a single season in touchdowns. He had like 18 of them, right?
Cody, I
He had
understand.
15 in 2010, yeah.
I understand, but we all watch Tyreek Hill. You can't tell me he's not just a better
I'm not
receiver.
saying he's not one of the
Yeah,
greatest.
yeah.
Yeah, but also, like, if I watch that, then, like, 90% of today's NFL wide receivers are probably better than Otis Taylor. Like, you know, they were still, like, I know that they were in a similar era or whatever, but, like, I hate doing side-by-side of, like, better receiver versus, like, if I'm talking greatest in Chiefs history, I mean,
Dwayne
the
Bowe
numbers
Dwayne
do
Bowe
count.
didn't play in 1960. Dwayne
No.
Bowe played in this century.
But,
I mean,
but the numbers do count.
I hear you.
Once we're talking about the greatest in your team's history, because otherwise you're going to be like, well, DeAndre Hopkins is actually the greatest wide receiver in Chiefs history because look at all his numbers.
Oh, okay. That's not.
The
Nobody's,
numbers matter
that's-
some.
I also think, though, you have to adjust it for
Too far?
era a bit.
Yes.
Like, you know, what Otis
Should've-
Taylor
should've
did
had a different example.
in 69 is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, he helped revolutionize football. Also, we can just throw out the whole receiver thing and say pass catcher, and the answer is Travis
There you
Kelce.
go. There you go.
Well,
That-
then the answer is Travis Kelce and Tony Gonzalez. 1-2.
No doubt. We've got Matt McMullen.
Tight ends.
Matt McMullen from the Chiefs hanging out with us. This is the first time you've been back in studio since you had your famous cameo in Hallmark. Look,
you guys are both in it.
I was in the Hallmark Christmas movie, half my face and my car for a second and a half. You had a line. You had a
I did.
speaking part. You nailed it.
Well, thank you. I didn't know I was going to have a line until I showed up. They told me I was going to be in the movie but wouldn't have a speaking role, and I'm like, okay, that's great. So I showed up. I knew I would be part of the Christmas party scene, so I show up in just like a suit. When I got there, they were like, you have a line. Here's your line.
Wow.
Just memorize it. And I'm like, okay.
It's one line.
The
You
best
can
part,
memorize
though,
it.
and thankfully it was very easy. The best
Yeah.
part, though, is I got to hang out with Trey Smith for like 2 hours before we actually shot it. Because Trey, for those that have seen the movie,
Yeah.
actually has dialogue.
I was saying, he had some lines.
Yeah, so I would practice with Trey just in a suite at the stadium for like 2 hours, and I thought he was great.
Trey did a really good job.
did.
Yeah, he didn't know he had a line either until he showed up. And
just
actually
handed
did
him
like
Trey-
dialogue.
They just handed him a script like, hey, man, here you go. Memorize this or whatever.
Yeah.
Him
he
and
nailed
Clyde,
it.
like some of those guys had like regular lines in this thing.
What's funny too, though, is I guess now I know how movies are made. Everything's so separated. I didn't see any other scenes or anything. Didn't see other people that were in
that's
the
the
movie that
thing.
were elsewhere. All I saw was my part, so
Yeah.
I didn't know how it fit in or anything.
This one short
Yeah,
scene.
you don't know the order or anything. Like even the day I was in Independence or whatever for the one scene or whatever is like that was the whole day of shooting for that. There were I don't know in real like an actual in the movie I don't know between the scene in the restaurant and for those who haven't seen it with Donna Kelce as well. I don't know that whole thing probably took 8-9 hours, but it was probably in the movie for a grand total of what like 60 seconds or you know what I mean something like that or 2 minutes max.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And I didn't even know if my part was going to make it. I thought maybe it would.
Sure.
There was different angles of it shot, and it wasn't until some of the people at the Chiefs that had a pre-screening, they saw it and they're like, "Yeah, you're in it." And then I start worrying,
You're like, "Oh God,
oh no, is it terrible?" 'Cause
Cody and I did say we don't know how we got invited to the screening party. That was a very nice event.
That was swanky.
that was cool, and
Dietrich Bader was like super nice to us for
He
just
was.
no reason.
He was.
Although he was desperately trying to figure out how he could find a way to like get in a bar in a shorter line. Dead serious. He came up and he's like, "Is that the line for the drinks?" Because the line was kind of long.
Yeah.
He's like, "Well, there might be one downstairs, but you got to pay for it." He's like, "Okay."
no big deal.
It's like, "Okay, I'll pay for my drink." You're like, "All right, good point. Sorry."
It was cool though. It was quite like a random collection of people at that event.
Yeah, I mean, you had politicians, you had obviously members of the Chiefs ownership group, and then you had a couple Chiefs players were there, Clyde and Trey, and then Hunter Norzad, I think, was there too.
Yeah, Hunter Norzad was there. And then like some Hallmark people, and yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely that's what Cody and I were saying.
We stole some pillows for the Cody and Gold garage sale.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to say that publicly? Did you?
You know what?
incriminate
Honestly,
yourself?
I saw Gracie Hunt taking one, so I thought I was in the clear. What? If she takes one, then we're all free here.
I will say they actually did say you could take the pillows, Matt.
Okay.
Oh, did they? I did
There
not
we
hear
go.
that part. I was just taking a risk.
Those, and so we do
That's
have
good.
those. But also, I would say if you think the one qualifier was that the daughter of the owner could take it, that doesn't mean you can do it, just so you know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I just figured
There is a big difference.
There's a big gap
Hold on.
in hierarchy.
Hold on. I think Andy
yes.
Reid would agree. Standard set at the top.
Uh-huh.
You know?
Yeah.
You set the top down. Same rules apply, top down. This is how organizations work. So
No, the pillows are going for charity too, okay?
Okay.
They're going for the garage sale. They'll raise some money for the Negro Leagues Baseball
I'm not going to
Museum.
sit on my couch every year for Christmas for the next day.
You should just put them in the studio.
you're
Put
not
them in the
in
studio. Yeah.
Yeah, a cool event though. It was
It
cool.
was.
It was cool.
And I feel bad. Like I leave my wife alone a lot on the road and everything. She got to come. It was fun.
Nice.
And you brought your mom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
I
cool.
said it was all it was like the Oscars, you know? Just bring my mom to the screening. She enjoyed it as well. I think she might have enjoyed it more than me because Christian Okoye was probably like one of her favorite Chiefs growing up or whatever. And so Christian Okoye was there too.
Yeah.
So she got to talk to him. And so I think she really enjoyed that part of it. That was like
She
one
was
of her
really-
favorite
she
one of her
really-
favorite players.
She really wanted to see Andy. It was tough.
Oh yeah,
Andy had a big crowd.
She was
She
looking.
really wanted to meet Andy.
She was looking for him. I could tell. Yeah.
She got to physically see him. She just, she wanted maybe like a side.
I was like, you can't go up and talk to him. No. Nope. I told her specifically, you can't do that. No.
Well, I think Coach Reed was.
I said you can't do that. No.
Coach Reed was great in the movie too, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Like it was quick, but I believed him.
He's a
really good actor.
He's a better actor than Patrick.
Well, he's gotten better
And
too.
this is not a
he's
knock, but
gotten better.
He's pretty good at it. Andy's pretty good at it.
I think Mahomes has gotten pretty good at it too.
He's gotten way
Look
better.
at his first State Farm commercial to now. You could definitely tell there's a difference.
Yeah, him and Travis and all those guys are super comfortable. Andy is just, it's so funny. Andy's a natural at it, and they could put him in a bunch of stuff, and he'd do great at it. And you know that Andy would never choose that life for himself. Like Andy, we're going to put you in a bunch of stuff. He's like, I'm fine. Not every day? That's crazy. I don't want to do this every day. That's nuts. He's just naturally
People
good at
calling you Matt for other movies now and stuff.
Well, so did you guys hear about the?
Explain this. There's like a buddy cop
it. With
movie.
Christopher Maloney?
Sudeikis?
You guys got
So-
Christopher Maloney?
I probably can't say much about this,
Okay,
but you
all
saw
right.
the press release.
Yes.
There is a Chiefs playoff campaign. There's some fun stuff that will come out surrounding the Chiefs playoff run, and there is a possibility I will appear in one of these.
Okay.
Just speculation here. I may or may not be wearing a fake mustache.
Oh,
We'll see.
okay.
We'll see. But you
And
have to wait and
Is
see.
this the buddy cop show?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you were in the claymation too or whatever. I
didn't make the cut in the claymation, no.
The next time they do one of these in-house ones, can we get a cameo?
I'll see what I can
Not
do.
even a
Yeah,
cameo.
I'll
Can
see
we
what I
just
can
be
do.
in the background? I don't need to be a main.
Gold
I'll be in the
already
background.
was, right?
I'll be in an extra. Yeah, but I haven't gotten a chance to do it.
Okay.
It came at a terrible time. It was when I was out
You
of
were out
town
of
for like
town.
2 weeks. I had like 3 days of availability. They were never going to choose me based on that.
Scheduling conflict. This happens to actors, you know?
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I get
tough.
it.
That's exactly how it went down. All right, up next, though, we'll continue chatting with Matt McMullen here. It is a Fan Club Friday, Club 965 on Cody and Gold. We'll talk a little more NFL, and I do want to discuss the Chiefs, more specifically, some of the comments from Andy Reid earlier today. That's coming up next.
Cody and Gold, brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. Follow the station on Instagram for ticket giveaways and behind-the-scenes content from the show at The Fan 965.
From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for those live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. Plus, when you win, you'll get paid instantly. Just visit FanDuel.com/Alex to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/Alex. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL and 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
This weekend, only at Old Navy, get 50% off all activewear for the family. Yep, get 50% off all activewear for the family. So hurry in this Saturday and Sunday, only at Old Navy. Valid 1/11 and 12. Excludes clearance and licensed.
Many people consider selling their homes independently to save on real estate commissions. While this might seem appealing, especially in today's market, independent sellers often overlook the significant financial benefits of working with a professional. Collaborating with an expert like Dawn Sharp and the Sharp Homes team, brokered by Epic Realty, can greatly enhance your profits and overall experience in the selling process. So contact the only agent I would trust if I needed to sell my home. You can Google Dawn and her team at Sharp Homes Team or visit them at homesforsale.kc.com.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-511-3535. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider, 800-511-3535. That's 800-511-3535. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with, call Big Lou at 800-511-3535.
Chiefs coverage brought to you by the KC Boat and Fishing Show, January 9th through 12th at Bartle Hall.
Get ready for fun in the sun with screaming deals at the KC Boat and Fishing Show, January 9th through 12th at Bartle Hall with kids free admission. Take advantage of 4 days of special show pricing on hundreds of boats plus non-stop entertainment. Go to kcmoboatshow.com for more info.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
Back here on Cody and Gold, it's a fan club and Club 965 Friday. We got Matt McMullen, Chiefs reporter, joining us. I don't know if that's your official title still. I think you actually
senior reporter.
Senior.
Yeah,
excuse me, senior.
I'm not big into titles though. The whole senior team reporter thing, it's good for like the progression of my career, but I don't address myself.
Senior team reporter, Matt McMullen.
You're in the title. Like if you're a doctor,
That's right.
we call you doctor. If you're a senior team reporter,
That's right.
there is no senior midday host.
No.
They don't like. That's it. You're just either a host or you're not.
That's right.
There's not like
That's right.
That's
there aren't
fair.
levels to this.
There's
I'd
no
say.
like midday host coordinator, the midday host
No.
manager.
No. And they would not have promoted me by that. Alex is the far more responsible person in this duo.
Oh, man. I want to get back to the Chiefs in just a bit or whatever. We mentioned the All-Pro stuff came out today. The Chiefs had 3 members on that. I don't have to tell you, Creed Humphrey, Joe Tooney, and obviously Chris Jones. And then McDuffie got second team. The All-Pro stuff, like everybody seems to take that way more seriously than the Pro Bowl now. But in the contracts, still a lot of it is tied into the Pro Bowl. The Pro Bowl doesn't bug me anymore. Like, I don't know if it's just because we've all grown up and now it's like, you know what? Super Bowls, man. Super Bowls. The All-Pro stuff, I actually like that. That's the kind of stuff where I feel worse if someone gets snubbed even more than the Pro Bowl. The Pro Bowl, it's fan voting, whatever.
Yeah, I think with the Pro Bowl stuff, I get most fans don't really care about it. I know the players care about it, though, especially guys that have never been Pro Bowlers before. It's less about, like, going to the event and doing all that, because hopefully the Chiefs don't go to the Pro Bowl this year.
Yep.
But the idea is that it's a recognition of their efforts. So, like, Trey Smith being a Pro Bowler this year, I think that's really cool, because he's been one of the best guards in the NFL a long time, and he deserves it.
When you're a 6th-round pick, you haven't gotten your big payday. Like, it's kind of hard. Like, it's easy to be unheralded when you're Trey Smith versus, like, guys who were taken earlier.
Yeah, sure. And I think the All-Pro stuff is the same. I'm glad that Trent is an All-Pro again. I'm glad that Creed and Chris Jones and Joe are All-Pros. But you're right. At the end of the day, the main goal here is to win the Super Bowl. And I think it's cool that no one really thinks about the MVP discourse here at this point. Like, it is who it is. No one cares anymore because the goal is to win the Super Bowl. And, I mean, we're living in rare air that's kind of how this team is measured now, don't you think?
No doubt.
Yeah, like Lamar, he's now the favorite after the
it looks like he's
going to
win his third.
Lamar will get his third and his second in a row, so he'll get back-to-back, and he'll get his third total. He'll have more regular season MVPs than Patrick Mahomes, who has 2. Patrick Mahomes has 3 Super Bowl MVPs and 3 Super Bowl rings and 3, it's like those are the things that I hold more valuable. It speaks to the talent at the top of the AFC. I'll still say the difference between the top of the AFC and the top of the NFC for years has been a huge dichotomy. The 4 best quarterbacks in the league are in the AFC. Mahomes, Lamar, Allen, and Burrow, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the MVP stuff is interesting because for Lamar Jackson, because he's 1-2 and maybe about to be his 3rd MVP, how he's judged, it is strictly can he get over this playoff hump, and can he get to a Super Bowl? Fair or not? That he's when you're so great, you reach a level that people will only now judge him. Does he finally get a ring or whatever? And that's where it's at. Obviously, I hope he doesn't get a ring this year, but like that's what he's judged on at this point in time because he's so great. Like he's a Hall of Famer. He's going to the Hall of Fame. We know that, but can he get over the hump? For the Chiefs' sake, I hope he has to wait a while to get that, but he seems to be out of the group of quarterbacks. If we think about how we judge and rank them out, Lamar Jackson can do more this postseason. I actually think for his legacy, I would argue than any of the quarterbacks. I know Josh Allen also has not been to a Super Bowl, but I think Lamar Jackson, out of all the AFC quarterbacks, and heck, all the quarterbacks in the playoff field can change their entire legacy by getting to a Super Bowl and how people will talk about them for the rest of their career.
What I think what's crazy is I think we would all agree, and Matt, you can give me the honest answer. Of the other 3 we just mentioned, Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow, we all agree one's getting left out. Like, one will never win a Super Bowl. One will. I definitively think at least one will win a Super Bowl of those 3. And I think at least one will definitively get left out. The second one being kind of a misnomer. Like, right? We all think that, like, one of those 3 is just never going to win it. Like, they're just never going to go to the championship game and win
I
the
have
Super Bowl.
one.
My answer would be, at this point, Joe Burrow.
That's okay. That's what I was going to say, too, yeah.
Well, unless they got to figure out their coaching thing maybe next year. If they miss the playoffs again.
Drew over there is like, what?
Sorry, I'm not trying to, like...
Look, Joe
Burrow's
Burrow's
my answer.
Joe Burrow's unbelievable, but right now, ownership, coach problem, GM problem. I'm just saying, I know he's been to the Super Bowl. Lamar hasn't been to a Super Bowl. Josh Allen hasn't, so you might say, how can you say he won't? He's already been to one. That's the point. He's been to one, and you don't always get to go back.
If you made me guess the answer for who'd win it, I'd still say Josh Allen because his postseason stats are nuts. Like, I'll just assume he'll go on a postseason run and his team won't lose. I don't know.
I think they're all really good, and I think it's really hard to win, and that's why I think Mahomes winning the Super Bowl in his second year was such a big deal. Because automatically, everything turns into gravy.
Yeah.
You've won the big one. You've done it. You've gone on an epic playoff run. It's all gravy after that. And as we've seen, he's just built on his legacy. But that's why I think when you have an opportunity to get there and you're in that moment, you got to win it. You got to win it. And it's hard. It's hard. It's easy just to say that, but you never know how many opportunities you're going to have. And that's why with this Chiefs team, hopefully the Chiefs go on to win as many Super Bowls as humanly possible. But that's why it's important to appreciate and really have perspective about this run because it's really unique and this doesn't happen often. It's only happened, I think, 4 or 5 times in history that a team's won 3 Super Bowls in 5 years. Trying to add on that now, but you got to enjoy it while it's happening because this does not normally happen.
Yeah, these are years.
Bases.
These are years when we're all old and we're
I'll be nostalgic about this.
These are all years we're going to be talking about for the rest of our lives, and it's awesome that we're living in it right now.
On the text line, Sean Barber is texting in. He would like your opinion. I wasn't on the show yesterday. Sean Barber filled in for me. I had some family stuff. Sean Barber filled in to the point he suggested that they should trade away Joe Burrow. Thoughts?
Sean suggested the Bengals should trade Joe Burrow.
He did.
All right, I love Sean. Sean is awesome.
It's a good caveat.
I disagree with this take. I don't know.
I also disagree with this.
If they want to do it, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure.
I don't
trade him
think
to the NFC. Sure. Yeah, move him over there.
I don't think that would be
that
wise.
sounds fine to me.
I think Joe Burrow's pretty good. I think we can acknowledge that as objective football fans. Joe Burrow's pretty good at football.
No doubt. No,
I'm more like I'm more cutthroat than I think. Alex and I have been doing the show 5 years together, and I'd have been far more cutthroat at the quarterback position than others. Like, we get to these conversations, be like, well, I mean, you kind of have to pay, and we'd get to like these Derek Carr conversations, I'm like, nah, get rid of him. Or you kind of have to pay Brock Purdy. Screw it. Get somebody else. Like, I'm more willing to just move on looking for top 10 quarterback play than where I get stuck paying like the 11th, 12th, 13th guy crazy money. I would move on faster. I'd go back to the draft. I'd take my chances.
Sean just texted me.
Oh, yeah?
Asking me the same question.
Joe Burrow? No.
He's adding that it's similar to the Lions needing to trade Stafford away. I think that's a little bit different because the Lions were in a situation where they needed to really reboot everything, and at that point they weren't going to be able to build around Stafford.
Yeah,
and they are where they are now because they traded him.
They had never won anything.
They hadn't, and we all know Stafford was really good with Detroit, but they traded him because they needed to have a complete fresh start. I don't think the Bengals need to do that.
The difference, too, I would argue, is one, it happened much later in Stafford's career, number one, than what we're talking about right now.
Like
the other part is,
8?
and Stafford's going to be in the Hall of Fame, too, one day, but Joe Burrow's better than Matthew Stafford. I'm sorry, I think he is.
I think you're right.
So it's just different.
Right now, or in the peak of their careers, Stafford's such a weird conundrum. Because if I had stuck Stafford with a capable franchise his whole career, I think Stafford's just as good.
Isn't that what's going on with Cincy, maybe,
but
too?
I think Stafford's just as good as Burrow. Because Stafford still is a top 5 quarterback in the league to me right now when he's on it.
Stafford had Calvin Johnson, and he has...
Nobody looks he looks as good as anybody.
Like the Bills game earlier this year?
Yeah, no doubt. No, Stafford, if we were when we did our QB rankings earlier, Stafford was like number 4 out of all the playoff quarterbacks or whatever that we have. No, but Matthew Stafford had Calvin Johnson, and then he's had Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Joe Burrow's got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Like, it's not that crazy. Like,
and he also has Aaron Donald on the other side of the field as well.
Well, he does now. We're talking about in the early part of their career.
Correct.
That might be the difference between. But once he got to a capable franchise with a coach who can make sure you they won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and please don't tell me, well, Stafford beat Burrow in a Super Bowl, so he automatically is better. Please don't. Please don't do that. Please don't.
I think they're both really good.
Yeah,
and that's okay.
All right, let's talk about this weekend, though, Matt.
I'm just looking back at the stats.
And then Cody wants to talk to you about strip poker.
I just wanted to know, do you like to gamble, Matt?
Absolutely not.
You're not a gambler.
No, and legally I cannot.
He's an NFL employee.
Wait, you can't gamble on anything?
No, and I do not.
What?
I thought it was just NFL stuff, but we don't want to get you in trouble.
I thought it was just, no. Yeah. It's just, you're not allowed to gamble at all, huh?
Nope.
Interesting.
Integrity of the game.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's fine.
I will not jump into gambling conversation.
Trying to get Roger Goodell calling down, getting all over.
Honest to God, Matt, not trying to get in trouble. I thought this just replied to. I thought he could if Matt wanted to get in a pay for a game of checkers, maybe he could. Apparently, the answer is no. No problem.
I am a rule follower. I do not do it in any capacity.
I'm also a rule follower. People know that about
me. Yeah. But I will say, similar to this conversation, not strip poker, but I went.
That's not gambling.
I went to Colorado with my wife to visit her family over Christmas.
Sounds like the opposite of strip poker.
Yeah. Well, bear with me here.
Oh, okay.
So this was the nice thing about the Wednesday game is I was able to go home, or not go home. I was able to go to my wife's home in Colorado because we had a long weekend. So I did that, and her parents wanted to play kind of a fun game with us because, her brother was in town too and her brother's girlfriend. And we're like, okay. And she's like, I got Cards Against Humanity. You guys played this game before?
It's tough with the in-laws, though.
And we're like, yeah, we've played it before. I don't know. And I don't think her mom and dad were prepared. They didn't realize what the game was. And it was less weird for Ellie because whatever, it's just her parents. It was the most weird for me. Playing Cards Against Humanity with my in-laws.
Yeah, with parents, in-laws. It's a great game, but there can be some awkward moments. Did you have a filter on your the way you played the game because you were around them?
Definitely. Yes.
Yeah. And you wouldn't say the normal things you would say in the circumstance.
No, but there's only so much limitation you can do in that
True.
game. We kind of just had to play the game.
Sometimes the cards are the cards.
And
I don't know if we could play that on the radio. We just have guests come in for Fan Club Friday. Let's just play Cards Against Humanity and read it out.
It also probably depends on the family dynamic. I don't think it would be weird for anyone to enter our family and play that game because everyone would be they would play the game dirtier than anyone else is playing coming into the game. My wife's family would be a little more awkward. It feels like that's a slightly more buttoned up crowd. It'd be probably a little more uncomfortable. How buttoned up are the in-laws? Relatively medium?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Probably
a
normal.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think her dad was loving it. He thought it was hilarious. Her mom was not prepared for this at all. And it was, we just did it.
Yeah.
And now I have that forever. So
Bert, I don't know that they're going to suggest it the next time, man. They're going to suggest
so either.
Uno.
Let's play Uno or Monopoly.
Yeah.
Family fun.
I suggest a different game. What are your let's do predictions brought to you by Volkswagen Lease Summit, where you can hit up any new 2025 Tiguans. You can go back and look at their used car selection from the previous year as well, all at VWLeaseSummit.com. Should we just predict which games? We don't give scores, but let's just say how we think each matchup's going to go. Let's start on the AFC side and maybe the 2-7 and just work our way down.
Yeah, we can do that. If we want to start with the Broncos and the Bills, as far as a betting angle and everything like that, I think the Broncos can cover. If we're talking about from that regard, I think ultimately the Bills win this game, though. I know Broncos are probably confident, even though the Chiefs had their backups in. They're probably a very confident team. They just beat the Chiefs 38-0 and all that. Bo Nix, rookie quarterbacks in their first playoff game. There's only been like 11 of them that have won their first playoff game. I would be stunned, honestly, if the Broncos win this game. I think it's closer than people think. I think this is within a 6-point margin or so. I don't think the Buffalo Bills cover the 8.5 or 9 points, whatever it's at this point in time.
You could legitimately make an argument that the Denver Broncos are the best in the trenches team in the entire playoff field. I think they have the best offensive line in football, and they have 2 double-digit sack guys in the defensive line. So, that's a tough team. They present problems because teams who are good on the offensive line and the defensive line are tough teams, kind of no matter any other circumstance. A rookie quarterback's not beating Josh Allen in Buffalo, so Bills are winning.
I'm not going to predict the score because I'm superstitious.
I got you.
Okay.
Who knows what will happen, but I will comment on the game. I think the Broncos will give the Bills trouble, more than people might expect. I think the Broncos are pretty good, and they have a really good defense, a great pass rush, and their receivers, they have physical, big receivers who can give defenses trouble, I think.
And the Bills' defense hasn't been shakier than previous years.
It'll be interesting. I think we'll learn a lot about Bo Nix this weekend. I think Nix has gotten steadily better all year long. I think he's a lot better than people give him credit for. And it'll be an interesting game for a lot of reasons. It's tough to go into Buffalo and win, but the Broncos are a sort of team that they got to this point. I think they're kind of playing loose and free and
nothing to lose.
Yeah, they don't know what they don't know. So in a lot of ways, I think they could give the Bills some problems.
I
don't know what'll happen. But
I would love if we're sitting there in the fourth quarter and it's a one possession game and a sweat. Sure. That'd be a lot of fun to watch. What about the other game, Steelers Ravens Saturday night?
I want to say that Zay Flowers is enough of a difference for the Steelers to come through on that one, but the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Bills have been the 3 best teams in the AFC for 3 consecutive years, and they remain that this year at an even wider margin. I think the Ravens are winning.
Yeah.
The Steelers, these are also 2 teams playing, I cannot emphasize enough, heading in completely opposite directions. The Steelers have lost 4 in a row and have looked bad in all 4 of those games. The Ravens have won 4 games in a row by 20. So, I'll just take the Ravens.
So, look, from a betting angle, again, this is a game I'm teasing. I'm teasing the Ravens down, and I'm teasing the Rams up, and that'll be my bet. But if we're just looking at the matchup and how it plays out, I know it's a divisional game, and typically these are very, very tight games. The Steelers can't score over 17. They haven't done it in 4 straight games. And so if you're Baltimore, if you can get to 20, this thing's over. It's over. I would be stunned if it's a 28-24 game even. I think the Steelers' formula to make it close or win, this has to be ugly, 13-10, 6-3 at halftime, just gross football. That's what Mike Tomlin wants.
Game for the first half?
I don't think the Ravens are winning by 17 points or anything, but I think it'll be a comfortable win for Baltimore.
I do think it's an AFC North game, though, and it's going to be cold, and you never know with these 2 teams. Whenever you play a team a third time, especially 2 teams like this that know each other well, and you have a Mike Tomlin coach team.
Steelers got him early.
I won't count the Steelers out by any means. It will be tough. Baltimore's playing really well, but we'll see.
Which upset on the AFC side do you think is more likely? The Steelers, to beat the Ravens, or the Bills to lose to the Broncos? I think the Broncos beating the Bills is more likely. I really do. I know that's not the majority, the favorable answer for a lot of people. People say, divisional game, that has to be it.
I think maybe Steelers.
I just think the Steelers are. I'm so out on the Steelers, man. I'm just so out on them right now. They can't score. They cannot score.
I don't know. The Steelers with
It's
Mike
a
Tomlin,
division game.
I can't count them out.
Weird.
I get it.
They're just division games are weird, and they do weird things that make no sense. That's always my hang-up.
The Steelers' best chance of winning or keeping it really close is if they have a run package for Justin Fields built into this offense on Saturday night.
Texans-Chargers is the 4-5 matchup. My issue with this is I would like the Texans to win. I think they're the better matchup for the Chiefs of the 2 teams. I can't believe how quickly Harbaugh made them a good defense. I'm not impressed by their offense. Justin Herbert has been risk-free football NFL version of J.J. McCarthy in their championship year last year. So yeah, they do enough offensively. I don't think that they're overwhelmingly talented than the Texans. But the biggest problem is the Chargers are really good on defense and the Texans have a bad offensive line. So I think the Chargers are winning.
I think the Texans are really similar to the Steelers in that if you look at the overall numbers, both those teams turn the opposition over a bunch, and they rely on those turnovers.
So if they get those.
And they have great pass rushes, both of them do.
Yeah.
So that's why
Will Anderson and Danielle
Hunter. I mean, going into at least our game against them, were the only team in the NFL to have multiple players with double-digit sacks. I mean, they're really good. I think in a lot of ways people are talking about the Texans like they shouldn't. I mean, listen, I know they lost Tank Dell. I know they haven't looked great lately, but I mean, they're still really talented. And if they can turn the ball over like they have all year, and if they can get that pass rush going, they're dangerous. And same thing with the Steelers. Like if the Steelers get 2 or 3 turnovers against the Ravens, it's a game. And they can do that. If they don't, it's a lot more difficult. Same thing with the Chargers and the Texans. And Herbert's been so good about protecting the football this year. Has 3 interceptions all year long.
Like that.
If the Chargers protect the football, it'll be tough for Houston, but we'll see.
Preseason, I have the Texans and the Chiefs in the AFC title game. I don't think that's going to be the matchup we get, and it's maybe not even possible depending on the results this weekend. I just think C.J. Stroud and this Texans team is just simply not nearly as dangerous as they were this time last year when they were the unknown and they had a healthy group. The O-line is not nearly as good. I don't like the matchup. Here's just one stat to back up how Stroud has fared. It's not all his fault because of the injuries, but he started 4 games this year versus a defense that allows under 18 points per game.
Chargers are number 1 in the league.
That's where LA sits best points per game in the NFL. Houston averaged just 14 points in those games. I don't think that, much like the Steelers, I don't know if they can score enough to put themselves in position to win that game.
NFC side, I guess let's roll through these. The Eagles versus the Packers. No Christian Watson. Jalen Hurts is going to play. The Packers were a team that surprised me, played really well for a good chunk of the season. I think what happened, unfortunately for them, is that the clock turned midnight. And their injuries caught up with them a little bit. Some of their roster deficiencies caught up with them a little bit. And they just weren't able to do it. I think LaFleur's a good coach. I think they can certainly cause problems. I've been kind of a Nick Sirianni hater for years. And I don't know, I got to backtrack it at least a little bit. He's done a pretty good job this year. So I like the Eagles in that game. What about you, Gold?
This is the toughest game of the entire weekend, I think, to figure out, if I'm being honest, to try to predict, how this thing could go.
I wouldn't be stunned if the Packers won.
Is Jordan Love healthy? Is he good to go?
He's playing. How healthy? I don't know. The elbow injury and everything like that.
That's the whole thing. They just lost a wide receiver. They rely on their depth in offense.
I know Chiefs fans don't like him, but I'm going to take the Eagles. I'm going to take Nick Sirianni to get a win here in this spot.
It was fun to play that audio after they'd beaten them in the Super Bowl.
I think they get the win, though. I do think the Eagles win this game. I still think short yardage situations, Jalen Hurts, Barkley, that combination, 30 to 1s, is an extra down or two that you get, basically. So throughout the entire game.
How many total rushing attempts are going to happen in this game?
Man.
Between Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley.
You're not lying.
70?
You're not lying. I mean,
old school football.
Definitely could be the case. I mean,
that typically favors the Eagles for the history. They've always been a team that understands the trenches.
I mean, for Saquon in this game, his over-under rushing yards is 103.5. Josh Jacobs, 69.5. Jalen Hurts, 37.5. Yeah, we're going to see some yards on the ground, I think.
I wonder what the weather will be like in Philadelphia.
Probably not comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess it's probably cold, but not a winter storm, I don't think. But it's going to be cold.
Damn snow out here.
Yeah.
In talking about these wild card games, and especially with teams like Philadelphia, who had a great season. I mean, how many games did Philadelphia win? 13?
14.
14, and they're playing on wild card weekend. The Chiefs were so fortunate to have this bye because it's like winning a playoff game.
I also just think
don't have to worry about it.
I think what that all kind of boils down to, and then we'll get to the final 2 games, is the NFL had a really, for a league that we pride on balance and anyone can win, it was a really lopsided year for the league. There was a disproportionately high number of horrid football teams. So there were a lot of teams that racked up way more wins on the top than normal because there was a disproportionately a number of bad football teams. A lot of 2 or 3, 4, 5 win teams this year.
All right, let's get to Sunday Night Football. Commanders at Tampa. The Bucs win that
I'm
NFC
looking forward to
South.
this game. It might be 40-40.
Commanders have what will eventually be the Rookie of the Year at quarterback in Jaden Daniels. Bucs 3-point favorites. Total for the game 50.5. I like Baker quite a bit in this spot. It's another. I'm going to keep fading the rookie quarterback in their first game. I'm not saying Jaden Daniels one day won't win a Super Bowl or something like that. A rookie on the road in his first playoff game is a tall task. I also just like how Baker and that offense moved the ball. They played earlier this year too. It didn't go well for the Commanders. I like the Bucs. This might actually be, out of all the games, in my opinion, the easiest to pick. It might actually be this game. I like Tampa quite a bit.
I like Tampa. History of rookie quarterbacks in the first round of the playoff. Baker's he's actually got a decent amount of playoff experience at this point. I think he plays better in big games, too, and I think they're the better overall team. They're also playing at home, so yeah, I like the Bucks.
I just love how Baker plays. Like, Baker is like...
It's so free.
If you gave, like, a 22-year-old incredible talent all of a sudden, that would be Baker Mayfield. Like, he just goes out there. He plays every single game like it's his last game. I respect that, and I think that translates to the playoffs.
He plays games. It's the same comparison, but, like, if you just gave, like, a 23-year-old the, like, classic Mercedes versus, like, the 6-year-old who just, like, put it in a cover. Like, I'm just going to cover it, and I'll dust it every once in a while, and I'll take it out once a month, and you put me in the 60s Mercedes, I just drive it every day at 23 years old. Like, it was like, are you kidding? I'm driving this car. You realize what this is, right? I'm not going to just park it. What's the point? Like, at some point, there is a point of Baker's play like that I just love. And then Rams-Vikings, the last one. This game is now in Phoenix, if anybody didn't see the news, because of the wildfires in California. This game's going to move to Phoenix, so the Rams don't get home field advantage, although, I'll be honest, I don't know how much home field advantage they have in LA anyway, more certainly than Phoenix. At least it's not in Minnesota. I don't know, man. Sam Darnold concerns the hell out of me because he played bad in a big-time game for the first time ever. So I guess I'll take the Rams on this one.
I'm trying not to overreact to what we saw against the Lions for Darnold because he's been so good this year.
Yeah.
But I was going to take the Rams in this game, whether it was against the Lions or the Vikings. Whoever was going to have short rest and everything like that. I'm taking the Rams to win this thing outright. I had the Rams in the NFC title game before the season started. They're fresh. They're healthy. Sean McVay, to me, is one of the best coaches in football. I like the Rams to get it done, whether it's in L.A. or now out in Glendale.
I think it's going to be an awesome game. I think the Rams, when they're at their best, are near impossible to beat, like we saw against Buffalo earlier this year. But Minnesota also won 14 games.
They did.
I love Kevin O'Connell as a coach. Their defense is awesome. And when Darnold is on, he's tough to beat. So I think it'll be one of the best games of the weekend.
We'll have to wait till Monday night for that one. Matt McMullen, Chiefs reporter, senior reporter, kind enough to join us throughout Fan Club Friday. Thanks so much, man. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the weekend off, Elisa. You got that, right?
I'm going to watch some football this weekend. Ironically, it does not happen much for me, so I'm going to enjoy it.
All right, guys, we're back at it on Monday right here on Cody and Gold.
This is Cody and Gold on your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully